Twin brothers with identical faces but different lives. Brother Baek Dog-young, in a suit and tie, surrounded by beautiful women, clearly a business elite. While younger brother Baek Isu wears construction site clothing, surrounded by people sweating profusely as they pour cement. And buried under the cement are over a dozen bodies in North Korean military uniforms. Brother Baek Dog-young calls him to suggest getting together. At this moment, someone bursts through the door and falls to the ground. Another person chases out bare-chested. "I'm going to kill all you South Korean bastards," the man says with a sinister smile. Watching the scene, Baek Isu remains unusually calm, still unhurriedly asking about the man's injuries. Then he slowly removes his jacket. His true identity is captain of the Special Operations Team against North Korean spies, Baek Isu. "I hope you can last a few more seconds against me." As soon as he finishes speaking, the man slashes at Baek Isu with a knife. Baek Isu simply leans back and easily dodges, then rises and delivers an elbow strike to the opponent's chin. Taking advantage of the man's dazed state, he swings his fist heavily and smashes the man into the ground. Looking at the unconscious man, Baek Isu puts on his jacket and orders his subordinates, "Bury this guy along with the others." After giving instructions, he says he needs to go out for something. "Anyone but our captain," his subordinate mutters. Baek Isu goes to meet his brother Baek Dog-young as arranged, but is stopped at the door. The guard explains that Consul Baek has important guests today and isn't receiving visitors. At this moment, someone walks over and waves in Baek Isu's direction. He explains to the guard that Baek Isu is his brother. Hearing this, the guard hurriedly bows and apologizes. Baek Isu doesn't mind and walks toward the restaurant. Baek Dog-young praises the guard for prioritizing security. On the other side, Baek Isu's team members are having dinner together. Zion complains that while the captain is out eating good food and drinking, he can only have barbecue outdoors. This draws laughter from everyone. Suddenly, several cars drive up. Seeing who gets out, one person immediately salutes and greets them, inviting Chief to come have a drink. Chief Jang asks, "Why don't I see Baek Isu here?" After learning he's out on personal business, he mutters quietly, "Things aren't going smoothly." He puts his hand inside his jacket. A gunshot rings out, and the head of the person who just answered explodes. The shooter is Chief Jang. Immediately, dozens of fully armed people get out of the cars. They assume attack positions. Everything happens too fast. Everyone hasn't had time to react. Everyone has worked hard. Chief Jang chambers around. Meanwhile, at the restaurant, the two brothers are eating. The brother invites him to do business together with ISU, stop doing low-paying work. He doesn't understand why his brother, being a soldier, wears workers' clothes. To his brother's invitation, Baek Isu gives a perfunctory answer, saying he'll think about it. At this moment, his phone rings. So he goes to the bathroom to answer it. It's Zion's call. The voice on the other end is intermittent. Baek Isu hurriedly asks what's wrong. Zion jokingly says he's had too much to drink. But how could this fool Baek Isu? Zion's voice becomes serious, saying he can never fight alongside the captain again. All team members have been eliminated. Finally, he points out that Chief Jang betrayed them. After that, there's no more sound from the phone. No matter how Baek Isu calls out, it's useless. At this time, an uninvited guest arrives at the restaurant. The doorman stops him, saying they're closed today. But before he can finish speaking, this person ghostly flashes behind him, leaving a white light trail. The person's dagger is already stained with blood, while the guard's throat spurts countless streams of blood. At this moment, the brother is already drunk, resting his head on the table. Hearing the sound, he thinks Baek Isu has returned. He looks up to find several masked people standing before him. The daggers gleam coldly under the lights. Baek Isu, worried about his brother's safety, hurriedly runs toward that direction. A group of people have been waiting in the corridor for a long time. They confirm he's the elimination target. After speaking, several people quickly rush toward him. Baek Isu grabs one person's stabbing arm, backhands an elbow into the opponent's chest. He seizes the opponent's dagger and slashes across the person's throat. At this time, another person has already reached him. Baek Isu simultaneously rushes toward him, bends down to grab the opponent's thigh and throws him backward. Looking at Baek Isu's gleaming dagger, this person finally shows a terrified expression. Baek Isu doesn't hesitate and cuts the opponent's hamstring with one slash. Taking down two people in one encounter temporarily deters the remaining enemies. Baek Isu removes his jacket, revealing his military uniform, saying, "Let's continue." Several people roar and charge at him simultaneously. Baek Isu's dagger strikes the opponent's dagger, then changes trajectory upwards, slashing the opponent's throat. The remaining people attack simultaneously. Instantly, the scene is filled with flashing blades. One person seizes an opening and stabs Baek Isu's arm. Taking this opportunity, another person comes behind him. On the other side, at the construction site, a subordinate tells Chief Jang that the scene has been cleaned up. The newly formed Special Forces First Squad went to eliminate Baek Isu. One squad probably isn't enough. Chief Jang takes a puff of his cigarette. "To deal with that guy, we need to send another squad. Make sure to leave no survivors or witnesses." After eliminating the enemies, Baek Isu is very worried about his brother's safety. At this moment, his brother's glasses are lying on the bloodstained table, while his eyes are now red with killing intent. "Why did you have to disturb my pleasant dinner with my brother?" The brother is holding a dagger to an enemy's throat. It turns out the brother's surface identity is executive director of TF Financial Group. His true identity is president of Taesin clan, Baek Dog-young. Without waiting for an answer, he slits the person's throat. At this time, intermittent sounds come from the enemy's radio. He's curious why gangsters would use such things. Until complete words come through. Baek Isu found, kill on sight. So these weren't for him, the target was his brother. Dare to target my brother? Even if the King of Heaven came, he couldn't save you. When Baek Isu rushes over, his brother has also eliminated the enemies. Baek Dog-young brushes back his disheveled hair. Are all these your enemies? He points at the people lying scattered on the ground. The brothers sit in the car. They confess their true identities to each other. Both find it incredible. Baek Isu wants his brother to stay away from him. Those pursuers aren't ordinary people. So the gangster brother is scared. Baek Dog-young says jokingly. Want me to drop you off at the police station? Baek Dog-young says teasingly. Baek Isu tells him not to joke around. Baek Dog-young's expression becomes serious, telling him to remember, I'm your brother. I'll clear away all dangers for you. Then he looks out the window saying, we've reached our destination. Baek Isu follows him out of the car and looks into the distance, seeing a group of people in black suits setting up a funeral hall. Baek Isu doesn't understand what's happening. Suwa Yu comes over to tell Baek Dog-young that it will be completed within 2 hours. Baek Dog-young says he wants to hold a memorial service for Baek Isu. Only when he's dead will it be beneficial for going undercover or doing things. This is the golden cicada shedding its shell from Sun Tzu's Art of War. Baek Isu thinks the opponents might not necessarily believe it. Baek Dog-young tells him these things don't matter. As the funeral of the Taesin clan boss's brother, various faction representatives will naturally come to pay respects. These people naturally become proof. Suddenly a car drives into the grounds. In the car is Chief Jang. In his hands is exactly Baek Dog-young's file. Only now does he know that Baek Isu has a twin brother who's involved with gangsters. At this time, Taesin clan subordinates come forward to drive them away. Chief Jang ignores them and turns to command the back seat. Today we must confirm whether Baek Isu is really dead, even if we have to open the coffin. Several people with expressionless faces straighten their clothes and get out of the car. The subordinate arrogantly looks at the rude guys in front of him, telling them to get lost immediately. This is Taesin clan territory. Seeing that they ignore him, he reaches out to lift the hat. Get lost. The opponent just throws a casual punch, knocking the subordinate unconscious. Other subordinates see someone causing trouble and all shout as they rush toward them. At this time, the two people beside the baseball cap man also take action, fighting with the rushing subordinates. One subordinate is struck in the neck with a knife hand and loses combat ability. Another subordinate is caught from behind in a rear naked choke. A few seconds later, he also passes out. These people are special operatives called Crossbow. The commotion here alarms Baek Dog-young. Jinung-ha beside him removes his jacket while walking down. He tells the opponents that only those delivering death notices can enter here. As soon as he finishes speaking, the baseball cap man throws an uppercut at Jinung-ha's chin. Jinung-ha shows no reaction, just coldly stares at him. Then his left hand suddenly grabs the opponent's cheek. No matter how the opponent struggles, it's useless. The man gradually loses strength and kneels on the ground. As Jinung-ha's left arm veins bulge, only a clear cracking sound is heard. He actually crushed the opponent's jaw purely through grip strength. This makes the remaining two people break out in cold sweat. Then they shout and charge at Jinung-ha. Jinung-ha sidesteps through between the two, again grabbing one person's cheek. The other person hurriedly comes to the rescue, throwing a punch at Jinung-ha's cheek. But for Jinung-ha, this is like scratching an itch. He even withstands the opponent's subsequent combo attacks. He raises his iron fist in return, smashing this person into the ground with one punch. The person whose cheek is grabbed sees things going badly. He grabs Jinung-ha's arm with both hands, jumps up trying to wrap his legs around his neck, wanting to use a flying cross choke to strangle Jinung-ha. But in the face of absolute strength, everything he does is futile. Jinung-ha lifts this person up with one arm, then violently throws him at the person on the ground. The carefully trained warriors were actually taken down like this. Chief Jang in the car also finds it unbelievable. To think that gangster groups also have such strong people. Then he adjusts his mood and gets out of the car, immediately putting on a smiling face, saying it's a misunderstanding while walking over. He introduces himself as Baek Isu's superior and hands over his business card. Jinung-ha coldly stares at him without speaking, until Baek Dog-young speaks up. Only then does Jinung-ha invite Chief Jang inside. Looking at Baek Isu's photo in the funeral hall, Chief Jang can't be sure if he's really dead, nor does he know how much his brother Baek Dog-young knows. Suddenly, Baek Dog-young pulls out a dagger. Looking at the face identical to Baek Isu's, Chief Jang is startled. At this time, Baek Dog-young speaks up, I want to have a talk with you. He shows a dagger asking if Chief Jang recognizes it. Seeing him remain silent, Baek Dog-young explains this dagger was taken from his brother's body. If Chief Jang's answer doesn't satisfy him, he doesn't mind sticking this dagger in Chief Jang. Then, Baek Dog-young asks who killed his brother. Hearing this, Chief Jang wonders to himself, could Baek Isu really be dead? To appease the furious Baek Dog-young, Chief Jang lies, claiming Baek Isu sacrificed himself for the country. The specific details cannot be revealed. Who knew Baek Dog-young would throw a punch directly at his face, making his nose and mouth bleed? You talk too much nonsense. Did you kill my brother? Saying this, he raises the knife and rushes toward Chief Jang. At the critical moment, Chief Jang reaches for his jacket pocket. Suayu suddenly stops Baek Dogyoung, telling him to calm down. Jinung-ha restrains the restless Chief Jang, telling him to go back first. Baek Dogyoung curses while preparing to charge forward again, but is held tightly by Suayu. Chief Jang turns back with ice-cold eyes. "Who killed my brother? You bastard." Baek Dogyoung mimics the earlier performance, then asks Baek Isu how his acting was. Suayu says except for the tattoos and hair, everything else is identical. Baek Isu also knows his brother did this to throw people off the scent, but this isn't a long-term solution. He doesn't want to implicate his brother. Then let them come, see if the Taesun clan boys agree. But I can't hide here forever either. Thinking this, Baek Isu picks up his backpack and prepares to leave. Then he asks Baek Dogyoung if he really wanted to kill Chief Jang at the funeral. Baek Dogyoung understands what he means, comforting him not to make things big for now, things need to be planned long-term. Baek Isu feels indignant. Do I have to cower here and be a gangster? Baek Dogyoung doesn't care at all. What's wrong with that? We're all doing dirty work for others anyway. Baek Isu brushes away his hand and leaves directly. Baek Dogyoung sighs in frustration. Though he has the same handsome face as me, why doesn't his brain have half my intelligence? Then he orders Jinung-ha to take people and follow him. Baek Isu asks Jinung-ha how long he plans to follow. Jinung-ha says he's just following orders. The subordinates behind now only live for him. Their conversation is observed by someone at the corner. On the other side, Chief Jang gives orders by phone to continue surveillance. After hanging up, recalling the earlier funeral, Baek Dogyoung seemed to know he sent people to kill Baek Isu. Suddenly, a figure appears behind him. A low voice warns him not to turn around. Chief Jang is shocked. Could Baek Dogyoung's people have come this quickly? At this time, the person behind has already wrapped their arm around his arm. Suddenly, a dad makes him let his guard down. It turns out his mischievous daughter is playing a prank on him. Then the daughter starts complaining that the plane was too slow. Chief Jang jokes that he'll make the plane faster next time. The daughter immediately praises him as amazing, worthy of being in the Secret Service. Then she asks if he's good at fighting. Chief Jang says gently that he's just a desk worker. Inside the villa, Baek Dogyoung says he's going out to buy cigarettes. Suayu says Jinung-ha has taken people out, advising him to stay home. Baek Dogyoung says he's just going for a walk. 4 people take the elevator downstairs. Suddenly, Baek Dogyoung turns to ask the person behind him. Big Head, how do you think work has been lately? Big Head hurriedly answers that it's been pretty good, getting more and more smooth. Unexpectedly, Baek Dogyoung's expression darkens. Really? But I've never seen you before. Who exactly are you? Big Head says he doesn't understand what he's talking about, while his dagger slashes horizontally toward Baek Dogyoung. Baek Dogyoung and Suayu stand back to back, complaining that he forgot to bring a weapon. The other 2 people prowl like wolves waiting for their chance. But Baek Dogyoung pulls out a dagger from Suayu's skirt. One person charges forward with a knife, and is pushed back by Baek Dogyoung's slash. He backhands a horizontal slash at the opponent's abdomen. It turns out this guy's wearing a bulletproof vest under his suit. Then he can only attack the neck and wrists. Baek Dogyoung seizes the opportunity to slam this person aside. On the other side, Suayu falls into a predicament. The opponent seems to be deliberately targeting Suayu to distract Baek Dogyoung. Fortunately, at the critical moment, he blocks this strike for Suayu, and jokes that he hasn't been cut by a knife for a long time. This person grips the knife handle, wanting to pull it back to create a bigger wound. Baek Dogyoung slashes the opponent's wrist. Another person stabs at Suayu again. Baek Dogyoung again slashes off this person's dagger. The dagger happens to fall beside another person. This person immediately reaches for the knife. Suayu kicks the dagger away. The enemy in front of Baek Dogyoung approaches again, but is again sent flying by him, losing his dagger. Baek Dogyoung's dagger stabs toward this person. This person pulls out another dagger from behind, preparing to sneak attack, but is grabbed by Baek Dogyoung's left hand. Then twisting his arm, both daggers stab toward his shoulder blade. The elevator reaches the ground floor. Baek Dogyoung complains that the person on duty isn't working, letting strange things run into the elevator. Then he asks a subordinate outside the elevator for a cigarette. But the subordinate pulls out a dagger from his chest and successfully sneak attacks. "Damn it, I asked you for a cigarette and you give me a dagger." Baek Dogyoung grabs the opponent's cheek with one hand and pulls hard, revealing another face that's grinning strangely. Baek Dogyoung pushes this person back with one slash. Sharp claw-like blades dance in this person's hands. He's grinning sinisterly at the prey before him. Baek Dogyoung orders his subordinates to take Suayu away, then inquires whether the opponent was sent by Chief Jang. The mysterious person is exactly a member of the Special Operations Assassination Team, identity unknown, collectively called Ghost. "I'll tell you when you're dead." After speaking, he charges at Baek Dogyoung. The 2 fight together. Ghost inquires about Baek Isu's whereabouts. At this time, Baek Isu and Jinung-ha are walking on the street, having long noticed someone following behind. So he turns into an alley at a corner. The follower hurriedly wants to look ahead, but meets an iron fist head-on, sent flying 10 meters by one punch. Although he finally protected his head with both arms, clearly his arms broke under the attack. Baek Isu asks if this person is Chief Jang's man. Seeing Baek Isu, this person actually laughs. "I knew you wouldn't die so easily." Baek Isu's heart jumps hearing this person's voice. The mysterious person removes his hood. It's actually Zion, who he thought was already dead. Seeing the misunderstanding cleared up, Zion points at his broken arm to question Jinung-ha. At this time, a pair of hands rest on his shoulders. Baek-isu blames himself, saying if only he hadn't left that day. "Next time, remember to bring me when you eat good food," Zion says with forced lightness. At this time, Jinung-ha takes a phone call, his face full of anger. What could make the usually calm and collected him become like this? On the other side, the battle between the two has entered white-hot intensity. Baek Dog-young attacks while taunting. Is this all Ghost has got? Because he knows the abdominal wound can't be delayed. The Ghost's figure before him is already becoming blurry. Baek Dog-young stabs at Ghost. A steel wire thin, as hair flashes in the air, wrapping around Baek Dog-young's arm, stopping his movement. Then Ghost slashes upward, wounding Baek Dog-young. "I'll ask one more time. Where is Baek-isu?" Ghost's voice is ice cold. Suddenly, Baek Dog-young cuts off his own long hair. "You're such an idiot! I am Baek-isu!" The sudden change disturbs Ghost's mind. Taking advantage of his moment of shock, Baek Dog-young launches an attack. For a moment, he gains the upper hand. After a while, Ghost calms down. The real Baek-isu wouldn't be this weak. The steel wire on the claw blade wraps around Baek Dog-young again, but he risks breaking his arm to counterattack, immediately causing serious injury to Ghost. Ghost repeatedly repeats one phrase, "You can't be Baek-isu." Then he struggles to stand up. "You're just a small-time gangster." Ghost, whose mentality is in chaos, takes multiple cuts. When he attacks Baek Dog-young again, he's even more terrified. Because his attack stance is exactly the same as Baek-isu's. Could the person in front of him really be Baek-isu? Baek-isu is like a mythical figure within the organization. Ghost, whose mind is already in chaos, shows multiple openings. Baek Dog-young barehanded grabs the claw blade, then stabs at Ghost. The repeated injuries have made him completely give up. His face is filled with terror, because the person before him is the killing god Baek-isu. Looking at Baek Dog-young's descending dagger, all that's left is Ghost's terrified scream. But in the end, Baek Dog-young's dagger grazes his cheek and stabs into the floor. He collapses weakly on top of Ghost. A few minutes later, Baek-isu arrives. Only the blood-covered Baek Dog-young remains at the scene. He tremblingly helps up his brother. At this time, Ghost stumbles toward the rooftop, frantically flipping through a notebook. His blood-stained finger draws in 10 over Baek-isu's photo. At this moment, Baek-isu's angry face is twisted into that of a furious lion. While in his arms lies his brother, who has already lost all signs of life. Taesin clan boss Baek Dog-young assassinated to death. Although the news is suppressed, his long absence leads to various speculations. Other factions are all making moves. The urgent matter is selecting a new boss. Suayu suggests letting Jinung-ha take over, but is immediately rejected. Without Baek Dog-young, Taesin clan wouldn't be called Taesin clan. No one can replace Baek Dog-young's position. On the other side, Baek-isu is also investigating his brother's cause of death. He believes the killing method is very similar to Chief Jang's special task force. They usually disguise themselves as various professions to carry out missions. He must find them and kill them with his own hands. On a rooftop in another city, a man is leisurely peeling an apple. He is the boss of T1, Kim Tae-won. He's long been dissatisfied with mixing in this small city. Real men should make waves on the big ocean of Seoul. "I heard you know some interesting news." Kim Tae-won asks the person hanging outside the balcony with a smile. This person says he doesn't understand what Kim Tae-won means. Wrong answer. Kim Tae-won doesn't hesitate to cut one rope. The blonde man screams in terror, saying that Taesin clan was attacked by mysterious forces, and Baek Dog-young was killed. Kim Tae-won smiles slightly, indicating he knows. Then he cuts all the remaining ropes at once. Then he orders his subordinates to call a full meeting. Today he's going to devour Taesin clan. At this time, Baek-isu follows clues to the farmer's market, stopping at a butcher shop. This is one of the hidden bases of the Joint Special Task Force. Baek-isu knows he can't let his guard down. He gently pulls and finds the door isn't locked. But the situation inside shocks him. Inside lie 4 or 5 corpses, blood everywhere. Only one bald man still has weak breath. Seeing that it's Baek-isu, he gives a miserable smile. "No need to point a knife at me, I'm going to die anyway." Baek-isu hurriedly asks what happened. Baldy says he received orders to gather people, but what came was a group of fully armed people. Then Baldy tells Baek-isu to escape quickly. Too many things are involved in this. It's not something one person can fight against. After saying this, Baldy's body goes limp and loses life. On the other side, the base Zion found is in the same situation. Who exactly is manipulating all this? Baek-isu's heart is filled with doubt. At this time, Kim Tae-won is leading people to attack Taesin clan. Saying what Seoul's 4 major gangs, Taesin clan doesn't look like much. The immovable night demon Jinung-ha is looking at him with killing intent. Jinung-ha tells Kim Tae-won that people like him charging over has been the 4th wave this week. Doesn't know what dog shit rumors they heard. Kim Tae-won coldly smiles, seems like gentle solutions won't work at all. Then he and his subordinates surround Jinung-ha. Jinung-ha tilts his head back and takes a deep breath. "I'm too lazy to waste words with you, come at me all at once." At this time, Baek-isu walks over with his head down, parting the crowd. Walking straight to Jinung-ha, telling him, "I want to avenge my brother. I need to borrow Taesin clan's power." So Baek Isu requests Jinung Ha to give him Taesin clan. Kim Tae-won sees them whispering and can't hear clearly, so he angrily walks over, threatening Baek Isu to get lost quickly. Baek Isu doesn't respond, throwing a punch at his nose. Kim Tae-won, about to get angry, sees Baek Isu's appearance and freezes. He's already mistaken Baek Isu for Baek Do-kyung. The subordinates also hear Baek Do-kyung's reputation and are too scared to move, but the boss shouts about taking down even Baek Do-kyung. They can only bite the bullet and charge forward. But Baek Isu is like a tiger among sheep, easily dealing with these few people. Kim Tae-won orders the people behind him to attack together. Today, no matter what, he'll swallow Taesin clan. When several people charge at Baek Isu again, his eyes are filled with killing intent. His attacks among the crowd become even more fierce. Seeing the subordinates he brought being cut down, Kim Tae-won burns with fury, preparing to sneak attack from behind. But Baek Isu turns and knocks away his weapon with one slash. He knows today he's completely defeated. The man before him stands like a mountain peak, insurmountable. Kim Tae-won completely loses his fighting spirit, calling his subordinates to retreat. In contrast, Taesin clan members are happy to see their boss return. Jinung Ha also seems to see that man come back. However, taking over Taesin clan has one condition: the Seoul Four Gangs joint meeting to be held in a month. The condition Jinung Ha mentioned for taking over Taesin clan is that Baek Isu becomes Baek Do-kyung. Although they're twins with identical appearances, he still needs to mimic daily behavioral habits, like the way of holding a knife. Baek Do-kyung usually likes to press his thumb against the blade when holding a knife. Although outsiders might not notice these details, when facing opponents they regularly deal with, extra caution is needed, like the general meeting they're about to attend. The general meeting is a conference of Seoul's 5 major criminal organizations. On the surface, it's to prevent conflicts between organizations and seek cooperation, but secretly they're all thinking about how to devour each other. Sua Yu doesn't understand why Baek Isu would risk doing such things. Baek Isu speaks frankly, saying it's for revenge for his brother and also for himself. He must borrow Taesin clan's power. Not only that, he also wants to unify the entire underworld. At the construction site, Police Chief Cho Won-ho keeps praising Chief Jang for his efficient work. Because of changes in policy toward North Korea, those congressmen all want to cover up their past shady dealings. Chief Jang, for the greater good, actually buried all his former subordinates here. Truly admirable. He even applauds after speaking. Hearing these mocking words, Chief Jang's face darkens. Cho Won-ho changes his tone, questioning whether it's difficult for Chief Jang to handle a few brats. He spent a lot of manpower and resources cleaning up the mess, and is even more annoyed about Chief Jang's request for him to deal with Taesin clan. Because Taesin clan is still the leader of the 5-gang alliance, he doesn't want to provoke them. At this time, Chief Jang suddenly removes Cho Won-ho's badge, telling him he only needs his public authority. If he's unwilling, there are plenty of people who want to be police chief. Seeing Chief Jang's rudeness, Cho Won-ho's bodyguard steps forward and grabs his collar. Cho Won-ho even mocks him for not understanding manners, ordering him to come back like a dog and retrieve the badge with his mouth. Who knew Chief Jang would sweep his leg and knock down the tall, strong bodyguard? That's not enough. He even raises his foot and stomps on the bodyguard's head. The sudden change startles Cho Won-ho. When he sees the dark gun barrel pointing at him, he almost pisses himself. You want to be buried here too? Chief Jang's eyes are filled with killing intent. Cho Won-ho is so scared he immediately kneels and begs for mercy. Saying he'll find a way to eliminate Taesin clan, the general meeting has people he knows. Hearing this, Chief Jang puts away his gun and says he'll be watching the progress. On the other side, in the restaurant, bosses of several major organizations have already gathered. Jeorang clan president Ryu Tae-young says Baek Do-kyung was stabbed to death, then gloats saying he has no right to appear here. HHS Entertainment's executive director, Han Hae-sung, reminds him not to get excited whenever Baek Do-kyung is mentioned. Ryu Tae-young says, arrogant guys like Baek Do-kyung deserve to be stabbed to death. Chanung Trading Company's chairman Cha Yu-hwa teases, asking if he sent people to do it? Ryu Tae-young is speechless. Ilhak Investments Lee Sung-min tells everyone to stop arguing. He says the purpose of the meeting is to resolve conflicts. This annoys Ryu Tae-young. Every dog wants to bark twice, really thinks he's somebody. Han Hae-sung sees the tension building and immediately mediates. At this time, Zion swaggers in saying the atmosphere here is dead. No one recognizes him. Just about to get angry, Baek Isu calmly walks in. His sudden appearance surprises everyone. On the way here, Baek Isu has already familiarized himself with information about each faction. Enemy forces, friendly forces are all clear. Next, he just needs to handle things according to Baek Do-kyung's method. At this moment, Cha Yu-hwa said, "You're unrecognizable after getting a haircut." Baek Isu casually replied, "Got to look good in front of a beautiful woman." Then he said to Ryu Tae-young, "How would I not know I was stabbed to death? I suspect your brain is as small as my dog's." This single remark left Ryu Tae-young speechless. Han Hae-sung said, "We heard about what happened at your brother's funeral. The others were also curious about the situation. Baek Isu said there were too many rumors going around, and he came here today to ask one question. Does my Baek Do-kyung have the right to sit here? Since you all care so much about me, Why don't you have the guts to come see Tayson clan? Then he pulled out a dagger and stabbed it into the table. Discussing Tayson clan? What are you people? Baek Isu's aggressive momentum intimidated everyone. I, Baek Dog-young, announce one more thing. From today on, Tayson clan withdraws from the assembly. After that, the group drove away. Jinung-ha said the earlier remarks offended everyone, asking Baek Isu if he had any plans. Baek Isu didn't answer, his eyes deep with calculation, already having everything planned out. Suddenly, a car flew toward them. Jinung-ha yanked the steering wheel hard, and the car barely avoided it. Just as Zion was about to start cursing, he realized they were already surrounded by 3 cars. Getting out of the cars was none other than Ryu Tae-young. How dare you speak so arrogantly at the assembly? He swung his fist at the car window. The glass shattered, but Baek Dog-young didn't dodge, just stared at Ryu Tae-young with murderous intent. Today, I'm going to swallow up Tayson clan. A few minutes earlier, Jinung-ha didn't understand Baek Isu's intentions. But Baek Isu said something that shocked him. Someone at the assembly had asked about the knife incident at the funeral, and this was something only his brother-in-chief Jang knew about. There must be a traitor in the joint assembly colluding with Chief Jang. At this point, Jinung-ha and Zion finally understood, asking Baek Isu what he planned to do. Baek Isu said there was no need to do anything deliberately. Since there was a rat, they'd just put out some bait, and the rat would come out on its own. Then, their vehicle was intercepted by the pursuing Ryu Tae-young. He arrogantly told Baek Isu that today he would swallow up Tayson clan. Ryu Tae-young was a hot-tempered guy who had been constantly clashing with Tayson clan before. Could he be the rat? Before Baek Isu could speak, Zion couldn't hold back anymore and started unleashing a verbal assault. Ryu Tae-young glanced at him contemptuously, mocking Zion for wearing pink clothes and earrings like a sissy. Zion wasn't having it and called him a brainless dead dog. Enraged, Ryu Tae-young threw a punch at Zion, but Zion easily caught it. He didn't forget to mock. What a soft punch, really terrifying. Ryu Tae-young laughed angrily and put on his knuckle guards. At this moment, several more cars arrived from behind him. The people getting out were led by Lee Sungmin, who was also the owner of the 9 Blades. Since our young master Sungmin has spoken, I'll give you some face, Ryu Tae-young said sarcastically. 9 Blades rarely moved around in the underworld anymore, so he had never taken Lee Sungmin seriously. At this moment, a pair of large hands landed on his shoulders. You've grown up a lot. No longer the little kid who used to cry over small injuries, a white-haired old man said with a smile. Zion asked Jinung-ha who that old man was. Jinung-ha told him, don't underestimate Ilhak now that it's weakened. It used to be a top-tier organization in Seoul, and they built their empire with 9 core members, known as the 9 Blades. Looking at how Ryu Tae-young's men were on high alert, you could tell this guy was no ordinary person. This man was the 2nd blade of the 9 Blades, Choi Chon-ho. Ryu Tae-young was also very wary of this man, not expecting him to come out of retirement. Jinung-ha stepped forward respectfully to greet him, and it seemed the two knew each other well. At this point, Lee Sungmin said he wanted to talk to Baek Isu. Ryu Tae-young had no choice but to leave reluctantly. Lee Sungmin invited Baek Isu to ride in the same car. Jinung-ha was worried and wanted to go with him, but Baek Isu waved him off. In the car, Lee Sungmin asked if he really intended to withdraw from the joint assembly, saying this would disrupt the balance and checks between organizations. Baek Isu was still trying to figure out his true intentions. At this moment, the car stopped at a harbor. I need power, so let Tayson clan submit to me, Lee Sungmin said seriously. Baek Isu glanced out the window at some uninvited guests. That Ryu Tae-young kid's fists are harder than his mouth. On the other side, Choi Chon-ho looked at the smashed glass and said. Then he changed the subject and invited Jinung-ha to join Ilhak, saying he would reserve a spot for him among the 9 Blades. Faced with this olive branch, Jinung-ha refused without hesitation. What if Tayson clan collapses today? Will you still persist? On the other side, surrounding Baek Isu, were other members of the 9 Blades. I know you're strong, so I must give it my all, Lee Sungmin said leisurely. Baek Isu rubbed his face with both hands. He already knew the identity of the rat. Then he instructed Zion to watch Lee Sungmin. A nearby subordinate was about to cause trouble after hearing this, but Zion took him down with a single hand chop. Damn, don't bark like a dog, Baek Isu told Zion he'd be back soon. At most 1 minute to settle everything. On the other side, Ryu Tae-young was also frustrated. He originally thought he had Tayson clan in the bag today, but didn't expect Lee Sungmin to actually bring out the 9 Blades. His subordinate didn't understand what was so scary about 9 Blades. They had more people, so they could just take them all down. But he got a hard slap on the head from Ryu Tae-young. Damn, are you that good at fighting? You have no idea how terrifying the 9 Blades are. They once sent just 3 of the 9 Blades to destroy an entire gang, and there are 9 such terrifying beings in total. I can't imagine who could defeat such people, yet the invincible people Ryu Tae-young spoke of were being punched and sent flying, even pinned to the ground and beaten. What 9 Blades? Just break them all. Young Master Lee Sungmin appeared gentle and harmless on the surface, but was actually an ambitious guy, which is why he conspired with Cho Won-ho. Cho Won-ho told him that Tayson clan had already been targeted by higher-ups and was in deep trouble. Now was the best time to eliminate Tayson clan. Lee Sungmin made excuses about having no justification for action. Cho Won-ho said coldly, You don't think Ilhak is my only option, do you? Seeing him still hesitating, Cho Won-ho further persuaded him. Those who do great things must be decisive in killing. Lee Sung-min hesitated no more, having made up his mind. So he brought out the 9 blades to fully encircle Baek I-su. He didn't expect that without saying a word, Baek I-su would punch the bald man flying, and then continue to brutally attack the bald man on the ground. You think you can kill me, or destroy Taesin clan? Whether you're following orders or fighting for dignity, you're all wrong. Because I'm going to slaughter you all today. Baek I-su issued a death warning. Just as Lee Sung-min was about to move, a throwing knife flew past his cheek. Our boss ordered me to watch you, Zion said with a smile, playing with the small knife in his hand. The bald man who had been beaten took off his glasses and said easily, maybe in 10 years you really could kill me. The others nearby weren't worried either and mocked him, saying it had been years since they'd seen him get beaten. The bald man complained, asking if they were just going to watch him get beaten. As soon as he finished speaking, the mustache man's fist shot toward Baek I-su like lightning. Baek I-su raised his arms to block, but the red-haired man followed with another punch. Baek I-su dodged the punch, but his collar was grabbed, and the red-haired man lifted him up and slammed him to the ground. Not giving Baek I-su any chance to catch his breath, the scarred man lifted his foot to kick at his head. Baek I-su had to raise his arms to protect his head again. At this moment, the horse-faced man's heavy punch was already coming at him. Baek I-su quickly got up and pulled back to create distance, but the bald man's attack came from behind again. These people not only had impressive individual skills, but their coordination was flawless. In that case, I'll take them down one by one. The bald man who was sent flying was steadied by the mustached man, who grabbed Baek I-su's sleeve and pressed his other hand against the back of his head. Unable to move, Baek I-su faced the bald man's heavy blow. This excellent coordination made even Zion admire it. Lee Sung-min thought he wanted to go help and told him that even helping wouldn't change the outcome. But Zion just laughed after hearing this. Help? Help whom? If I don't go out, those old guys will all be killed. You have no idea who you've provoked. On the other side, Jin Eung-ha was thrown onto the windshield. Give up resistance. Our old friendship ends here. The white-haired elder straightened his sleeves. At the dock, Baek I-su also began his counterattack. But the opponent's coordination still caused him some difficulty. 2 people wanted to attack him again, but were swept in the face by Zion's kick. Do you want to die too? The 2 men glared at Zion, but Zion told them they should thank him for intervening. At this moment, the mustached man's fist was already coming at Baek I-su. But the next second, the sound of cracking bones echoed through the area. The others didn't understand what happened, but looking again, the mustached man's right arm was already dislocated. The bald man just realized something was wrong, but it was too late. The red-haired man had already lifted his leg to kick at Baek I-su. Another series of bone-cracking sounds rang out. This was what Chief Jang had taught Baek I-su. When facing opponents with high strength or strong resistance to attacks, you can use techniques to dislocate their joints, causing dislocation. Even the strongest person would instantly lose their fighting ability. And now the red-haired man was lying on the ground, holding his knee and wailing. The bald man sighed inwardly. This guy really is a monster. At this point, Lee Sung-min also sensed something was wrong. Remembering Cho Won-ho's reminder that Baek Dog-young's brother was a killer, he seemed to have guessed something. The bald man here also had his hand dislocated and lost his fighting ability. Baek I-su threw a punch at the bald man, but a loud shout stopped him. Lee Sung-min said he wanted to talk to Baek I-su. Because I know who you are now. The earlier behavior at the assembly plus the fighting style just now made him certain that the person before him was not Baek Do-young. Baek I-su knocked his hand away. Doesn't matter. I'll just kill you all anyway. Facing this threat, Lee Sung-min said he had a better proposal. Seeing the conversation here, Zion's side also paused their fighting. Lee Sung-min confessed that the reason he targeted Baek I-su was because he was instructed to do so, and the documents in his hand contained everything Baek I-su wanted to know. He could give these documents to Baek I-su, and in return, Taesin clan and Ilhak would form an alliance. Lee Sung-min was also frustrated. Originally, he had planned to directly swallow up Taesin clan, but didn't expect that even deploying the 9 blades couldn't handle Baek I-su. However, an alliance would also be a win-win situation. He was certain Baek I-su wouldn't refuse, but unexpectedly, Baek I-su wasn't buying it at all. If that's your negotiating chip, then why don't I just destroy Ilhak and then take the documents? Hearing Baek I-su being so arrogant, Choi Cheon-ho was immediately enraged. What an arrogant brat who doesn't know his place. Jin Eung-ha also stopped Baek I-su, telling him this was an opportunity to build trust with Ilhak. Baek I-su harshly interrupted him, denouncing Ilhak as just a bunch of opportunistic scoundrels. Are people who killed my friends and brother worth trusting? He warned Jin Eung-ha to stop talking nonsense. Zion quickly pulled the 2 apart, asking them to calm down. Lee Sung-min, to show his sincerity, could let Baek I-su look at the documents first. But Baek I-su didn't trust this kind of person who would betray allies so easily. Lee Sung-min said there was no backup of these documents. With that, he moved toward a nearby furnace. Then what's the point of talking? Let's just get on with it. Lee Sung-min's behavior infuriated Baek I-su. Jin Eung-ha quickly shouted to stop him, while Lee Sung-min's people prepared for battle. If you want an alliance, you have to do as I say. Baek I-su's next words shocked everyone. He demanded that Lee Sung-min become a hostage, Lee Sungmin was flexible and was about to agree, but Choi Chun-ho shouted no and offered to replace Lee Sungmin. Baek Isu mocked, "I want the boss of Ilhak. What are you?" Jin Young-ha also didn't want things to become irreversible. He persuaded that Nine Blades Choi Chun-ho was the foundation of Ilhak and fully qualified to replace Lee Sungmin. Baek Isu was already dissatisfied with Jin Young-ha's multiple interruptions. "I'll make my own decisions on this matter. I don't need your input," Baek Isu said coldly. Then he assigned the task of watching Choi Chun-ho to Jin Young-ha, not expecting Baek Isu to treat him this way. Jin Young-ha was silent for a long time before saying flatly, "Baek Do-young would never talk to me like this." It wasn't Baek Isu's nature, but repeated incidents made him realize that in the dark underworld, no one was worth trusting. 5 years ago, when he first returned from his undercover mission in North Korea, he was greeted not with applause but with repeated interrogations. He had risked his life for the country, but in the end was treated like a criminal. Finally, Chief Jang came forward to vouch that Baek Isu was clean, but the interrogator still wouldn't let up. In the end, Chief Jang forcibly took him away, years later when he reunited with his brothers again. Even Chief Jang, who had been like a teacher and father to him, betrayed him. All of this felt like yesterday, just as Baek Isu was lost in sad memories. Jin Young-ha came in to tell him everything was arranged, and wanted to persuade him again about the hostage matter. But Baek Isu directly cut him off. Jin Young-ha became angry and grabbed his collar. "I was wrong about you. I can't entrust Taesin clan to someone like you. You'll never be able to replace Baek Do-young." At the same time, Chief Jang and Cho Won-ho met again to conspire. Cho Won-ho said everything was going according to plan. Chief Jang felt those people were just small-time thugs. Taking them down would be no problem. After all, he was a professional. But Cho Won-ho reminded him not to be careless. Chief Jang dismissed this, deciding to first make contact with the Joint Assembly. If something went wrong with Taesin clan, he would handle it himself. On the other side, Jin Young-ha questioned Baek Isu's methods. Although the results were good, he didn't agree with his way of doing things. He felt that the Taesin clan he and Baek Do-young had worked so hard to build couldn't be destroyed in Baek Isu's hands. Previously saying he would give up Taesin clan, now wanting to take it back. Baek Isu found this childish playing house mentality ridiculous. He felt that gang members should just firmly execute his orders. But Jin Young-ha told him that the Taesin clan members were willing to follow because they trusted Baek Do-young. Since they couldn't agree, they'd settle it with fists. Baek Isu had a belly full of anger with nowhere to vent. He flew up with a knee strike aimed at Jin Young-ha. Jin Young-ha blocked the attack while grabbing Baek Isu's collar, then used the momentum to slam Baek Isu to the ground with a backdrop. "Is this all the Special Forces has?" Before he could finish speaking, he was kicked in the chin and fell backward to the ground. Both men couldn't stand each other. On the other side, Zion was responsible for guarding the hostage Choi Chun-ho. Just then, Lee Sungmin called to check on the situation. Choi Chun-ho told him not to worry, saying staying at Taesin clan was like taking a vacation. Lee Sungmin felt he'd acted too hastily, causing the situation. Choi Chun-ho said the plan was fine. No one could have expected that Baek Do-young was actually Baek Isu in disguise. After hanging up, Choi Chun-ho was teased by Zion. That call didn't sound like a subordinate reporting to his boss, more like a grandfather checking in with his grandson. Zion asked if Lee Sungmin wasn't worried about them harming Choi Chun-ho. But Choi Chun-ho said everything was for the good of the gang, and he would face the consequences calmly. This made Zion even more confused. Shouldn't subordinates execute their boss's orders without question? Choi Chun-ho said that applied to the military, not to gangs. Because that way, you wouldn't find brothers willing to die for you. Here, the scattered and fallen tables and chairs indicated the fight was over. Baek Isu's raised fist hesitated and didn't come down. "I think I made a mistake," Baek Isu said with a dark expression. Then he turned and left. "Because I realized this isn't something a gang can solve." Zion received a call from Baek Isu, who told Choi Chun-ho to rest well and prepared to leave. Before leaving, he seriously told Choi Chun-ho, "Although what you said isn't wrong, we have to rely on strong power, because we can't trust anyone." Seeing Zion, Baek Isu told him his decision. "From now on, we'll do things our own way. We're going to build a completely new organization. Then let's first recruit those guys we talked about before. We'll act like professionals. That way, we can destroy the Joint Assembly in just 1 week. If hell truly exists, then this person is a demon wearing human skin." Boris originally belonged to Russia's Wagner mercenaries, and had gone into hiding under a false identity while tracking a traitor. This was the first person Baek Isu recruited. On the other side, Jin Young-ha, who had fought with Baek Isu, fell into memories. 4 years ago, he had worked for Ilhak. With the death of the old leader, he decided to retire, so he opened a fried chicken shop to make a living. But his former enemies didn't plan to let him go. At this time, a long-haired man who frequently visited his shop intervened. Jin Young-ha didn't want him to get into trouble and urged him to leave quickly. But the long-haired man wasn't worried at all. He introduced himself as Baek Do-young from Taesin clan. Jin Young-ha had never heard of such a small gang. At this time, the boss of the man who had been beaten arrived, and immediately gave both of them a warm family greeting. This person was Lee Song-guk from HK, who made a living from loan sharking. Seeing his subordinate's miserable condition, he was instantly furious, saying he would sell Baek Do-young to a host club as a male model to pay compensation. Baek Dog-young didn't respond, just looked at him with cold eyes. Then he grabbed Lee Song-guk's hand, and his other hand moved to the dagger at his waist. With a piercing scream, Lee Song-guk clutched his hand, sweating from the pain. He kept cursing Baek Dog-young as a madman and threatening to kill him. Baek Dog-young didn't care, introducing himself as a member of Taesin clan, saying he welcomed him to come for revenge any time. His subordinates quickly took Lee Song-guk to the hospital. Jinung-ha said he didn't need to get involved, but Baek Dog-young told him a fact. Once someone steps into the underworld, there's no going back. Then he invited Jinung-ha to join Taesin clan. After a long silence, Jinung-ha made up his mind, thus beginning Taesin clan's glorious era. The two also became brothers who shared life and death. Returning to reality, Jinung-ha looked at the hair tie on his wrist and fell into endless sadness. At the same time, Lee Song-guk learned that Taesin clan had withdrawn from the joint assembly. Feeling this was Taesin clan's weakest moment. After 4 years of development, he now had 50 subordinates, so he gathered all his men, determined to avenge his severed finger. At this moment, violent door-kicking sounds came from outside. A subordinate went to check but was knocked down by the door. Boris looked coldly at everyone in the room. His appearance here was Baek Isu's doing. Earlier at the construction site, he had suddenly seen a pentagram pattern. He didn't know who was using this code to contact him, but he still followed the instructions to a warehouse, where he saw 2 strangers. Without a word, he drew his dagger and charged at them. But Baek Isu didn't dodge at all, just placed a USB drive in front of him, saying he wanted to make a deal. Looking at the USB drive, Boris stopped his actions. At this moment, Lee Seong-guk looked at Boris with confusion. Although he didn't know him, he felt this person must be mentally challenged to dare come alone. Then he ordered his men to kill Boris. As soon as the boss gave the order, his subordinates rushed forward, but they were met with a dark gun barrel. This scene shocked everyone. Boris shot one person down with a single shot. Another subordinate tried to sneak attack, but Boris turned the gun toward him. "Do you want to eat some bullets?" Then he knocked this person down with another punch. The rest rushed forward and grabbed Boris to prevent him from moving. But Boris wasn't panicked at all. He bit down on one person's arm, then with a shake of his neck threw the person off, and rode on top of him while grabbing a nearby dagger. Under Lee Song-guk's horrified gaze, he slowly cut the subordinate's throat. This cruel and bloody scene was like hell on earth. Before long, only Lee Song-guk remained in the room. Seemingly scared out of his wits, Lee Seong-guk didn't resist at all, waiting for fate's judgment. Just as the dagger was about to strike, Zion rushed in and shouted to stop, calming Boris down. At the same time, he called Baek Isu to report the situation, saying everyone here except Lee Song-guk was eliminated. Compared to here, Zion was more worried about Baek Isu's safety, because Baek Isu had to face the legendary Iron Weasel. Baek Isu told him to relax, saying this guy worked for money. Just in this moment of distraction, the target had already disappeared from his sight. The Iron Weasel, who had circled behind him, descended from above. "Who sent you? If I don't like the answer, leave your life behind." But the attack was blocked by Baek Isu in time. The young man questioned whether he was sent by superiors to hunt him down. Baek Isu didn't answer, directly revealing his Iron Weasel nickname. Hearing this, the young man's face changed dramatically, and he launched a fierce offensive. But the more he fought, the more shocked he became, because his opponent seemed to predict his moves, and the technique seemed familiar too. But he was certain he had killed everyone who knew him before coming to South Korea. 3 years ago, he was still an ordinary North Korean teenager named Lim Kyung-chun. Many people like him were gathered in a factory for strict military training. This one-eyed man was their instructor, Lee Woo-chang. The purpose was to train them to become spies infiltrating South Korea. This group of young teenagers were given the codename Iron Weasel. Day and night brutal training made them numb and cold, their eyes gradually changing from youthful clarity to icy coldness. The only thing that brought him warmth was a delivery driver uncle, who would bring him chocolate pie each time. Only when spending time with the uncle would he become the teenager he once was. In a flash, 2 years passed, and this group had developed strong combat and survival abilities. The superior ordered instructor Lee Woo-chang to arrange for Iron Weasel to carry out missions. The Iron Weasel members worried about the dangerous mission, so they decided to escape under cover of night. Their plan was to kill the driver and use the truck to leave. The only person who was kind to him was killed, which made him emotionally collapse instantly. So he picked up a knife and became a demon, slaughtering all the Iron Weasel members, and began a life of fugitive wandering. Soon after, instructor Lee Woo-chang attacked and killed everyone. When he tore off the human skin mask, he discovered it was actually Baek Isu, who had been undercover for years. This way, the deaths of all those people could be blamed on the escaped Lim Kyung-chun. At this moment, Lim Kyung-chun was already held at knife point by Baek Isu. He was very curious about where the opponent had learned these fighting techniques. "I learned these techniques from my instructor back then." Baek Isu still didn't answer, just saying he wanted to make a deal. Lim Kyung-chun was full of anticipation for this proposal. At the same time, in a hotel room, a man was being hit on the head with a bottle. Ryu Tae-hyung was taking his frustration out on his subordinates because his hotel was shut down. His connections couldn't find out who was behind it either. At this time, a subordinate rushed in with another piece of news. HK's Lee Song-guk had been destroyed by Taesin clan. He connected the two incidents, thinking the hotel closure was also Taesin clan's doing. So he gathered all his men to attack Taesin clan. But in the hotel lobby, he was mocked by a mysterious man. Ryu Taehyung was already angry, and hearing this made him even more furious. The mysterious man persisted, saying this group was just a rabble. Ryu Taehyung threw a punch at this person. The mysterious man leaned back to dodge, but his punch was caught by a glasses-wearing man nearby. This guy may have a foul mouth, but he's telling the truth. Chief Jang glanced at Ryu Taehyung sideways. If you're willing to help us with something, we can help you solve the hotel issue. Ryu Taehyung said this proposal was no problem. But if they were lying to him, he wouldn't let the two men off. The mysterious man seemed to hear the joke of the century, laughing endlessly as he took off his hood. He was the ghost who had killed brother Baek Dog-young. Ryu Taehyung immediately flared up, but Chief Jang told him to calm down. If you refuse our proposal, in the future you'll be begging for mercy on your knees. Wolves are at the top of the food chain. Even the king of the forest can only become food for wolves. They have clear division of labor, strict discipline, and a powerful wolf king creates everything. And Ryu Taehyung was the wolf king of Jiran clan. No one had ever challenged his authority, and Chief Jang's contempt made him furious. Before he could explode, Chief Jang pulled out a gun from his jacket, very arrogantly saying, "No matter what, you're just a bunch of thugs." Ryu Taehyung and all his subordinates were furious. Chief Jang told them to calm down, then handed Ryu Taehyung a document. After reading it, Ryu Taehyung's expression was uncertain. The conditions were favorable, but the risks were high. He still couldn't trust the other party. The ghost swore he was professional, but Ryu Taehyung directly tore the document to pieces. "You keep saying you're so great, then prove it." On the other side, Zion had been waiting for someone, who wasn't replying to messages either. He called Baek Isu to ask what to do. Baek Isu told him to keep waiting. He was now with Iron Weasel taking some action. Two people in the corridor warned them not to linger there. Iron Weasel asked excitedly, "Are these two people useful?" Before the two knew what was happening, they only saw a figure flash by, then felt a cool sensation at their necks. Iron Weasel was on the other side, looking at the two smugly. "If you don't want to die, quickly cover your wounds." Then he saw bloodstains on his clothes and yelled angrily. Zion on the phone heard the commotion and felt Iron Weasel was too young and might cause trouble. Baek Isu told him not to worry. Turning around, someone swung at him. Baek Isu dodged to the side and grabbed the opponent's wrist. The sound of cracking bones rang out, followed by pig-like screams. Baek Isu stepped on this person's head, and the others immediately drew knives and rushed over. Baek Isu used a rear naked choke to knock out one person. Iron Weasel took care of the rest. They're planning to destroy the Jiarang clan's subsidiary organizations, just like what happened with the Singapore faction in HK before. Meanwhile, Zion and the others are people he met during missions in the Middle East. As long as you pay them enough, they'll get the job done. They're known as errand boys. Here, Baek Isu and his companion continue moving forward. A spinning axe comes flying toward him, but Baek Isu reacts quickly and catches it with one hand. The white-suited man with a mustache looks shocked. He actually caught it. He questions what gives them the audacity to mess with the Jiarang clan. Without wasting words, Iron Weasel immediately dashes forward. The two men behind Mustache push him aside. One grabs Iron Weasel's hand, while the other thrusts a dagger straight at his face. Fortunately, he reacts quickly enough to dodge it. These guys appear to have received professional training. Seeing Iron Weasel struggling, Mustache smugly says these are elite fighters sent by Ryu Taehyung. Meanwhile, another group has already arrived at the Taesin clan's stronghold. Baek Isu here doesn't know this yet, but he guesses this is Chief Jang's handiwork, so he orders Iron Weasel to eliminate these men. Iron Weasel holds up 2 fingers, saying these guys are skilled fighters, so he wants double pay. After saying this, he kicks off the ground and charges toward the group. He strikes one man's hand with his palm, while his other hand flourishes a butterfly knife, slicing open the opponent's throat. Before the body hits the ground, he crouches low and rushes toward another man. This guy doesn't even have time to react before he's already lost his life. Iron Weasel dispatches the 2 skilled fighters in a flash, completely terrifying Mustache. Iron Weasel tells him he'll handle the remaining men and lets Baek Isu proceed with his own plan. Baek Isu doesn't understand why Chief Jang acted so swiftly. This is actually the agreement Ryu Taehyung reached with him earlier. Initially, Ryu Taehyung was worried he wouldn't be able to command these people, but Chief Jang reassured him, saying, "These men only care about money, not loyalty." Just as Baek Isu is about to charge out, a motorcycle speeds toward him. With a crowbar swinging down at Baek Isu's head, there's a profession in the Middle East called errand boys, who will do anything for money. And they never inquire about the identities of either party or what the items are. They just need to deliver the specified items to the buyer to get paid. But this time, the buyer was afraid of information leaking, so he planted a C4 explosive in the payment. Unexpectedly, this person miraculously survived the explosion. What followed was his crazy revenge against the buyer. He single-handedly wiped out the entire opposing team, because he is the most dangerous errand boy. Now this is who Baek Isu is facing. The man turned on his motorcycle headlight, blinding Baek Isu. Then he gunned the throttle and charged forward. With his vision obstructed, Baek Asu could only instinctively raise his arm to block. The dagger snapped on impact, and his arm took a heavy blow. The man waited quietly in the distance, like a cheetah eyeing its prey, ready to pounce and bite at the first opportunity. Meanwhile, a group of fierce-looking men arrived at the Taesin clan's headquarters. A car parked by the roadside was monitoring everything. Ghost sneered at the cooperation with Jurang clan. He didn't understand why a professional assassin like himself needed to seek help from thugs. But Chief Jong told him a shocking fact. Baek-isu might still be alive. Ghost was stunned at first, then suddenly raised both hands. Then let's kill him again. Killing twins is the most fun. It's like being able to kill one person twice. Chief Jang looked at the reflection in the glass and murmured, "Let's finish this quickly, Baek-isu." At this moment, Jurang clan members had already broken into Taesin clan. The Taesin clan members were completely unprepared and caught off guard. But Taesin clan was, after all, the leader of the 5 major gangs. After a moment, they had stabilized the situation. The battle between both sides reached a stalemate. Watching all this, the man with glasses frowned, and knocked down a Taesin clan subleader with one punch. With Chief Jang's people joining the fight, the situation reversed again, and everyone's morale soared as they attacked Taesin clan. Suddenly, the leader of Jurang clan was punched into the ground by a mysterious figure. The heavy blow from the metal knuckles knocked him unconscious immediately. This person was 9 Blades, Choi Chonho, who had been held hostage. The Jurang clan members were shocked. Why would 9 Blades appear here? Since Ilhak and Taesin clan are now allies, I can't just stand by and watch. Come at me, you little punks. The man with glasses slowly removed his glasses. Old man, instead of staying home drinking tea and maintaining your health, you come here to fight. You really don't fear death enough. He was the Special Operations Team leader, Park Chang-hun. Choi Cheon-ho was about to retort to this unreasonable statement when Park Chang-hun delivered a heavy punch to his chin. Before he could react, Park Chang-hun landed 4 consecutive punches to Choi Cheon-ho's face. Then he gathered all his strength and delivered a devastating hook to the liver. A beautiful combination punch directly KO'd Choi Cheon-ho. Damn old man, insisting on showing off? On the other side, Baek-isu was stuck in a stalemate. His opponent kept delaying without attacking again, keeping him pinned here. If he couldn't break through quickly, the entire plan would collapse. Suddenly, the motorcycle charged straight at him. Baek-isu aimed to grab his opponent's leg, but the guy nimbly rolled away. Just as he turned around, the motorcycle came racing back. Baek-isu was about to attack, when his opponent hit the brakes hard, causing the rear wheel to lift up. The crowbar swung directly at his head. He barely dodged the crowbar but was sent flying by the swinging rear wheel. Baek-isu exhaled and forced himself to calm down, observing his opponent before taking action. His opponent kept using the rear wheel to scrape the ground, creating smoke. To obstruct Baek-isu's vision, he could only rely on sound to determine whether his opponent's attack was coming from the left or right. This unpredictability made him feel unable to control the situation, forcing him into passive defense. Is this all a professional fighter can do? A voice came from behind. Baek-isu saw it was Jinung-ha, and Ilhak was also stunned. I think you might need an amateur's help. On the other side, at Taesin clan headquarters, Park Chung-hoon was about to leave when he was called back by Choi Cheon-ho, who had stood up again. A useless old man, still so stubborn, Park Chung-hoon wanted to finish the fight quickly. Suddenly, a punch came straight at his face. This speed was completely different from before. Park Chung-hoon realized this and tried to create distance first. But Choi Cheon-ho wouldn't give him the chance, closing in again. A heavy punch sent him flying backward. Park Chung-hoon endured the sweet taste of blood in his mouth and tried to draw the dagger from his shoulder. But Choi Cheon-ho's fist came at him again, sending him flying along with the dagger. Then he grabbed Park Chung-hoon's face with his left hand. Did you think I was easy to handle? Didn't your parents teach you to be civilized and polite? Park Chung-hoon felt his breathing becoming more difficult, so he pulled out another dagger and stabbed at his opponent. But Choi Cheon-ho grabbed the blade directly. We're not good at scheming, but we fight to protect our family, friends, and organization. Do you understand now, you little punk? This is our way. Meanwhile, Baek-isu looked at Jinung-ha and asked, how's Taesin clan? Jinung-ha told him not to worry, because the person now guarding Taesin clan wouldn't fall. As Baek-isu watched him approach the motorcycle, he reminded him that his opponent was skilled and couldn't be handled recklessly like a brute. Jinung-ha didn't respond. He wrapped his jacket around his right hand. You just think too much. No matter how his techniques change, I'll break through with pure force. This is what your brother told me. Jinung-ha's heavy punch struck the speeding motorcycle, actually shaking the rider off the bike. We're the bastards of Taesin clan. The younger brother studies so he can calmly talk to idiots. The older brother trains his fists so idiots can calmly talk to him. Although they were twins, their personalities had been completely different since childhood. Every time Baek-isu was bullied, his brother would defend him with his fists. He deeply hated this violence approach to solving problems. So after entering middle school, he studied even harder. Meanwhile, Baek Dog-young already had considerable influence. He often got into fights and caused trouble, becoming a school celebrity. This time, he had arranged another fight on the playground. However, the people around Baek Dog-young were all battered and bruised, while the opposing group was tall and intimidating, clearly not to be messed with. Someone recognized the leader as Chin Hao from the first high school. They thought Baek Dog-young was going to suffer this time. Chin Hao arrogantly said he was originally just going to teach Baek Dog-young's friends a lesson. But since someone wanted to stand up for them, he'd teach Baek Dog-young a lesson too. Looking at Chin Hao, who was a head taller than him, Baek Dog-young showed no fear. He mocked him as a coward who only dared to bully the weak, challenging him to go pick fights with real thugs in society. Hearing this, Chin Hao's expression changed and he was about to strike. Baek Dog-young's friends prepared to step forward, but he stopped them. He said he could handle this matter alone. The students watching from the classroom cheered, "So cool!" The next second, Baek Dog-young was on the ground with his head down and butt up. "Senior, I'm sorry." This sudden attitude change stunned everyone. Baek Dog-young said he had long admired Chin Hao's reputation. This left Chin Hao unsure of how to respond. However, he was quite satisfied with Baek Dog-young's attitude. He said he would go easier on them next time he beat them up. But he didn't notice Baek Dog-young's lips curling into a smile. He quietly pressed the tip of his pen and quickly stabbed through Chin Hao's shoe. Chin Hao's screams immediately filled the area. While he was in agony, Baek Dog-young flew up with a kick to Chin Hao's chin. Ji-hoon delivers newspapers every morning to help support his family, but you broke his leg! The rest of the group snapped out of their shock, and one of them threw a punch at Baek Dog-young, but he caught the man's elbow in a reverse grip. Sunguk hasn't brought rice balls to school lately because of his injury. Baek Dog-young continued talking to himself. I really miss the rice balls Sunguk's mom makes. At this point, more people charged forward. Several of them rushed together and restrained Baek Dog-young. One person threw a punch directly at Baek Dog-young's face, but Baek Dog-young grabbed his head and delivered a headbutt to the man's skull. Also, why did you hit Lee Woo in the head when he already has brain problems? Seeing how difficult Baek Dog-young was to handle, the rest all charged at him. Baek Dog-young roared fiercely, "Everyone who messes with me must die." At this moment, a figure rapidly approached and kicked away the person restraining Baek Dog-young. Baek Dog-young looked at the newcomer with a stunned expression. This impressive flying kick actually came from Baek Isu. I really envy having a brother like that, Baek Isu said calmly. We're brothers after all. Pulling his thoughts back to reality, Jinung-ha punched the motorcycle rider flying. Occasionally using Baek Dog-young's method can solve problems too, Jinung-ha reminded him. Baek Isu was curious about what kind of person Baek Dog-young was in Jinung-ha's eyes. I'll tell you. After saying this, Jinung-ha knelt on one knee. And I'll turn you into Taesun clan's Baek Dog-young. On the other side, Choi Cheon-ho rubbed his hands and sighed that he was really getting old. Just a little exercise, and his whole body ached. Then he called for the remaining little punks to come at him together. One person wrapped steel wire around his hand, and suddenly ambushed Choi Cheon-ho. It was Ghost, who had been holding back until now. Meanwhile, the motorcycle rider who had been knocked down earlier got back up. He never expected to stumble in such a simple situation. His gaze was fixed deadly on his prey. Then he swung the crowbar in his hand. Seeing this, Jinung-ha clenched his fist and stepped forward again. Both sides were about to clash. At this moment, the rider's phone rang. He picked up the phone and glanced at it, then pointed at Jinung-ha. You broke my beloved headlight, you're dead today. Then he revved the engine and rode away without looking back. On the other side, at Taesun clan headquarters, the scene was silent, whether it was Taesun clan members or the attacking side. Everyone knew that the battle in the center would determine victory. Choi Cheon-ho's iron fist struck Ghost's chin, but his expression became even more serious. He knew his opponent was a madman. Any moment of carelessness could mean defeat. He needed to use this momentum to finish off his opponent in one go. Ghost just cackled wickedly. Old man, your punches are soft as cotton, they can't kill me. After saying this, his entire body flashed like a ghost. Although Choi Cheon-ho blocked the vital areas, deep knife marks were still left on his gloves. And there was also a bone-deep wound on his back. Ghost mocked him to go faster, saying he would soon send him to meet his maker. Thinking about soon being able to kill Baek Isu, he laughed even more maniacally. Choi Cheon-ho took the opportunity to charge forward and throw a punch. Faster. I'm on your right. Faster. Left, left. Die, old man. But Choi Cheon-ho caught the dagger with his bare hands. He thought to himself that he must quickly finish off this person. With this thought, he gathered all his strength and threw a punch. But his arm was caught by Ghost, who mocked him. Is that all? After saying this, he forcefully bent it backward, brutally breaking Choi Cheon-ho's arm. Then he leaped up, driving his knee straight toward Choi Cheon-ho's face. But he was stopped by a loud shout. Park Chong-hoon issued a full retreat order. He explained that he had received orders that the plan had changed temporarily and they needed to retreat. This infuriated Ghost, who was enjoying the fight. He grabbed Park Chang-hoon's head. Damn it. You've been yelling about retreating since earlier. Do you believe I'll tear your mouth apart? The game is just getting started. At this moment, Chief Jang's voice came through the radio, telling him to stop playing around and come back for a more important mission. It turned out Ryu Taehyung had thought of a more vicious plan. In the villa, Lim Gyung-chun complained about not knowing how to tie a tie, making a fuss about wanting Zion to help him. He even gave Zion the nickname Parrot. Boris, meanwhile, stared blankly at a fruit knife. At this moment, someone walked out from behind. Zion and Lim Gyung-chun both praised how handsome their boss looked. Baek Isu walked over in a black suit. From now on, we need to act like a gang. Where do you all think we should start? Half an hour later, Choi Cheon-ho walked out angrily, and Jinung-ha quickly followed. Choi Cheon-ho said he had also contributed a lot to Taesun clan, and now he was being sent home. Jin Young-ha explained that Baek Isu didn't mean it that way. Choi Cheon-ho said he was just joking, he was planning to go back anyway. Seeing Taesun clan's current state, he suddenly had an idea. He thought he might be able to restore Ilhak to its former glory, so he wanted to quickly return and discuss it with Lee Sung-min. Under Chief Jang's instigation, they first allied with Jorang clan to ambush Taesun clan. When they saw Ilhak's Choi Cheon-ho stationed at Taesun clan, they directly turned to attack Ilhak's headquarters. Meanwhile, Lee Sung-min was completely unaware of the approaching danger. He was in low spirits because his carelessness had caused his subordinates to be seriously injured. The red-haired man consoled him, saying these minor injuries were nothing, but he grimaced in pain with the slightest movement, making everyone laugh. Suddenly, noisy sounds came from outside. Lee Gyuzhang got up to check. His subordinate said there were motorcycle sounds coming from downstairs. Just as he was speaking, a motorcycle came speeding in, catching 3 people off guard and knocking them down. The motorcycle then charged into the office, attacking anyone in sight. Horseface was the first to be hit, taking a solid blow from the crowbar. Everyone had lived by the blade before. They quickly reacted. Gimsong used his plastered arm to block an attack. At this moment, other attackers poured in. Baldy loudly questioned them about why they were destroying the alliance. The Jirang clan members ignored him and continued ordering a full attack. Red Hair kicked 2 people away with 1 foot. "You bugs! Do you know where you are?" Red Hair was furious. But his already injured ankle became even worse from that kick. Baldy knew dragging this out would be disadvantageous, so he decided to take down the motorcycle first. He pushed Gimsong aside and told him to take young Master Sung-min away first. He would handle things here. Horseface, who had been knocked down earlier, now got up and grabbed the motorcycle rider. Baldy took the opportunity to kick the rider. Lee Sung-min was unwilling to leave everyone behind and escape alone, but Gimsong desperately pulled him away. Seeing Lee Sung-min still wanting to go back, Gimsong told him that as long as the Green Hills remain, there's no fear of running out of firewood. As long as Lee Sung-min was still alive, Ilhak still had hope. For this, everyone was already prepared to die. Looking at the devastated scene, Ryu Taehyung mocked that 9 blades was nothing special. But it was a pity Lee Sung-min had escaped. In the car, Lee Sung-min hated his own incompetence. He had thought he could restore Ilhak's former glory, but he turned out to be just a clown. Suddenly, a motorcycle rushed in front of their vehicle and scattered tire spikes on the ground. Gimsong jerked the steering wheel and slammed on the brakes. Lee Sung-min wanted to face the motorcycle rider together with Gimseong, but he was stopped and told to run quickly. Don't let the brothers' deaths be meaningless. He also said that being able to serve 9 blades in this lifetime was already worthwhile. Lee Sung-min began running desperately. He didn't know how long he ran or how many times he fell. A voice in his head reminded him he must survive. No matter how bitter or humble, he must survive. This was bought with his brothers' lives. Finally, he arrived at Taesun clan's headquarters. Baek Isu and the others were shocked to see Lee Sung-min's condition. Choi Cheon-ho quickly asked what had happened. Lee Sung-min didn't answer him but faced Baek Isu instead, begging Taesun clan to save Ilhak. Although it was presumptuous for him to ask for help now when he had previously wanted to devour Taesun clan, he had no choice. So he faced Baek Isu and dropped to his knees. Baek Isu immediately helped him up, telling him they had just been discussing some interesting matters. Then he stated that he would destroy the Allied Council. He just wasn't sure which gang to start with. Then he asked for Lee Sung-min's thoughts. At this moment, in a hospital room, Suo was looking worriedly at the person on the bed. This person was being kept alive through nutritional IVs. The Supreme Master had become a super bald master as he wished. Due to sudden worries, he smoked 20 cigarettes per minute. His grandson was furious when he found out, because he was counting on Grandpa to teach him fighting techniques. The old man told him that strength doesn't come from power, but from the spirit of never giving up. Come, grandson, drink this bowl of chicken soup. This was the person Lee Sung-min admired most in childhood. He was the Ilhak boss who unified the H-country underworld, Lee Sung-hak. However, just yesterday, the mighty Ilhak had been conquered. Lee Sung-min was extremely dejected about this. The empire his grandfather built was ruined in his hands. Choi Cheon-ho was very worried about him. But he could only rely on himself to overcome this mental barrier. Baek Isu was very polite to him because Choi Cheon-ho had previously helped Taesun clan. So Lee Sung-min was welcome to stay as long as he wanted. Choi Cheon-ho said they were all brother gangs and should help each other. Baek Isu knew what he wanted to say, but what could the current Ilhak do? Choi Cheon-ho promised that from now on, whenever it came to Taesun clan matters, Ilhak would spare no effort. Baek Isu leisurely brewed a cup of tea. Am I asking the boss of Ilhak, or did you become the boss overnight? The sarcasm in these words was obvious. But being under someone else's roof, Choi Cheon-ho had no choice but to remain silent. Uncle Choi, please step aside for a moment. I want to talk to Mr. Baek alone. After the two left, Lee Sung-min asked Baek Isu if his words carried weight in Taesun clan. Baek Isu didn't answer but threw the same question back at him. Moreover, things had developed beyond Lee Sung-min's control. Lee Sung-min realized he should be friendlier to Baek Isu now. Only Taesun clan could help him now. So he asked if Baek Isu planned to ally with him. Unexpectedly, Baek Isu flatly refused. because the current Ilhak was too weak. More precisely, Lee Sungmin was too weak. Now there was only one path for Ilhak: to submit to Taesin clan. But first, Lee Sungmin had to prove his worth. Lee Sungmin stated that Ilhak still belonged to the Allied Council, and Jeorang clan had violated the agreement by attacking Ilhak. He would definitely make a scene at the Allied Council and make Ryu Tae-young pay the price. At this moment, at HHS Entertainment, Han Hae-seung also had an uninvited guest. It was Ryu Tae-young from Jeorang clan. After some small talk, Han Hae-seung asked him how he planned to handle the mess. Ryu Tae-young didn't care. He attacked Ilhak simply because he found Lee Sungmin annoying. Hearing this, Han Hae-seung said he wouldn't take his side. He had gone too far this time. Ryu Tae-young didn't care either. This Allied Council meeting would be quite a show, and the meeting location was specially prepared for Lee Sungmin, because this place was Lee Sungmin's hometown. This approach was completely slapping him in the face. The gatekeeper mocked him as a homeless dog, using the most vicious language against him. Lee Sungmin heard Baek Isu's words echoing in his ears. Without 9 blades protection, you're nothing. If you want to prove you can lead Ilhak, show the corresponding strength. Lee Sungmin endured the mockery with a dark face. Some even threw cigarette butts at him to humiliate him. A fat man blocked his path, saying the Allied Council was meeting inside, and outsiders weren't allowed. Lee Sungmin told him with a dark face to get lost. The fat man thought he had misheard. Lee Sungmin angrily punched the fat man. The thugs inside also heard the commotion outside, and Lee Sungmin had already dealt with the fat man. Seeing this, one person rushed over with a stick and gave Lee Sungmin a blow to the head. In his daze, he remembered his grandfather's words. What's important isn't your fighting ability, but the spirit of never kneeling. Because Ryu Tae-hyung had disrespected the old chairman Lee Sung-hak and attacked Ilhak, Cha Yu-hwa from Chaenung Trading Company was extremely angry. She demanded that Ryu Tae-hyung give everyone an explanation. Ryu Tae-hyung mocked her. Who the hell are you? This time it's Ilhak. Who knows who's next? Hearing this, Cha Yu-hwa was about to explode in anger when Lee Sungmin walked in covered in blood. He grabbed the cigarette from Ryu Tae-hyung's mouth. I'm the master of this place. This is a place for humans to live, not a doghouse. Having lost face, Ryu Tae-hyung swept away the tableware in front of him. Our young master Sungmin is so mighty, he really has some masculine spirit now. Lee Sungmin paid no attention to his threats. He declared that he was still the master of Ilhak, and Ryu Tae-hyung had violated the Allied Council agreement by attacking Ilhak. So he demanded that Jeorang clan withdraw from the council and hand over their territory. Ryu Tae-hyung generously admitted that he had done everything, but he was also forced to do so. Then he pulled out photos of Lee Sungmin meeting with Baek Dog-young, accusing Lee Sungmin of instigating Taesin clan to attack Jeorang clan's branch first. Although he knew this wasn't the case, with photos as evidence, Lee Sungmin couldn't explain clearly. Han Hae-seung was in cahoots with Ryu Tae-hyung, and also pressed this matter. Lee Sungmin was instead put on the defensive. Ryu Tae-hyung pressed his advantage. Since you can't give a reasonable explanation, let's settle this with strength. As soon as he finished speaking, Jeorang clan thugs who had been lying in ambush appeared behind Ryu Tae-hyung. Cha Yu-hwa's eyes blazed with anger. The tiger doesn't show its power, so you think I'm a sick cat. After saying this, she put on sunglasses and snapped her fingers in the air. A figure carrying a cleaver appeared at the door. If you want to fight, I'll take both your heads today. Lee Sungmin knew this was Chi-nung's ace, the butcher. Ryu Tae-hyung also didn't want to tear his face with Cha Yu-hwa right now. But you can protect Lee Sungmin for now. Can you protect him for life? Without 9 blades, Ilhak is nothing. But Lee Sungmin laughed heartily. I never said I was alone! At this moment, a group of people walked toward the meeting hall. An untimely voice came in. I'm late again. You've made the atmosphere so deadly serious again. Ryu Tae-hyung frowned slightly and scolded. Taesin clan has already withdrawn from the council, so you have no right to be here now. Then he mocked Lee Sungmin. Is this the new backer you found? Baek Isu corrected him. Lee Sungmin is our chairman. This statement shocked everyone, not knowing what he was up to. Baek Isu said that Taesin clan inherited the old chairman Lee Sung-hak's will, and fully supported Lee Sungmin as chairman. Then he even threatened everyone to choose sides, whether to continue inheriting the old chairman's will or choose to become enemies. The butcher behind the door was about to act but was stopped by Cha Yu-hwa. After Baek Isu finished speaking, he left with Lee Sungmin. He praised Lee Sungmin for having quite good presence. Suddenly someone blocked their path at the door. When Baek Isu turned to see this person, his entire face contorted with anger. The intense fury made his whole body tremble. Lee Sungmin also saw Chief Jang. Thinking that everything was because of this person, he was also filled with rage. Baek Isu revealed the dagger in his hand, his entire being radiating cold-killing intent. He calculated the distance to Chief Jang and how confident he was of a fatal strike. Chief Jang seemed oblivious to all this, and calmly greeted Baek Isu. After a long moment, Baek Isu prepared to light a cigarette to calm his nerves. Chief Jang considerately offered his lighter. In the scene, the two looked like old friends. The next second, Chief Jang's tone changed, saying he had confirmed Baek Isu's identity, and asking what his next plan was. Why didn't he act just now? Baek Isu told him this matter wouldn't end with one person's death. Then he waved goodbye to Chief Jang, saying he would tell him his plan the next time they met. The deaths of his comrade and brother were all thanks to him. Baek Isu suppressed his urge for revenge through sheer willpower, but he didn't dare look at that ugly face again. Only after the group had walked far away did Baek Isu no longer suppress himself. He sternly told everyone to begin implementing the plan. On the other side, at the headquarters of Honggu Loans, Lee Song-guk was furious about the recent decrease in income. His dim-witted subordinate said the merchants had been difficult lately. The fruit vendor's pretty daughter said she would rather pay with her body than money. Lee Song-guk felt a headache coming on. It was all because of that Russian from Taesin clan, and that blonde kid warned him to keep a low profile. Next time he saw him, he'd make him pay. Speak of the devil, and he appears. Zion appeared at the door at this moment, greeting him with a smile. The dim-witted subordinate didn't recognize him and arrogantly asked, "Where did this little brat come from?" Lee Song-guk wanted to stop him, but it was too late. Thinking of the previous beating, he shuddered. Sure enough, after a series of crashes and bangs, the dim-witted subordinate was already lying unconscious to the side. Zion said he came today to ask a few questions. One was about all the information on Jerang clan, and the other was about a place that could hold 5 people. Lee Song-guk calculated in his mind that the rumors outside were all true. Ilhak and Taesin clan had allied against Jurong clan. He must choose the right side now. So he swore to Zion that he would tell him everything. With just one small condition, he wanted to join Taesan clan. This request left Zion stunned, because this guy had previously belonged to Jurong clan. Lee Song-guk gave an explanation. A wise bird chooses its tree. Zion agreed to his request, and Lee Song-guk talked extensively about everything he knew. After finishing, Zion asked him to come along to find the place to hold 5 people. Lee Song-guk didn't want to show his face. Zion told him that since he was already a Taesin clan brother, they should advance and retreat together. At night, in a remote abandoned factory, 9 Blades Baldy was imprisoned inside. Someone opened the factory door and walked in. Ryu Taehyung told him not to look so bitter. "You're a prisoner now." Then he began talking to himself. Taesin clan and Ilhak had joined forces to suppress Jurang clan and were now looking for the 9 Blades members. Baldy didn't understand his intention and mocked whether he was afraid. Hearing this, Ryu Taehyung laughed heartily. Even if both sides united, they were nothing to fear. Apart from Jinung Ha and Choi Cheon-ho, the others were just small fry. This time it was Baldy's turn to laugh. Had this guy forgotten about an even more terrifying existence? 9 Blades had suffered at Baek Isu's hands before. At this moment, Baek Isu single-handedly infiltrated the Jurang clan branch, with a battered guy lying beneath him. Baek Isu asked who taught him the sword techniques he used. If he wouldn't talk, he'd send him to meet Marks. After Baek Dog-young was killed in the attack, Sua rarely appeared. She didn't want to see that face that was both familiar and strange. Jinung Ha shared the same feeling with him. Still, Sua saw things clearly. Setting aside other identities, at least they were still members of Taesin clan. They had to do their job properly, and this visit was for a work briefing. In the conference room, Baek Isu and Lee Sung-min had been waiting for a long time. Sua was analyzing the collected clues on stage. Currently, there were 2 possible locations where the 9 Blades could be hidden. With Taesin clan's current manpower, they couldn't attack both locations simultaneously. The motel area had low population density, and entering rashly would quickly expose them. So Sua suggested concentrating their forces to attack the abandoned warehouse. Baek Isu already had a plan in mind. For this kind of surprise attack, having too many people wasn't necessarily good. If the enemy set an ambush, it would be total disaster. So he planned to send Lin Qingshun and Zion to the abandoned warehouse, as they were better at stealth operations. As for the motel, Baek Isu planned to tackle it himself. In a run-down motel at night, Baek Isu is gathering information. A lackey-looking guy refuses him, citing customer privacy protection, and impatiently tells him to get lost and stop causing trouble here. Baek Isu doesn't say much, pulls out a dagger and stabs it through the man's palm, pinning it to the table. "Can you answer my question now? Is 9 Blades being held here?" Before the man can answer, Baek Isu pulls out the dagger. "I'd better ask around myself." At this moment, a group of armed men surround them, but these people misjudge their opponent's strength. Just 5 minutes later, Baek Isu casually wipes the blood from his dagger. Someone grabs a person from the ground to interrogate, but he discovers there are no survivors left here. This person is Choi Cheon-ho, who just arrived. He's had a big question in his mind. Why are you helping Ilhak? And he always feels that Ilhak, even the Taesan clan, are being used by Baek Isu. Apart from those high-sounding reasons, he wants Baek Isu to reveal his true purpose. Suddenly, a group of thugs appears and interrupts their conversation, arrogantly ordering them to stand still. Suddenly, Baek Isu grabs his ankle and yanks down hard, sending the man's body flying into the air. Another man comes stabbing with a knife, but Baek Isu grabs it with his backhand. As the man is pulled down, Choi Chun-ho's fist also arrives at his face, smashing the thug into the ground. At the same time, Baek Isu also finishes off another one with a flying knee. Choi Cheon-ho had only heard about Baek Isu's formidable strength before. This time, he truly experiences it. He can always find opportunities to attack enemies in the gaps and deliver fatal blows. Choi Chan-ho realizes he and Baek Isu are not in the same league at all. Under their cooperation, the appearing crowd instantly crumbles. After unhesitatingly stabbing down with one knife, Baek Isu remains calm and composed. In contrast, the crowd is already terrified and thinking of retreating. On the other side, Zion and his group also arrive at the abandoned warehouse. Lee Song-guk says he's not certain it's this person, but he's noticed many new faces recently, and apparently some are carrying guns. Upon hearing this, Zion shows a worried expression. Here, Baek Isu and Choi Cheon-ho are like two fierce tigers entering a flock of sheep. Soon, a bunch of lackeys are lying behind them. One lackey runs away in fear, but gets kicked away by someone coming out of the building. This person is Lee Gyuzong from Nine Blades. Choi Chan-ho asks about the other's situation. Lee Gyuzong says he escaped during the chaos, and tells them the others are in constant danger right now, asking the two to follow him. Choi Cheon-ho wants to follow but is stopped by Baek Isu, who always feels something is wrong. At this moment, Lee Gyuzong from earlier is actually hiding around the corner with a weapon, because Chief Jang previously promised Lee Gyuzong that as long as he kills Baek Isu, he would fully support Ilhak's return to former glory. Originally, he didn't believe Chief Jang's words, but Chief Jang's one sentence got a grip on him, so he decided to side with him. Baek Isu here also senses something wrong, and prepares to use his speed to get through the corner. Choi Cheon-ho grabs him, saying he'll handle this. He asks Lee Gyuzong why he betrayed them. He wants to have a good talk with him. Lee Gyuzong sternly stops him, saying he's not doing this for himself. Back in the day, 9 Blades fought together to create the glorious Ilhak era. But after the old boss died, this position should have been brother Choi Cheon-ho's responsibility. Why should Lee Sungmin, that kid who knows nothing, get to sit there? And the current situation is all caused by that guy. Choi Cheon-ho interrupts him, not wanting him to continue. In the underworld, loyalty comes first. Once we're Ilhak's people for life. Today, your betrayal is unforgivable. Brother Cheon-ho, don't do this. Choi Cheon-ho tells him to stop calling him brother. From today on, we're no longer brothers. I will clean house in the name of 9 Blades. Though he says this, Choi Cheon-ho is already in tears. Seeing Choi Cheon-ho approaching, Lee Gyuzong excitedly raises his gun to stop him, but he ignores what's behind him. Baek Isu suddenly breaks through the window. Lee Gyuzong tries to turn and shoot, but Baek Isu grabs his arm and strikes down from top to bottom with his knife. Then, Lee Gyuzong clutches his arm and lets out a piercing scream. Baek Isu sweeps his legs again, knocking him down. Lee Gyuzong's head hits the ground hard. Baek Isu grabs his neck. What I hate most is screaming. After saying this, Baek Isu prepares to finish him off. Choi Cheon-ho quickly shouts to stop him. Baek Isu turns back with an evil smile. Anything else you want to say? At another abandoned factory, 9 Blades' 6th member, Sun Mong, is loudly complaining about being hungry. A figure walks in from outside the door. Iron Weasel says, I didn't prepare any food, but I still have a chocolate pie, do you want it? Sun Mong looks at Iron Weasel in front of him, thinking he's only about 15 or 16 years old. Wondering how he got through the layers of guards, Iron Weasel says he's from Taesin clan. Sun Mong asks what about the other 9 Blades members. Iron Weasel tells him not to worry, everything's been arranged. On the other side, Zion takes out the guards, and successfully finds 9 Blades' 8th member, asking if he still remembers him but gets no response. It seems the 8th member is unconscious. Zion tries to wake him up, but Zhang Da's hand behind his back grips a claw knife tightly. Suddenly his body shoots up, slashing at Zion's neck with one strike, but Zion nimbly dodges it. Actually, Zion had been alert. Though the opponent was sitting in a chair, his build was smaller than in memory. Zhang Da rips off the human skin mask from his head, revealing he's actually the ghost who hasn't shown up. Go says even Baek Isu couldn't dodge that strike just now. Zion doesn't understand what he's saying, but since he mentioned the team leader, this guy definitely can't be spared. In the blink of an eye, the two have exchanged over 10 moves. Ghost shows a sickly smile. I'm the ghost who killed Baek Isu. Zion launches the first attack, stabbing his dagger straight at the opponent's throat. Ghost dodges the attack while also judging his opponent's strength. The accuracy and speed are both excellent, but still inferior to Baek Isu. Because he's already found Zion's weakness, just as he prepares to act, a throwing knife shoots straight at his face. Ghost barely dodges the strike, but his cheek is already cut. He realizes Zion deliberately showed an opening earlier, just to hide this move. Thinking of this, Ghost covers his face and laughs loudly. Don't you dare disappoint me! At another abandoned warehouse, Lee Song-guk also finds a place where 9 Blades is being held. He feels it's time for him to shine. Facing the burly enforcer, he shows no fear. He scolds the opponent. A good dog doesn't block the way. Seeing the opponent unmoved, he swings a punch toward him. At the same time, the enforcer also prepares to counterpunch. At this moment, Lee Song-guk reveals a Jurang clan badge, successfully fooling the enforcer to reach the warehouse, and meets the bald man held there. Initially, the bald man doesn't recognize him. Lee Song-guk flamboyantly flips his hair. I'm here to rescue you on behalf of Taesin clan. On the other side, Baek Isu leans against the car smoking. He leaves the space to Choi Cheon-ho and the traitor Lee Gyuzong. In the car, Choi Cheon-ho asks if he regrets it. Lee Gyuzhong says he's long seen the situation clearly. We have no strength to fight against Jeorang clan right now. Only by handing over Taesin clan and the young master will we have a chance at survival. Seeing Lee Gyuzhong still stubbornly unrepentant, Choi Cheon-ho punches him in the face. Then punch after punch lands on Lee Gyuzhong's body. Keep spouting nonsense and I'll kill you. Lee Gyuzhong mumbles through his bloody nose and mouth. Ilhak is no longer the Ilhak of the past. Why fight a battle we're destined to lose? Choi Cheon-ho trembles with rage, throwing another punch forward. But this time it's toward the glass behind Lee Gyuzhong. Our fight isn't about winning or losing. It's about protecting what we cherish. At this moment, Lee Gyuzhong is in tears. Protect with what? With these weak fists? Suddenly, Baek Isu opens the car door and interrupts them, then steps on the gas pedal and the car shoots forward. Choi Cheon-ho asks what happened. Baek Isu says seriously that he feels something's wrong and they must get to the warehouse immediately. At the warehouse, the battle between the two has reached its climax. After dodging Zion's dagger, Ghost taunts him asking if he wants to continue playing around. I'm getting serious now. After several exchanges, neither can overcome the other. Both simultaneously turn and create distance. At this moment, Ghost is shocked in his heart. He actually made the exact same move as me. Zion casually plays with a claw knife in his hand, which is exactly Ghost's backup weapon hidden at his waist. Only now does Ghost confirm the opponent has the same identity as him. The two fight again. Zion, familiar with the opponent's moves, suppresses Ghost everywhere. In no time, Ghost has multiple wounds on his body, but he gives an evil smile. As Zion's claw knife stabs again, Ghost grabs the blade with his bare hand, then guides the blade towards Zion, while his left hand's claw knife also reaches his face. Die, brat! Once, Zion was the captain of the Ghost action team, not only possessing superior close combat skills but also proficient with various weapons. He was also ruthless toward opponents. After killing the guards, he met this mission's target, a double agent operating between North and South Korea. Codenamed Double Arms, Double Arms tells Zion that as long as he spares his life, he'll give Zion plenty of benefits. At the same time, his left hand reaches for the revolver in the drawer. Seeing Zion within shooting range, he laughs and raises the gun to shoot, but he only sees a figure flash by, his eyes seeming to catch a thread. Then his left arm sends sharp pain. After coming to his senses, he discovers his left arm has been cleanly severed. Zion taunts him about changing his name to Single Arm in the future, but this time he doesn't plan to take his life, just giving him a warning. After leaving, Zion reports the mission progress to his superior, and his superior is Chief Jang. Chief Jang is very dissatisfied with Zion's handling, warning him that no matter what mission he receives, as long as Ghost takes action, he must eliminate all threats completely. The higher-ups may not be clear about Ghost's existence, but Zion must understand the meaning of his role. Zion expresses understanding and promises the next mission will leave no future troubles. He grew up in such a twisted environment. Today's fight with Ghost brings back Zion's memories. Ghost thinks he can manipulate Zion, not knowing that Zion is extremely familiar with all his moves, and knows exactly where his killing techniques and weaknesses are. He sweeps low to knock down Ghost, simultaneously raising his dagger to stab at Ghost. Ghost quickly rolls left to dodge, but Zion's dagger, hugging the ground, stabs at him again. Unable to dodge, he can only risk trading injury for injury, kicking at Zion's head, but Zion seems to have anticipated this, steadily catching Ghost's leg with both hands. With both knives slashing, blood spurts out. Ghost quickly retreats several steps, but there's also a terrible scar on his leg. Ghost feels lingering fear. 1 second later and his whole leg would be gone. What kind of monster is this person in front of him? He seems able to predict his own moves. At this moment, Zion's earpiece reports that the other warehouse encountered trouble and needs reinforcement. Zion reluctantly puts away his weapons. Today's playtime ends here. Ghost's former pride looks like a clown in front of him. Watching Zion's departing figure, he can only curse under his breath. 10 minutes ago, all 9 Blades members were found. Lee Song-guk carries the severely injured horse-faced man on his back. The horse-faced man's breathing is weak and his condition is poor. Just as everyone wants to rest for a moment, a car's headlights shine in. The newcomer is exactly who they least want to see right now. Jeorang clan's Ryu Taehyung. Sneaking in like stinking rats, then you'll all leave your lives here today. Only Iron Weasel has fighting capability here. But there are too many opponents. Suddenly a figure leaps out from behind, using the car roof as a springboard, swooping down on Ryu Taehyung like an eagle. Several thin wires wrap around his neck. I advise you to stand still. But Ryu Taehyung instinctively swings a punch. Zion lands behind him. The wires around his neck quickly tighten. Zion uses both hands to lift Ryu Taehyung's entire body up. One more effort and he'll be decapitated. Ryu Taehyung, with wires wrapped around his neck, instinctively fights back. As Zion turns, more wires wrap around his neck, kicking his knee to make him kneel down. Then pulling both hands apart, Ryu Taehyung's face instantly turns purple. Seeing their boss in danger, the lackeys don't dare approach. Zion tells Iron Weasel to take 9 Blades members and leave first. He promises to release Ryu Taehyung once everyone is safe. Suddenly, a figure flashes behind Zion. It's Chief Jang, who hasn't appeared for a long time. Zion has no choice but to release Ryu Taehyung to dodge this attack. Quick reflexes indeed. Chief Jang chuckles. Seeing the sneak attacker is him. Zion's eyes burn with hatred when enemies meet. He slashes at Chief Jang with his knife, but it's easily dodged. Then Chief Jang directly crashes into Zion's abdomen. This heavy blow wins Zion. At this moment, Chief Jang also recognizes Zion. Didn't expect you to be so hard to kill, but your appearance proves that Taesin Clan's boss is Baek Isu in disguise. Then he stabs through Zion's palm with a knife, warning 9 Blades members not to act rashly. This is the proper use of hostages. Ryu Taehyung has never suffered such humiliation. He rushes over and kicks at Zion. Then his heavy punch with brass knuckles follows. This time I'll smash your face. Zion can only raise his arms to protect his head. As the enraged Ryu Taehyung throws another heavy punch down, Zion smoothly drags his arm, then with a reverse grapple pins Ryu Taehyung under him. No matter how he struggles, it's useless. Zion applies a rear naked choke to control him, then pulls out his claw knife and places it against his face. Without any hesitation, he slides it down, warning everyone that he really will kill Ryu Taehyung. But Chief Jang just laughs. Using this guy to threaten me won't work. Hearing this, the lackeys behind look fierce and prepare to move forward. Zion mocks Chief Jang for not understanding gang culture. Lackeys will sacrifice their own lives for their boss. Since we're playing the thug game, we must follow the game's rules. Feeling threatened, Chief Jang reluctantly compromises. Zion controls Ryu Taehyung without daring to relax, until Chief Jang walks away and 9 Blades members also withdraw from the alley. Zion smiles evilly. I'll spare your life this time, you hairy monster. Next time I'll definitely take your life. Breaking free from control, Ryu Taehyung swings a punch backward, but Zion's figure has already disappeared from behind him. He gnashes his teeth in hatred, swearing to crush Zion's bones to dust next time. Chief Jang says this failure is all on him. Ryu Taehyung shows a crazy expression. I have a belly full of anger with nowhere to vent. Chief Jang also takes an attacking stance. On the other side, Baek Isu also picks up 9 Blades members. The horse-faced man's condition is poor and needs to be sent to the hospital quickly. Then Zion also returns safely. Lee Gyuzhang, looking at the severely injured horse-faced man, feels extremely guilty. It's all because of him that the brothers suffered like this. But the horse-faced man doesn't blame him, telling him to apologize to young Master Sungmin and beg for forgiveness. Lee Gyuzhang is already sobbing. 10 minutes later, Chief Jang lights a cigarette. Is this all the strength Gyeoran clan's boss has? Then he grabs Ryu Taehyung's hair. On the other side, the hot-tempered redhead punches Lee Gyuzhang in the face. Cursing, you bastard, how do you still have the face to come back? Choi Chanho stops him, saying enough, but gets pushed away by the redhead. Today I must clean up this traitor no matter what. Baek Isu sits on the sofa watching all this impassively. Choi Cheonho says the matter should be handled by young Master Sungmin. Lee Sungmin is struggling internally. Lee Gyuzhang is an old subordinate who fought alongside grandfather, yet now he's committed an unforgivable crime. He looks pleadingly at Baek Isu. Baek Isu slowly stands up. Betrayal is a serious crime. The lightest punishment is 3 cuts and 6 holes. Then he tells Lee Sungmin to make his own decision. He then tells the 9 Blades members present. This isn't something you can get away with by just throwing a few punches and putting on a show. Then he pats the redhead's shoulder and walks out expressionlessly, leaving the space to 9 Blades members. Lee Sungmin's thoughts are in turmoil. In the end, it's all because of his weakness and incompetence. In the past, he would have let bygones be bygones and welcomed Lee Gyuzhang back. But now, he realizes how foolish and ridiculous his past self was. Ilhak needs to change to have any chance of survival. Lee Gyuzhang feels extremely guilty about causing his brother's death and willingly accepts all punishment. Seeing Lee Sungmin approaching step by step, there's no fear in his eyes. But Lee Sungmin doesn't move. This puzzles him greatly, and he loudly questions why he won't act. Lee Sungmin tells him that Ilhak's blade will cut other enemies, but won't be stained with brothers' blood, even former brothers. But from now on, we sever ties. When we meet again, we'll be enemies. Then Lee Sungmin strides out. Other 9 Blades members follow closely behind. At this moment, Lee Gyuzhang is abandoned by his brothers, which hurts more than killing him. Lee Sungmin sighs sadly. No matter how noble his words sound, they can't hide his soft heart. But Choi Cheonho tells him, "You're becoming more and more like the old master, governing the gang with benevolence and righteousness," and firmly says from now on, your judgment and actions are Ilhak's direction. On the rooftop, Baek Isu looks at the night scene with many thoughts. Just as he pulls out a cigarette from the box, he discovers he can't find a lighter. A hand reaches over with a Zippo. It's Sua, who hasn't appeared for a long time. Baek Isu jokes that he didn't expect her to smoke too. "This is your big brother's, Baek Isu." Hearing this, Baek Isu pauses in his movement. It's been a long time since anyone called him by his real name. For revenge, he's been acting under his brother's identity. I often think about what he would say if he were here. Sua smiles slightly. He would definitely say, "My foolish little brother." Hearing this, Baek Isu laughs heartily. This sounds like something his stupid big brother would say. At this moment, Lee Sung-min and Choi Cheon-ho come to the rooftop, respectfully returning the dagger. Baek Isu doesn't ask what the result was. At this time, Choi Cheon-ho raises the question that's been buried in his heart for a long time. What exactly is Baek Isu's purpose? Baek Isu doesn't answer directly, but starts asking Choi Cheon-ho in return. When Ilhak ruled Seoul's underworld, how much income could you make in a day? Choi Cheon-ho says he never calculated specifically, but it was also an astronomical figure. Baek Isu says such huge profits would make people jealous. The H country government is preparing to clean up underground organizations, and then redistribute the benefits. Baek Isu says when he stands at the top of Seoul, he'll hand Seoul over to Ilhak. Choi Cheon-ho doesn't understand what he wants to gain. Baek Isu says he just has a grudge against Chief Jang. Maybe it's time to let Lee Sung-min and the others meet Big Brother. This way, I can be myself again. This sleazy middle-aged man is actually H country's top police official. Today he actually ventures alone into the underworld's den. But he's not here to cause trouble. Rather, he's here at Chief Jang's invitation to discuss cooperation. Cho Won-ho says sarcastically, times have changed. Little thugs aren't afraid of police anymore. Then he looks up at Ryu Taehyung across from him. You're Jurong clan's boss, right? Ryu Taehyung is about to introduce himself when Cho Won-ho's next words make his face change. Those scars on your face are quite distinctive. Ryu Taehyung's words turn cold, asking if he wants a few too. At this moment, Chief Jang stops the impending conflict, warning Cho Won-ho that he invited him here to discuss cooperation, not to show off. Cho Won-ho fears Chief Jang and can only swallow his displeasure. Only then do the three parties begin discussing cooperation. On the other side at the cemetery, Lee Sung-min finishes handling the horse-faced man's funeral. Looking at the black and white photo, he falls into endless sadness. Since childhood, he loved clinging to the horse-faced man to play. Because the horse-faced man was tall, little Lee Sung-min always liked to ride piggyback. He and the horse-faced man also made a promise to grow taller and bigger than him in the future. But the horse-faced man will never see this again. Lee Sung-min sheds tears of sorrow. At this moment, Baek Isu is waiting for him outside. Lee Sung-min composes himself and walks over. For Taesun clan's help this time, the two bow deeply to express their gratitude. Without Taesun clan, 9 blades might have been completely wiped out. Baek Isu accepts their thanks, and also comforts them not to be too sad, saying they should turn grief into strength because they still have very important things to do. Then Baek Isu says he wants to introduce someone to them, saying Boris will be responsible for protecting Lee Sung-min's safety during this period, temporarily joining 9 blades to replace the horse-faced man's position. In the hotel, Ryu Taehyung looks at himself in the mirror. The wounds on his neck and face are shocking. The afternoon proposal to attack Taesun clan was vetoed by Cho Won-ho, because once war breaks out with Taesun clan, both sides will definitely suffer. Chaenung Trading Company might very well benefit from their conflict, so they might as well contact Chaenung first to see what happens. At this moment, there's a knock on the door. A subordinate reports that Chaenung has postponed the meeting time, making Ryu Taehyung extremely irritated, wondering what went wrong again. On the other side, in Daerim-dong's Chinatown, Baek Isu walks alone into a restaurant. The owner asks what he wants to eat but gets interrupted. Baek Isu says he's not here to eat but to find someone, then hands over a business card asking the owner to pass a message to Cha Yua. The owner smiles and says he'll definitely pass it along. Suddenly, he picks up an axe and chops at Baek Isu. As Baek Isu dodges, he twists the man's arm, saying he and Cha Yua are friends. But more and more thugs surround them, not listening to his explanation and directly attacking. Baek Isu kicks a stool by his feet. The stool hits someone's knee. Baek Isu takes the opportunity to grab his hair and smash him hard into the ground. Such skill instantly intimidates everyone. Suddenly, someone pushes through the crowd, a graceful long-haired woman. She instantly disappears from her position, leaping high to strike at Baek Isu. Just as Baek Isu is about to dodge to the side, the knife in midair suddenly releases from her hand. The woman catches the falling knife with her left hand and slashes horizontally, actually changing the attack trajectory this way. Interesting. This person is the dreaded Chinung Butcher of the underworld. The Butcher is also interested that he could dodge her attack. Just as both sides are at swords' points, a loud shout draws their attention. Cha Yua hurries toward them both. The Butcher comforts her, "Don't worry, I can solve this quickly." But Cha Yua slaps her across the face, demanding to know why she's doing this. The Butcher remains silent. Cha Yua asks if the axe on the table was their doing, coldly asking if they've forgotten their former oath. In the past, fighting and killing claimed many brothers' lives before we achieved today's peaceful and stable situation. So Chaenung's weapons can only be drawn to protect companions. Though Cha Yua is just a woman, she stabilizes the situation with just a few words, making the previously furious crowd calm down. Such methods show Cha Yua is not to be underestimated. But then she turns into a little woman again, nervously asking Baek Isu if he's injured. Baek Isu jokes, "Sister, if you'd come any later, I would have lost my life." In the office, the Butcher still looks unfriendly at Baek Isu. Baek Isu tells her to relax a bit, saying it was all a misunderstanding before. The butcher purses her lips, saying she doesn't like Baek Isu's type anyway. Cha Yua asks Baek Isu what his purpose is in finding her. Baek Isu gets straight to the point. Taesun clan is about to move against Jeorang clan. Which side will you stand on? Cha Yua is also very direct, saying she won't stand on either side, because Chaenung only stands on the side of profit. But Baek Isu won't allow when the snipe and clam fight, the fisherman profits to happen. He must eliminate hidden threats before the war begins. Chaenung doesn't need to help, just stay put. That way Taesun clan won't move against Chaenung. Upon hearing such threatening words, the butcher explodes, putting her knife to Baek Isu's neck. Baek Isu doesn't dodge either. Try pointing that knife at me again, see what happens. Seeing the situation about to spiral out of control, Cha Yua quickly intervenes. If I wanted to threaten you, I wouldn't have come alone. Baek Isu's eyes are cold. Then he takes out a ring box from his pocket. Seeing this situation, Cha Yua's brain goes blank. This is quite a leap. The butcher is furious again. This guy dares to flirt with Chaenung's boss. She opens the box and sees it's just a USB drive. Baek Isu says this USB drive contains the reasons behind the current chaotic situation, asking Cha Yua to give him an answer after watching it. Watching Baek Isu leave, she falls into silence. The butcher asks what she plans to do. Cha Yua hasn't decided yet. The butcher tells her that as a boss, she must make a decision. Unexpectedly, Cha Yua suddenly becomes teary-eyed, crying that she's not suitable to be a boss. She's not strong enough at all. The butcher pushes her away. Don't give me that crap. Seeing Cha Yua still crying pitifully, the butcher can only say helplessly, no matter what, I'll stand by your side. Only then does Cha Yua beam with joy. That night in a barbecue restaurant, a Chaenung member is boasting about the awesome event of cutting down Taesun clan's boss. Suddenly, a car crashes directly into the store, instantly creating chaos. A group of masked tough guys get out of the car. More vehicles surround them from afar. Though these people are masked, they all wear Taesun clan badges, surrounding the Chaenung people and beating them up, shouting, "This is what you get for disrespecting our Taesun clan boss." Suddenly, Jinung Ha approaches from the distance, reporting the situation here to Baek Isu over the phone. Baek Isu chuckles. Want to frame our Taesun clan? Then let them see the real terror of Taesun clan. Jinung Ha's shin bone on his active body. Want to join the Taesun clan that badly? How about we give you guys a real badge? The butcher from Chaenung, upon hearing about the attack, flew into a rage, bluntly stating that the Taesun clan is completely unreliable. They should have taken out Baek Isu long ago. Cha Yua told her to calm down. If it really was people from the Taesun clan who carried out the attack, how could they possibly wear Taesun clan badges so brazenly? Moreover, Jinung Ha from the Taesun clan also stepped forward to stop the riot. Everything that happened was too suspicious. Cha Yua believes someone was maliciously stirring up conflict between Chaenung and the Taesun clan. The butcher, however, thought it was a self-directed scheme by the Taesun clan. But none of this matters now. What matters is what Cha Yua's final stance will be. This once again threw the question back to Cha Yua, leaving her extremely troubled, seeing her still hesitant and indecisive. The butcher angrily said she would act in her own way. The helpless Cha Yua said she needed to seek Mr. Wang's help. The butcher was also surprised to hear this name, reminding her that this person was an unstable factor. Meanwhile, Baek Isu also arrived at the attacked barbecue restaurant. He wanted to search for any clues that could determine the attacker's identity. The weapons left at the scene had many nicks, suggesting frequent use, but they weren't military weapons, so it wasn't Chief Zhang's men. A banknote in the car caught his attention. This was currency used in Country C. Could it be that an organization from Country C attacked Chaenung? So he called Lee Sungmin to inquire whether Chaenung Trading Company had any conflicts with organizations from Country C. Lee Sungmin said he would investigate and give a reply. Baek Isu was about to light a cigarette to relax, but discovered his lighter was out of fluid. At this moment, a stranger offered him a light. This person introduced himself as Wang Hao, who ran a currency exchange shop nearby. He was commissioned by Cha Yua to clean up the scene. After learning that Baek Isu was the boss of the Taesun clan, Wang Hao respectfully bowed with great deference. Baek Isu said not to be so formal, but inwardly became wary of this person. This guy walked on the glass-covered ground without a care, as if such situations were commonplace to him. The two chatted casually. Baek Isu said he still wanted to look for clues, asking Wang Hao not to clean up the evidence for now. Wang Hao readily agreed and moved aside. Baek Isu secretly pondered this person's true purpose, and whether he was connected to the attackers. He sent a message to Lee Sungmin, asking if there was any information on Wang Hao. At this moment, Wang Hao suddenly said that because he dealt in currency exchange, he could gather a lot of information. From his understanding of Baek Dog-young's favorite cigarettes were Red Box Marlboros. Hearing this, Baek Isu's heart skipped a beat, and he explained that he wanted to try a different flavor. But Wang Hao continued, saying that for someone with such a heavy smoking habit, how could he not know his lighter was out of fluid? You look like you're smoking for the first time. This Wang Hao suspected Baek Isu's identity based on just this one detail, which secretly alarmed Baek Isu. Wang Hao calmly picked up a piece of broken glass, stood up and said to Baek Isu, "Let me see your secret." With that, he leaped high and charged toward Baek Isu. Meanwhile, Lee Sungmin asked Choi Chon-ho about this person Wang Hao. Choi Chon-ho was initially recalling something. Then suddenly his face changed dramatically. He said this guy appeared to be a currency merchant and was also an information broker. But his true identity was the leader of the Black Dragon clan. 15 years ago, foreign gangs fought over territory, triggering a gang war. This was also the battle that led to Lee Sungmin's grandfather's demise. At this point, Choi Chon-ho's hands trembled uncontrollably from anger, and Lee Sungmin's face turned pale after hearing this. Here, Wang Hao's attack instantly reached Baek Isu, but he was already prepared. The iron nail hidden in Wang Hao's left hand scratched Baek Isu's cheek. Baek Isu asked him who he really was. His skills didn't seem like those of an ordinary merchant. Wang Hao didn't answer, but instead asked whether he was really Baek Dogyong. Through those few moves, Baek Isu already knew this person was formidably skilled. He could use anything around him as a weapon. Suddenly, Baek Isu's phone rang and he signaled Wang Hao to pause. It was Lee Sungmin sending information about Wang Hao. He advised Baek Isu not to confront him alone. Wang Hao thought he was trying to escape. Baek Isu chuckled, "Let me test the strength of the Black Dragon clan." Both of them assumed fighting stances and clashed again. Wang Hao threw a concealed weapon at Baek Isu. Baek Isu knew this was just a feint to hide the real killing move. He calmly slashed toward his opponent's vital spot with his blade. But Wang Hao didn't dodge, instead directly countering the blade with his fist, actually knocking Baek Isu's dagger away. Then he caught the dagger midair and stabbed it toward Baek Isu. Baek Isu had to raise his arm to block, the blade striking his watch. He lifted his arm and sent Wang Hao's dagger flying again. Then he caught the dagger with his right hand and slashed Wang Hao's arm. In the first exchange, both had tested each other enough. The upcoming battle would be even more dangerous. Wang Hao dodged Baek Isu's horizontal slash, tried to attack but was blocked by Baek Isu. Baek Isu reversed the direction of his dagger, trying to stab Wang Hao's neck. Wang Hao braced against the dagger while raising his knee, spinning his entire body like a top, then landed a heavy kick on Baek Isu. But Baek Isu didn't retreat a single step, instead slashing back at his opponent. Wang Hao tried to retreat and dodge, but found his foot caught by Baek Isu. He lost his balance and fell backward, lucky enough to land inside a car. Baek Isu wanted to pounce and finish him off, but Wang Hao slammed the car door shut to stop him. When he opened the car door again, Wang Hao had already vanished. Just as he was searching for Wang Hao appeared from nowhere with a steel pipe aimed at Baek Isu's head. In haste, he could only raise his dagger to block. The tremendous force cracked the dagger directly. After several more exchanges, Baek Isu's dagger completely broke in half. Meanwhile, a woman fixed her hair, then left Cheonung Trading Company with a group of subordinates. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became, suddenly letting out a roar of fury. The butcher was furious that Cha Yua was always indecisive. She would destroy Taesun clan in her own way. On the other side, Cha Yua was also very troubled. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. It was the old man who ran a grocery store nearby. Cha Yua respected the elder and invited him to sit down, because the elder had witnessed Cheonung Trading Company's growth and had provided much help. When he asked about the butcher, Cha Yua showed a pained expression, saying they had a disagreement. Hearing this, the elder gave his opinion. Both Wang Hao and the butcher were formidable characters, but he doubted the butcher's loyalty. After all, an uncontrollable weapon can hurt yourself. Hearing these words, Cha Yua fell into deep thought. After leaving the office, the old man made a phone call, telling the other party that the butcher had left Cha Yua, and the person he was contacting was none other than Jurong clan leader Ryu Taehyung. Both believed this was the perfect opportunity to destroy Cheonung Trading Company. The elder waved to the window. Outside was a group of people who had previously impersonated Taesun clan members. Today, Cha Yua would die in an attack by Taesun clan. Cha Yua kept calling the butcher, trying to prevent the situation from escalating, but she wouldn't answer. With no choice, she had to go to Taesun clan herself to find her. She felt the developments were too suspicious. If the people attacking Cheonung were from Taesun clan, then Baek Isu had no reason to reveal Chief Jiang's plan to her. She had to reach Taesun clan to stop the butcher, to prevent an irreversible situation. Just as they left the base, they were stopped by a group of people. The attackers all wore masks with Taesun clan badges. They said Cheonung had slighted Taesun clan's boss, and today they came to settle the score. But seeing Cha Yua's good looks, if she served the brothers well, they might spare her life. Such insulting words immediately enraged Cheonung Trading Company's people. One person questioned what they thought they were. The long-haired man behind him struck successfully. The sudden betrayal left Cha Yua in disbelief. The long-haired man threatened her to hand over control of Cheonung Trading Company. Several other Cheonung subordinates were also restrained. In an instant, Cha Yua and her group were trapped in a desperate situation. On the other side, the battle between Baek Isu and Wang Hao continued. Wang Hao's attacks were effortless, even taunting Baek Isu about liking that broken blade. Baek Isu glanced at the broken blade in his hand, dodged Wang Hao's attack sideways, but saw the steel pipe in his hand suddenly slip. Baek Isu became alert. Wang Hao caught the pipe with his left hand, changing the attack trajectory. Baek Isu raised his arm to block this strike. This attack style reminded him of that woman, the butcher. Wang Hao was also surprised he could dodge his trajectory-changing attack. Many previous opponents had been injured by this move, but he still had confidence in taking down Baek Isu because he now held the complete advantage. But Baek Isu's face showed no panic. He quietly sheathed the broken blade, then drew a new dagger. This was the weapon he used during his Special Forces days. From now on, he would fight as Baek Isu. He quickly slashed at Wang Hao. Wang Hao had just blocked the strike when Baek Isu's next attack came. The sudden acceleration left Wang Hao struggling to defend. Having just blocked the dagger attack, he was knocked over by Baek Isu's knee. Before he could recover, Baek Isu attacked again with his blade. In an instant, blades and shadows flew everywhere. Wang Hao found an opening to counterattack, but was heavily rammed by Baek Isu, his body staggering backward. Baek Isu stuck out his foot to trip him and he crashed heavily to the ground. So Baek Isu raised his blade to finish him off. Just as the dagger was about to strike down, Iron Weasel called out to him, saying there was internal rebellion at Chaenong Trading Company. Hearing this, Wang Hao was even more surprised, not understanding why this would happen. On Cha Yua's side, she was in crisis. Thankfully, her subordinates bravely protected her. Cha Yua quickly ran toward the back. The one-handed elder on the balcony coldly watched the chaos in the courtyard. No matter what, today Cha Yua had to disappear. Under her subordinates' protection, Cha Yua temporarily reached safety. She didn't understand why she was betrayed. What she hoped for most now was for the butcher to be by her side. Cha Yua hid in the room, lost in thought, repeatedly calling the butcher's name, hoping she would return quickly. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. It was Baek Isu. He now wanted Cha Yua's attitude. Would she continue standing against him until destruction, or join him in breaking through the situation? Give an answer now! Half an hour ago, the butcher led people to Taesun clan for revenge. All along the way, she complained about Cha Yua's indecisiveness. 10 years ago, H country's largest power, Ilhak, was dismantled. To get a piece of the pie, various factions were restless. Among them were North Korea's Wichanggo, Grey Industries' Gu Changjun, and Black Dragon Clan's Wang Hao. Wang Hao proposed the three factions cooperate to establish a new organization. But who would be the leader was a problem. Wang Hao proposed again, let the daughter of the original Chaenong Trading Company leader be the head, with others supporting from behind, sharing profits equally. In truth, Cha Yua was just a puppet. Now Gu Changjun's ambitions were growing. He sent people to impersonate Taesun clan members to attack Chaenong Trading Company, stirring up conflict, and planned to kill Cha Yua while the butcher was away from headquarters. Unexpectedly, at the crucial moment, Baek Isu intervened. He now wanted Cha Yua to clearly state her position. Seeing the facts clearly, Cha Yua no longer hesitated. When she saw the bodies scattered across the hallway, she was still shocked, but the three people in front of her remained calm and composed. No time to think about this. Her most important task now was to call the butcher to stop her. The injured guy nearby told her not to waste her effort, because a dog separated from its master wouldn't live long. These words filled Cha Yua with dread. On the other side, the butcher was still furious. The subordinates around her didn't dare provoke her because of her fearsome reputation. The butcher scolded them for crowding together with her. How much longer until they reached Taesun clan? The subordinates stammered explanations. The cars behind were also full. The driver also comforted her to be patient a little longer. But the butcher soon noticed something was wrong. The car had been driving in circles. The subordinates beside her changed from their earlier timidity, grabbing the butcher's arms. The passenger in front punched her in the face. "I've wanted to beat your stinking face for so long!" But the butcher laughed out loud. "You better act fast, or you'll all die!" The driver told her not to waste her energy, but was kicked in the face by the butcher from behind. The vehicle instantly lost control. The bald guy wanted to run toward the butcher. The unrestrained butcher suddenly exerted force. The two subordinates' heads crashed together with a bang. The out-of-control vehicle overturned. The cars behind also stopped. The butcher kicked open the car door with one foot, jumping out of the vehicle. She spat, nearly capsized in the gutter. People from the cars behind got out, holding weapons and standing before her. One person shouted, "She's just a bitch, no need to fear her." Then he led the charge but was kicked in the face by the butcher. Another person came with an axe. The butcher turned and slashed at him. The blade stuck deep in the bone. Another person seized the opportunity to stab with a knife. The butcher kicked this person away, stopping his attack. Then she swung her blade down heavily. An arm flew off the person's body. Before he could scream, his body was slashed countless times. The butcher grabbed another person's arm, cutting it off with one slash. The others were already terrified by this scene. Facing the raised blade, they wanted to run, but their legs went weak. Seeing such a bloody scene, the remaining people were too scared to approach. Even with superior numbers, they had lost their fighting spirit. One person prepared to drive away. A blade fell from the sky, sticking in the car door. This person was drenched in sweat, hearing a voice like it came from hell. "Guess why others call me the butcher?" Wang Hao had spent 10 years building today's Chaenong Trading Company. But the one-handed elder Gu Changjun wanted to enjoy the success alone. If not for Taesun clan's interference, today's Chaenong would already be in Gu Changjun's pocket. This made Wang Hao's expression extremely dark. To save his life, Gu Changjun revealed the mastermind was NH country's government, and hoped that for the sake of their years of friendship, Wang Hao would spare his life. Wang Hao silently helped him up. Suddenly, his palm exerted force, directly crushing Gu Changjun's fingers. "This isn't a reason for you to betray me." After saying this, he slowly picked up the dagger from the ground. As long as that person is still there, Chinong Trading Company won't fall easily. Gu Changjun hastily begged for mercy, but Wang Hao gave him no chance to speak. "And Chinong Trading Company can only be mine." A week later, inside Chinong Trading Company's headquarters, Zion looked depressed about the situation. Clearly, Taisen clan had helped Chinong Trading Company, yet these guys looked ready to stab someone at any moment. Jinung Ha said Chinong Trading Company was in internal chaos. They didn't know who was the enemy now. In the room, Baek Isu and Wang Hao sat on opposite sides. Wang Hao explained, "The boss is temporarily busy. I can now fully represent Chinong Trading Company." But the truth was, Cha Yua had been placed under house arrest by him. Baek Isu wasn't surprised. He directly stated that Wang Hao was the real mastermind behind everything. Wang Hao didn't deny it, saying he liked dealing with smart people. Then came the purpose of this negotiation. He hoped Chinong Trading Company and Taisen clan would cooperate to oppose NH country government's anti-crime campaign. Baek Isu didn't give a clear answer, instead saying he was almost killed by him before. Wang Hao laughed it off, telling him not to be so petty. Suddenly, it started drizzling from the sky. A person suddenly appeared in the courtyard. It was the blood-soaked Chinong Trading Company butcher. A subordinate explained, "Baek Isu and Wang Hao are discussing business inside." The butcher didn't stop but was blocked by someone. Jinung Ha told her entry was forbidden, but the butcher directly drew her weapon, saying this wasn't the place for him to act wild. Jinung Ha said, "Today Taisen clan came with sincerity to negotiate." But the butcher didn't buy his response at all. Both sides immediately drew weapons in confrontation. Seeing a firefight was inevitable, Zion spoke up to let her in, even mocking the butcher for having no real skills besides shouting. Hearing this, the butcher flew into a rage and charged at him. The cleaver slashed toward Zion's face. She warned Zion she'd cut out his tongue if he kept talking. But Zion showed no fear, because his dagger was already pressed against the butcher's abdomen. Just as the butcher was about to explode, Wang Hao and Baek Isu walked out side by side. The butcher said hatefully that next time she wouldn't spare Zion. Wang Hao asked what had happened. The butcher didn't answer him. Baek Isu then left with his people. Only then did the butcher tell him that Cha Yua was missing. On the way back to Taisen clan, Zion didn't understand why they were helping these ungrateful wolves. Baek Isu told him to find the mastermind behind everything. Now they at least knew their backing was also NH country's government, and Cha Yua was just their puppet, Zion said, saying that in front of the person herself was too direct. Cha Yua suddenly appeared in the car. It turned out that while Baek Isu was negotiating with Wang Hao, he had quietly arranged for Iron Weasel to rescue Cha Yua. Baek Isu welcomed her to join Taisen clan. Back at Chinong Trading Company headquarters, Wang Hao was beside himself with rage. The chocolate pie wrapper left at the scene made him recognize it was the work of that boy beside Baek Isu. Taisen clan was really going too far. This girl's Chishi festival was spent in fear, because a psychopath was chasing her all the way to campus. And the person blocking her was also a girl, who even declared if she kept hiding from her, she'd be dead. This scared the nearby classmates into wanting to call the police. But the girl told her classmates to leave first. The worried classmate said to call if anything happened. This girl was Cha Yua from 10 years ago, the head of Chinong Trading Company, also a puppet put forward by Black Dragon Clan, and the butcher was both surveillance and protection for her. Because if kidnapped by other gangs, missing limbs was common. Cha Yua was frightened by these words, saying she would obediently listen to her in the future. From then on, the wheels of fate began to turn. Back to the present, the butcher was called to the office by Wang Hao. He told her that Cha Yua was kidnapped by Taisen clan people. They wanted to gain the upper hand in negotiations. If that was the case, then Black Dragon Clan needed to step from behind the scenes to the front. Most importantly was Chinong Trading Company. Everything else didn't matter. If things really reached an irreversible point, then Cha Yua should fulfill her value. The butcher didn't understand Wang Hao's meaning. The driver reminded them they had arrived at Taisen clan. The butcher ordered the driver to go directly into the underground parking garage. They would destroy Taisen clan from bottom to top. 4 or 5 cars raced into the parking garage. A group of weapon-wielding people poured out. A beam of light shone toward the butcher and her people. Baek Isu and Taisen clan members had been waiting for a long time. The butcher also knew they were ambushed. Cursing damn it, she charged at Baek Isu. She also demanded to know where Cha Yua was. Baek Isu threw a pair of sunglasses to her. She recognized these as Cha Yua's glasses. Baek Isu warned her that if she acted impulsively again, he couldn't guarantee Cha Yua's safety. Though furious, the butcher was helpless. She then ordered her subordinates to drop their weapons. She also threw away the weapon that had followed her for years. Only then did Baek Isu smile with satisfaction, then told her to follow him. At this moment, Cha Yua was standing by the window in a daze. Baek Isu said an old friend wanted to see her. Then the butcher walked in. Upon seeing Chayua, she immediately questioned why she was careless enough to be kidnapped by Taesun clan people. But Chayua said no one kidnapped her. She came to Taesun clan voluntarily. This left the butcher confused. Chayua said, "I can't stay at Chinung Trading Company anymore. I'm trembling with fear. Those companions I once trusted look at me with such eyes. For profit, they can casually swing their blades at me." The butcher said, "I've already killed those traitors. No one will hurt you again." But Chayua said she didn't know who to trust. Couldn't even tell if the butcher came to kill her. Hearing this, the butcher froze for a moment. Then she grabbed Chayua by the throat. "Then just die." Then Black Dragon Clan would control Chinung Trading Company, thus dominating NH country's underworld. Jinung Ha wanted to step forward, but was stopped by Baek Iasu. The butcher suddenly released her grip and hugged Chayua. "Have you forgotten who I am? As long as I'm here, I can protect you completely, no matter who the opponent is. Because I am Chinung Trading Company's butcher, and you are Chinung Trading Company's boss." On the other side, Wang Hao kept calling the butcher. In anger, he slammed his phone on the table. Sitting beside him was none other than Jerong clan leader Ryu Taeyong. The other person was the long-absent Chief Jiang. Wang Hao said that not long ago, Chinung Trading Company was attacked by Taesun clan, and the boss was also kidnapped by Taesun clan. He asked if the two were willing to cooperate. Chief Jiang stood up with a smile, saying he would fully support attacking Taesun clan. But before that, they needed to share information about Taesun clan's twins. Hearing this news for the first time, Ryu Taehyung was also shocked. So all along, the one opposing them wasn't Baek Dogyang. But what did this have to do with them? Whether it was the older or younger brother, a knife thrust would kill either one. But Chief Jiang said just releasing this news would get someone to help deal with Taesun clan. After speaking, he pulled out a photo from his pocket and slammed it on the table. This person would become the strongest force to destroy Taesun clan. Inside Taesun clan headquarters, even after hearing Chayua's account of events, the butcher remained unmoved. She declared that only if Baek Isu defeated her would the matter be settled. Baek Isu confidently accepted the challenge. Chayua, who had witnessed Baek Isu's abilities, was very worried. But Baek Isu told her not to worry. After speaking, he threw away his weapon and confidently stated, "I'll go easy on the butcher." Such arrogance drove the butcher into a violent rage. Her swinging strike was nimbly dodged by Baek Isu. Her downward chop also had no effect. These attack patterns were the same as Wang Hao's. Baek Isu had already figured out the opponent's fighting style. He seized the gap in the butcher's attack. His body suddenly surged forward, landing a palm strike on the butcher's jaw. The butcher was tough too, forcibly steadying herself. Just as she was about to counterattack, a fist came toward her face. But the fist didn't continue its strike. "You were adopted by Wang Hao and Black Dragon Clan since childhood. Would you betray Black Dragon Clan to protect Chayua?" Baek Isu's words left her momentarily stunned. But then she said resolutely, "From the moment I set foot in H country, I've lived only to protect Chayua. Anyone who stands in my way becomes my enemy. Black Dragon Clan is no exception." Baek Isu felt the butcher's determination, meeting her downward slash with a punch, directly knocking the weapon away. The weaponless butcher began attacking with fists and feet. A high side kick directly struck Baek Isu's head. Just when she thought it was over, she found her foot caught in Baek Isu's hand. Then he swept her down with a horizontal sweep. Pinning the butcher beneath him, he raised his fist and told her, "Taesun clan has the ability to do whatever it wants." At this moment in our city hospital, a car stopped at the entrance. Suwa had been waiting for a long time. The people she was waiting for were Lee Sungmin and Choi Chonho. This was the mysterious person Baek Isu had promised to let them meet. They followed Suwa through the internal passage to a room on the 6th floor. As the fingerprint unlock succeeded, the door slowly opened. Lee Sungmin was still somewhat nervous. Who was behind this curtain? When he saw clearly the person lying on the bed, he was greatly shocked. He didn't understand what was happening. Baek Dogyang was clearly still in Seoul now, but the person lying before him looked exactly like Baek Dogyang. Suwa explained everything to them. The reason for revealing this to them was because before Baek Dogyang woke up, no one could suspect his brother Baek Isu's identity. Then she took out a photo from the folder. It was actually the same person as in Chief Jiang's photo. This person was from our country's Uyama family, Shogo Uyama. Taesun clan was able to establish itself in Seoul only with their support. But if Shogo Uyama learned that the currently active Baek Dogyang was an imposter, then Taesun clan would face the Uyama family's crazy revenge. What Suwa didn't know was that the Shogo Uyama she spoke of had already arrived in H country. His purpose in coming was to investigate the rumors about Taesun clan. They absolutely wouldn't allow anyone to make fools of them. "Baek Dogyang, where exactly are you?" On the surface, a our country international trading company, but actually the largest underground black market. Taesun clan was their subsidiary organization in H country. This day, at their own Roppongi hotel, a guest frantically found police to report, saying he heard screams from the hotel's top floor and saw a group of black-clothed people with knives. 2 police officers quickly followed the guest to investigate. But the older officer's expression was wrong. Suddenly, the young officer pointed his gun at the group, ordering them to drop their weapons immediately. The two remained unmoved. "Brat, who are you talking to?" The older officer beside him quickly advised him not to be impulsive, and told him the opponents were Uyama's people. Matsuda seemed not to hear the older officer's words, directly firing a warning shot. The older officer loudly scolded him not to implicate him. "What's going on? So noisy." At this moment, a blood-soaked young man appeared in the scene. Seeing the police, he showed no panic, instead questioning whether they fired the shot. After speaking, he dragged his blade toward the police. The older officer quickly explained they came to check because someone reported it. "Didn't know Mr. Uyama was also here." Shogo Uyama smiled sinisterly. "Cooperating with police work is a citizen's duty. In that case, come with me." Matsuda complained unhappily. "Why bow to criminal forces?" The older officer warned him, "Shut up if you want to live." Then they followed Shogo Uyama into the room, but were directly scared senseless by the hellish scene. A group of people lay scattered in pools of blood, no longer breathing. Shogo Uyama said, "I'll greet your superior, but today you also need to apologize to us. Our hotel is in the service industry. Actually causing customer complaints over such a small matter. We'll be more careful in the future." Such casual words greatly shocked Matsuda. "Are you joking? Do you talk about murder so casually?" Shogo Uyama glanced at Matsuda, then walked directly toward him. "Young man, don't talk nonsense. Which eye saw me kill anyone? I just slaughtered a few disobedient dogs at home." Shogo Uyama's powerful aura intimidated Matsuda. At this moment, a phone nearby rang. The caller said there was a problem with H country's Taisen clan. When he heard that Baek Da-young seemed to be dead, Shogo Uyama was greatly surprised. That was his sworn brother who had kowtowed to him. On Taisen clan's side, Lee Sungmin received news that Shogo Uyama was coming. He and Choi Cheonho would go to meet him. They knew absolutely couldn't let Baek Isu's identity be exposed. Otherwise, the Uyama group wouldn't let it slide. At noon, Shogo Uyama's group exited the airport. Lee Sungmin and his companion had been waiting for a long time. Seeing them, he immediately bowed respectfully in greeting. But the group ignored him. "I don't know any damn president, call Baek Da-young over." Seeing the young master treated with such disrespect, Choi Cheonho was also furious. Really a group of rude people. Lee Sungmin said nothing, still took their luggage, keeping his posture very low, saying Taisen clan certainly couldn't compare to Uyama group. "I'm just here to show local hospitality welcoming Uyama." Shogo Uyama smiled contemptuously. A president's tail wagging like a dog. Lee Sungmin didn't mind the opponent's mockery. Compared to Ilhak's rise, this little humiliation was nothing. Shogo Uyama seemed to enjoy the superior attitude. "But that old man doesn't seem very convinced, Oni. Teach the old man some manners." As soon as he finished speaking, an axe chopped straight toward Choi Cheonho. Oni pounced on him like a cheetah, a hunting smile on his face. After several rounds, Choi Cheonho was already injured. Lee Sungmin was about to make a move, but Shogo Uyama grabbed his neck. "So where exactly is Baek Da-young?" At this moment, Choi Cheonho was already cornered. He punched away the opponent's attack, then swung his fist toward Oni, but his wrist was caught by Oni. "Die, old man!" The dangerous scene made Lee Sungmin shout loudly. Suddenly, a large hand pressed down on Oni, violently smashing him into the car window. The one who acted was the arriving Baek Isu. Oni swung his axe at Baek Isu's thigh, but Baek Isu grabbed his wrist in reverse, then grabbed Oni's hair again, smashing toward the car window once more. With a crash, Oni was finished. Then he turned to Shogo Uyama and said, "Big brother, did the old man scold you?" Such a temper. But as they say, a strong dragon doesn't suppress a local snake. Now we're on Taisen clan's territory. Even dragons must coil obediently for me. Before this, Baek Isu guessed this was information Chief Jang had leaked. Since the warehouse battle, when he saw Zion, he might have already suspected Baek Isu's identity. To prevent more variables, he could only reduce contact opportunities with Shogo Uyama. But Baek Isu ultimately still acted. Otherwise, Choi Cheonho might have been chopped by Oni. After dealing with Oni, he told Shogo Uyama, "This was his territory. Though you're my sworn big brother, you still have to follow the rules." Shogo Uyama looked at the Baek Isu before him. The exact same face as the Baek Da-young he knew. The arrogant way of speaking was also the same. But he still felt something was off. Suddenly, the blonde behind him moved, suddenly stepping forward, stabbing a blade toward Baek Isu's neck. Baek Isu recognized this person from the files as Kaito Ishizuka, an assassin from the Uyama group. But this should be their first meeting. Baek Isu grabbed Ishizuka's wrist. "You're really disrespectful to your senior." But Ishizuka ignored him, still launching fierce attacks. Suddenly, Baek Isu glanced at Shogo Uyama nearby. Maybe the opponent suspected his identity, so was testing him this way. Then he couldn't use this dagger to fight back. Thinking this, he lowered his hand that was drawing the dagger. Suddenly, a white figure rushed between the two. Zion blocked Ishizuka's attack, turning to control the opponent's shoulder joint, then kicked the opponent's knee. In just an instant, he had controlled Ishizuka. Zion said with a smile, "To deal with the boss, you have to get past me first." Shogo Uyama watched Zion with interest, not expecting Baek Da-young to have such a skilled fighter beside him. At this time, Oni woke from unconsciousness, staring at Baek Isu with a sinister smile. Suddenly, a tower-like figure blocked his path. He recognized this as Taesin clan's Yaksha, Jinung-ha. He picked up the axe from the ground and stared at him menacingly. The situation here attracted Zion's attention. The supposedly restrained Ishizuka stabbed at him. Zion barely dodged the fatal strike, but his face was still cut. To break free, Ishizuka actually broke his own arm, then reconnected the dislocated shoulder without changing expression. The recovered Ishizuka was about to make a move, but Shogo Uyama stopped him, telling Baikisu he was just joking. It was because he hadn't seen his brother in a long time and felt a bit distant. Baikisu slapped his hand away, saying the joke wasn't funny at all. Shogo Uyama didn't mind and laughingly asked Baikisu for a cigarette. Baikisu pulled out a cigarette and handed it to him, and personally prepared to light it for him. But suddenly Shogo Uyama said with a smile, "Actually, I don't smoke." This statement startled Baikisu. Shogo Uyama continued, "I didn't expect this lighter to be on you. But the real Baekdog would never take out this lighter in front of me. So who exactly are you?" Before Baikisu could speak, Shogo Uyama complimented him on how much he really looked like Baekdog. As he was leaving, he suddenly reached out his hand toward Lee Sungmin. Lee Sungmin didn't know how to respond for a moment. He extended his hand in confusion. But Shogo Uyama grabbed his hand and pulled him quickly to one side, then pressed his hand against the hood of the car, drew out the dagger that Kaito Ishizuka handed him, and with one stroke cut off Lee Sungmin's pinky finger. The scene was immediately filled with his screams. The sudden turn of events left everyone momentarily stunned. But Shogo Uyama said menacingly, "Now this is what a real boss looks like." He arrogantly picked up the severed finger and said it was a greeting gift. Baikisu's face turned ice cold, while Zion beside him was itching for action, saying he could take off the opponent's head in just 1 minute. Choi Chunho was even more furious, ready to rush forward and fight desperately regardless of consequences, but Lee Sungmin stopped him with his words. Then, enduring the excruciating pain of his severed finger, he actually bowed to the opponent. Even this could be endured. Lee Sungmin's behavior made Shogo Uyama show an amused smile. "I didn't expect you to be such a pushover. I'm sure we'll meet again soon. And of course there's the fake Baekdog too." After Shogo Uyama left, Lee Sungmin pressed his wound, sweating profusely from the pain. Baikisu's gaze was ice cold, as if brewing some plan. Meanwhile, Shogo Uyama in the car made a phone call. The person on the other end told him everything was going according to plan. He had also figured out all the details, though there were some differences from what he had gathered. First, Baekdog had a twin brother. Shogo Uyama suddenly understood. That explained everything. Four Eyes continued. The second situation was that Ilhak had collapsed, and Seoul's underground forces were currently in chaos. The largest among them were two powers, Taesin clan, and the alliance of Cheonung Trading Company and Jereng clan. A third-party force wanting to check them had leaked this information to Uyama. After hearing this, Shogo Uyama chuckled. The game was getting more and more interesting. To be able to investigate so much useful information in such a short time, truly worthy of being Uyama's strategist, Gunji Hanazawa. At this moment, inside Cheonung Trading Company's headquarters, Wang Hao and his men had already received word. That friction had occurred between Uyama Group and Taesin clan. Gu Changjun believed that Taesin clan's interference had caused their last defeat, and this time they should seize the opportunity, so he gathered his subordinates to prepare for all-out war against Taesin clan. Wang Hao watched him impassively. You, the reason you've achieved nothing at your age is because you're too impulsive in your actions. Haven't you heard the old Chinese saying about sitting on the mountain and watching tigers fight? Meanwhile, at Taesin clan headquarters, Suwa received a document containing investigation reports currently targeting Taesin clan. This meant Uyama had learned everything. Along with it came a beautifully wrapped gift. When Suwa opened it, her face changed drastically. Inside was actually a severed finger. Choi Chunho recognized this severed finger belonged to his young master. He roared like a wild beast. "I'll skin these bastards alive." His angry roar echoed throughout Taesin clan. In a hospital, Baikisu sat quietly beside his brother's bed. He never expected all his efforts would be exposed because of a lighter. Being twins, he always thought he could perfectly become his brother and protect Taesin clan. He never expected to fail at the crucial moment. Suddenly, Baikisu's expression changed. He returned the lighter to Baekdog. "Sorry, brother. From now on, I'm going to be myself." His eyes glanced at the backpack beside him. Opening the backpack, he put on Baikisu's clothes and tied his shoelaces. Outside the hospital room, Zion had been waiting for a long time, as if he already knew what Baikisu was thinking. Without saying a word, he pulled down his cap rim and followed. Brothers unconditionally support each other's decisions, even if facing a mountain of blades and sea of fire. This time they would start by taking down Uyama, because Taesin clan was Uyama's branch in Country H. In front of Uyama's people, Taesin clan members were all little brothers. Even the usually arrogant Jinung-ha lowered his posture in front of them. Shogo Uyama was very satisfied with this. He had already considered himself the master of this place. He asked how Lee Sungmin's finger was doing. Lee Sungmin said this was the punishment he deserved for poor hospitality. Shogo Uyama told him not to be so formal and to speak freely. Lee Sungmin told him that Taesun clan was now a subordinate organization of Ilhak, and wouldn't let anyone have designs on it. Before he could finish, Shogo Uyama interrupted him, telling him he could continue being the leader, and truly control Taesun clan in practice. Lee Sungmin was stunned, not understanding what the other party meant. Shogo Uyama explained that he already understood Seoul's chaotic situation. He himself wasn't interested in Seoul, just wanted to build some reputation for Uyama, so he didn't mind helping Lee Sungmin, and could even make him the new king of Seoul. This proposal made Lee Sungmin's heart surge like stormy seas. Wasn't all his effort aimed at restoring Ilhak's glory? After thinking for a moment, he calmed down, and said frankly that unifying Seoul wasn't as simple as Uyama thought. Shogo Uyama seemed to hear a joke. This matter was difficult for Lee Sungmin and others, but for Uyama Group, it was effortless. Then he asked if he had heard of Uyama's legend. Uyama had a cannibal called Nobuhiro Onigazuka. Once, when enemy forces ambushed him, he killed them all single-handedly. Over 10 corpses couldn't be pieced together into one complete body. Meanwhile, Lee Song-guk was looking in terror at the person in front of him. He had never seen such a perverted guy. His subordinates' fingers had been cruelly chopped off by him. Then he just chewed them up and swallowed them raw. He was like a demon walking out of hell. Lee Song-guk was already scared out of his wits, unable to even dodge the axe coming at him. Suddenly, the door was kicked open. Both looked toward Baek Isu, who had burst in. Wasn't this Taesun clan's boss Baek Dogyoung? No, you're the fake Baek Dogyoung. But it doesn't matter. Your timing is perfect. Saves me from having to look for you. Little punks, go chop him up! One subordinate tightened his grip on the dagger, then quickly stabbed toward Baek Isu. Baek Isu grabbed the opponent's joint, then twisted the dagger toward his own neck and pushed hard. A scream came from this person, instantly killed, surprising everyone. Moments later, they all rushed toward Baek Isu. Baek Isu pulled out the dagger and threw it forward. The dagger went straight into one subordinate's head. The remaining subordinates launched their attack. Baek Isu elbowed one in the face, knocking him unconscious to the ground with just one strike. Suddenly, an axe grazed Baek Isu's cheek. As Baek Isu bent down to dodge the attack, he quickly pulled out the dagger from the corpse and created distance. Nobuhiro Onigazuka grinned sinisterly and charged forward. Baek Isu also took a defensive stance. He'd already recognized this person from the files. Strong in power but lacking in agility. Nobuhiro Onigazuka's frenzied attacks couldn't touch Baek Isu at all. Baek Isu retreated while looking for the opponent's weakness, seeing the opponent's axe coming down again. Now's the time! Baek Isu caught the opponent's chopping arm with one hand and stabbed the dagger deep into his abdomen with the other. Nobuhiro Onigazuka's veins bulged from pain. He swung his axe horizontally in return. Baek Isu ducked again while stabbing the dagger into the other side of his abdomen, then landed a fierce punch to Nobuhiro Onigazuka's jaw. Without giving him any chance to breathe, Baek Isu's attack came again. The two clashed and Nobuhiro Onigazuka's abdomen spurted blood. He could no longer support himself and fell to one knee. His face was filled with horror. Who the hell was this guy? His fighting style was completely different from the Baek Dogyoung he remembered. Baek Isu flicked his clothes expressionlessly. Come on, come on! This aura made Lee Song-guk feel unfamiliar. Although the person in front of him had the exact same face as Baek Dogyoung, he definitely wasn't the Baek Dogyoung he knew. Baek Isu didn't explain, just told him, "Just recognize me as your boss." Suddenly, Lee Song-guk's eyes widened, and he quickly shouted for Baek Isu to be careful. Nobuhiro Onigazuka grabbed Baek Isu's waist and threw him backward. If this throw landed solidly with Baek Isu's head hitting the ground, he would surely die. But Baek Isu bent his back, kicked off the cabinet behind him, then pushed hard, flipping forward. He instantly escaped Nobuhiro Onigazuka's violent throw. While Nobuhiro Onigazuka was stunned by the attack, Baek Isu's back foot kicked right into Nobuhiro Onigazuka's jaw. The powerful force sent him flying 4 or 5 meters back. While Lee Song-guk marveled at both men's skills, he was even more amazed by Baek Dogyoung's strength. At this moment, Nobuhiro Onigazuka, who had suffered repeated heavy blows, stood up again. I've never suffered such humiliation. I'm going to tear you apart, you bastard. With that, he lunged at Baek Isu. But Baek Isu just looked at him coldly, then landed a quick hook punch on Nobuhiro Onigazuka. Nobuhiro Onigazuka had completely lost it. With only one thought left in his mind, just hit him once. Once would be enough to kill this bastard. But Baek Isu was like a ghost, impossible to touch. Instead, his heavy punch again struck Nobuhiro Onigazuka's abdomen, making him spit up a large amount of blood. Nobuhiro Onigazuka was so angry his teeth were about to shatter. He threw another punch at Baek Isu. The feeling from his fist told Nobuhiro Onigazuka he had finally hit his target. He was just showing a triumphant expression when he saw his fist was being held firmly in the opponent's hand. Is this all the strength you have? Then it ends here. With that, Baek Isu forcefully broke Nobuhiro Onigazuka's arm. At this moment, Baek Isu was like an insurmountable mountain, making Nobuhiro Onigazuka both furious and terrified. Baek Isu held nothing back, landing a sweeping kick to his lower abdomen. Nobuhiro Onigazuka's eyes rolled back and he fainted. Baek Isu pressed his knee on him and pulled out a dagger, piercing his palm, making him wake up from the pain. Baek Isu still had questions that needed answering. That was why Shogo Uyama had identified his identity just by seeing the lighter. Nobuhiro Onigazuka said the lighter was a symbol of Uyama Group, something country bumpkins like them wouldn't understand. Since he didn't want to answer, Baek Isu didn't want to waste more words. He then cut off his pinky finger. I'll collect some interest from you first. The rest of the debt will be collected from your people. Such humiliation drove Nobuhiro Onigazuka completely mad. Ignoring his severed finger's pain, he attacked Baek Isu again, but was punched into the floor by Baek Isu, and completely lost consciousness. This scene terrified Lee Song-guk, who watched from the side. Baek Isu straightened his clothes and reminded him to leave quickly. After saying this, he turned and left directly. Then he called Suwa, wanting to learn about the lighter's origin from her. But Suwa also didn't know what was going on, though she happened to be going to the hospital and could bring the lighter back. But Suwa had no idea she was being watched. And this person was Uyama's strategist, Gunji Hanizawa. He vaguely guessed Suwa's purpose for going to the hospital, but still needed to personally confirm his suspicion. As Suwa was talking on the phone and opening the door, suddenly her eyes widened, and her phone dropped to the floor. Baek Isu's anxious inquiries came from the phone. At this moment, a man holding a lighter sat by the bed. It was Baek Do-young, whom Suwa had been worried about for so long. She tried hard not to let tears fall. Long time no see, but danger was approaching at the same time. Gunji Hanazawa's subordinates had already reached the upper floor. A notice on the wall caught his attention. 6th floor closed due to construction. He ordered his men to go up and check while he looked for other routes. For Taisen clan members to give up Seoul and choose medical treatment in another city, they were obviously hiding something. The truth was about to surface. In the hospital room, Baek Do-young was quietly listening to Suwa describe recent events. Hearing about Shogo Uyama's series of actions, he was no longer calm. Feeling he couldn't continue dragging this out, Suwa told him to rest and recover, leaving the rest to them to handle. At this time, Uyama's people had reached the 6th floor, while Jinung-ha was guarding the corridor. The moment they saw him, these people smiled because it proved they had found the right room. Jinung-ha told them this area was off limits. Several people ignored his warning, mocking him as just Taisen clan's watchdog, trying to force their way past but being blocked by Jinung-ha. The mustache man's words were full of threats. You dare obstruct Uyama's business? Before he could finish, a large hand grabbed his head and smashed it hard into the floor. The other two hadn't expected Jinung-ha to start fighting without warning. By the time they reacted, Jinung-ha had already attacked them. He landed a solid heavy punch to one person's abdomen. The remaining person was sweating coldly, shouting, "Don't come closer!" But Jinung-ha showed no expression, grabbing the hand holding the knife. His iron grip squeezed, and the crisp sound of breaking bones rang out. This person fell to his knees in pain. "Stop your pathetic barking!" As his words fell, this person's screams echoed through the corridor. This scene was heard by Gunji Hanazawa from the other corridor. He continued toward the hospital room without showing any reaction. 2 Taisen clan guards blocked his path. Before they could finish saying no entry, one person's throat was already slashed. Then Gunji Hanazawa quickly charged at the other person, holding down his hand, drawing the sword, and repeatedly stabbing him several times. "You're lucky to be in a hospital. Press on the wound and you might still live." Then he searched through one person's belongings. "Let me borrow your card." Gunji Hanazawa opened the hospital room and finally saw Baek Do-young on the bed. Baek Do-young also saw him at the same time. The two were old acquaintances. "Long time no see, Baek Do-young." Chaotic footsteps sounded in the corridor. Suwa discovered the injured guards. The guard managed to squeeze out a few words from his throat. "Hurry, the boss is in danger!" Hearing this, Suwa's face changed drastically. She rushed into the hospital room in panic, but found Baek Do-young safe and sound, with Jinung-ha also in the room. Baek Do-young told her that Gunji Hanazawa had been there. Then he sighed. What must be faced must eventually be faced. He asked Suwa to bring him the phone. He needed to call that person. At this moment, a mysterious person answered the phone, and a deep voice came through. "Long time no see, Godfather." This person was the leader of Uyama Group, Tetsuji Uyama. Hearing Baek Do-young's voice, he seemed very happy. He had been worried the rumors were true. Baek Do-young told him he would follow his arrangements from now on. He wanted to become the boss of Uyama Group. Tetsuji Uyama was curious why Baek Do-young had changed his mind. He had previously hidden and sold to refuse becoming Uyama Group's boss. However, his ideal successor was still Baek Do-young. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given him his lighter. All of Uyama's people would recognize this token. Baek Do-young said he changed because someone had crossed his line. The person he spoke of was naturally Shogo Uyama. He absolutely shouldn't have touched his family. Tetsuji Uyama said times were different now. Many people in the organization no longer recognized Baek Do-young. Baek Do-young didn't care. He declared that those who weren't convinced could gather their forces and come to Seoul. He could beat these guys into submission. After hanging up, Suwa complained to Baek Do-young, "Ready to go to war with Uyama as soon as you wake up?" But Baek Do-young looked nonchalant. "No matter who the opponent is, we're Taisen clan." At this time, urgent footsteps sounded outside the door. Baek Isu burst through the door with a whoosh. The two brothers looked at each other. Tears instantly appeared on Baek Isu's face. "Oh, my foolish little brother, still that crybaby kid." Handed Taesun clan over to Ilhak. Made enemies of strong opponents like Chanong Trading Company and Jerang clan. And now stirred up chaos with Uyama Group. The current situation is really exciting. Facing Baek Dogyoung's nagging. Baek Isu didn't talk back but had tears in his eyes. This was his familiar big brother. "But now I'm back, stop being so wimpy and crying. From now on, big brother's got your back." Then he asked Baek Isu about his plans. Baek Isu's tone was calm but extremely confident. "I'll find Uyama's people one by one and kill them." At this moment, Shogo Uyama was at the hospital visiting the severely injured Nobuhiro Onigazuka. The famous executioner was beaten this badly? Was that imposter really that formidable? Hearing this, Nobuhiro Onigazuka felt extremely ashamed. But thinking of Baek Isu made him break out in cold sweat. That guy's strength completely overwhelmed him. He and that guy weren't even on the same level. That guy was a real monster. Hearing him say this, Shogo Uyama's face turned cold. Then his lips curved into a smile. "The reason I appreciate you is because of your passion and style. If you keep acting like a beaten dog, I'll be very disappointed." Only then did Nobuhiro Onigazuka remember that the person in front of him was 10,000 times more terrifying than Baek Isu. Gunji Hanazawa's arrival interrupted their conversation. He then handed the phone to Shogo Uyama, respectfully indicating it was a call from the boss. Tetsuji Uyama's voice on the other end was ice cold. "Taesun clan is what I gave to Baek Dogyoung. What right do you have to interfere?" Shogo Uyama didn't respond directly but muttered. "There seemed to be a lot of ears around me." But Tetsuji Uyama told him this news came from Baek Dogyoung himself. Shogo Uyama thought it was Baek Isu impersonating him. He explained that person was Baek Dogyoung's twin brother. But hearing this, Tetsuji Uyama seemed very displeased. "Are you now questioning my words too?" Shogo Uyama didn't dare speak further. After a moment, Tetsuji Uyama told him. Baek Dogyoung was preparing to compete for Uyama's leadership, and had declared he would kill Shogo Uyama. Shogo Uyama asked how he had responded. Tetsuji Uyama said, "The position of Uyama's leader has always gone to the capable." After hanging up, Shogo Uyama's veins bulged. Even his old man wasn't on his side. He looked menacingly at Gunji Hanazawa beside him, throwing the phone back to him. "Is Baek Dogyoung really still alive?" Gunji Hanazawa gave him a definitive answer. Shogo Uyama asked if he was also on Baek Dogyoung's side. Gunji Hanazawa didn't answer directly, only saying he worked for Uyama Group. Then he handed Shogo Uyama a report, saying he had found information about the third-party organization that had been leaking information to them. "If used properly, this would be a great asset to you." Looking at the report in his hand, Shogo Uyama showed a meaningful smile. A car stopped in the rain. Chief Jang was clarifying Taesun clan's situation. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Suddenly, a mysterious person approached the vehicle. Seeing this person, Chief Jang looked panicked. He quickly threw away his cigarette. It turned out to be his daughter, Hyona. Hyona looked angry. "Dad, you're smoking again? The whole car reeks of secondhand smoke." Chief Jang smiled apologetically, saying he would definitely quit. Just as the car was about to start, another mysterious person approached and opened the car door without saying a word. Hyona looked at this stranger in surprise. "Who are you?" Though angry, Chief Jang restrained himself from taking action. Shogo Uyama grabbed Hyona's hand. "Miss, don't be so nervous. I'm your father's friend." Then he glanced at Chief Jang. "Or rather, about to become your father's friend." Hyona couldn't understand at all. Her father was just an ordinary office worker, so why would he have such friends? Seeing his daughter's panicked expression, Chief Jang's chest felt like it was burning with fire. For his daughter's safety, he could only suppress his anger and tell Hyona this person was indeed a work colleague. Since it was about work, it would be more convenient to talk outside. Shogo Uyama didn't refuse, saying he would follow Chief Jang's arrangements. He directly stated his purpose was to discuss cooperation. Chief Jang's tone was ice cold. "You bastards are seeking death. No matter how much power you have in Country R, this is Country H. You have no right to be arrogant." Shogo Uyama paid no attention to the naked threat, instead joking that this tone was just like the fake Baek Dogyoung's. He was truly worthy of being personally trained by Chief Jang. They had already done detailed research on Chief Jang before coming. He was harsh on others, subordinates, and even himself, but his daughter was his only weakness. The blonde stared provocatively at Chief Jang. Chief Jang's tone softened, asking what they wanted. Shogo Uyama told him not to be nervous. They both had common enemies, and the enemy of an enemy is a friend. He wanted a piece of the pie in taking down Taesun clan. After learning his intention, Chief Jang couldn't help but sneer. He already had enough partners and didn't need to add another. Shogo Uyama wasn't angry either. Just get rid of those useless waste partners, and there would be room, right? Chief Jang was considering the pros and cons. Shogo Uyama wasn't in a hurry for him to take a stance, saying he would let him see Uyama's strength. With their purpose achieved, they prepared to leave. "Hey, that blonde!" Chief Jang grabbed Kaito Ishizuka by the collar and swept him to the ground with one kick. When adults are talking, kids should keep their hands to themselves. If you ever think about my daughter again, I'll make sure you never leave country H. And you too, understand? Recently, Ryu Taehyung had been extremely troubled. The news about the real and fake Baek Dogyoung had already given him a headache. That damn Chief Jang still wasn't answering his calls. Suddenly, a subordinate covered in blood stumbled in. Ryu Taehyung's eyes narrowed. You're fucking looking for death. The attacker was Nobuhiro Onigazuka, who had been beaten up by Baek Ieyasu earlier. Ryu Taehyung didn't recognize this guy, but from his broken Korean he had already determined the opponent's identity. Dare to cause trouble on my turf? No matter what the opponent's identity was, he would have to face Ryu Taehyung's boundless fury. Shogo Uyama slowly walked over. Just by the way you talk, I can tell you're a country bumpkin. Ryu Taehyung laughed, seeing the samurai sword in his hand. Could this old antique still cut people? Shogo Uyama ignored him. You're not worthy of me taking action. On the other side, Lee Song-guk looked stunned, because two Baek Dogyoungs had appeared in front of him. Baek Dogyoung said, "Who is this guy?" Zion pulled off his eye patch and told him to stop acting cool. Lee Song-guk was tearful. Then who cut off my finger? Then he said that was all in the past. Ever since the last war between Taesin clan and Jeorang clan, their displayed strength had completely conquered him. Now he was only loyal to Taesin clan. Hearing that Zion had easily defeated Ryu Taehyung, Baek Dogyoung was greatly shocked, because he knew Ryu Taehyung's strength was definitely not ordinary. He had been a professional boxer, with particularly agile movements. What was most impressive was his willingness to use any means to win. He had once gouged out an opponent's eye and was expelled from the boxing club. At this moment, Nobuhiro Onigazuka was experiencing Ryu Taehyung's power. All his attacks were being flexibly dodged. While he had to be careful of Ryu Taehyung's counterattacks, in a moment of carelessness, his already injured abdomen was attacked again. The explosive pain made him grind his back teeth to powder. He wildly slashed to force Ryu Taehyung back. Ryu Taehyung looked at his wounded arm with fierce eyes. His next attacks became even more ferocious. Each time he targeted Nobuhiro Onigazuka's injured abdomen. Shogo Uyama knew Nobuhiro Onigazuka was at his limit, while Ryu Taehyung was getting more and more relaxed. Ryu Taehyung told Shogo Uyama not to rush. It would be his turn soon. But Shogo Uyama suddenly launched a sneak attack. Grinning maliciously, never turn your back on an enemy. On the other side, Lee Sungmin brought Kaito Ishizuka to find Baek Ieyasu for revenge, and happened to encounter Cha Yua and the butcher there. Kaito Ishizuka coldly asked the two about Baek Ieyasu's whereabouts. The butcher also had a hot temper, mocking, "What random punk is chattering here?" After speaking, she shouldered her cleaver and looked at Kaito Ishizuka provocatively. Suddenly, a gust of wind struck her face. Kaito Ishizuka actually attacked directly without saying a word. The butcher cursed with a smile, "Really ill-mannered bastard." Kaito Ishizuka frowned and responded coldly, "Too noisy." Lee Sungmin feared the two would clash again and quickly intervened, saying Baek Ieyasu would be back soon. At this time, Cha Yua questioned which side he was really on. She had joined Taesin clan because she recognized Baek Ieyasu. She didn't want to deal with anyone else. The butcher even characterized Lee Sungmin, just a opportunistic villain. Facing their mockery, Lee Sungmin's face darkened. He thought to himself, to restore Ilhak's glory, I can bear any infamy. At this moment, on the other side, Nobuhiro Onigazuka looked crazed, while Ryu Taehyung lay motionless on the ground. Shogo Uyama slowly finished his last sip of alcohol, finally over. Nobuhiro Onigazuka had just turned around when Ryu Taehyung struggled to get up. Where the hell is it over? It's just getting started. But anyone could see he was at his limit. The current boss of the biggest force, Jeorang clan, couldn't even stand up now. Shogo Uyama grabbed him by the neck. Can't you see the current situation clearly? Why doesn't such a big Jeorang clan even have a single subordinate? Wolf packs gather around the alpha wolf. But if they know even the alpha has been defeated, the pack loses its fighting spirit without a leader. You're now just a beast that's lost its claws and fangs. At this moment, inside Taesin clan headquarters, an elevator slowly reached the first floor. Kaito Ishizuka walked out leisurely, suddenly becoming alert. Shadows moved in the darkness. In the dim light, he saw Baek Ieyasu had just finished off one of Uyama's men. Kaito Ishizuka was exactly the prey he had been tracking today. He had already investigated his background thoroughly. Looking at Kaito Ishizuka's scar-covered hands, Baek Ieyasu also knew this guy had walked out of countless life-and-death situations. Kaito Ishizuka was originally a nameless orphan living on the streets. Street survival had caused him to lose his sense of pain, but this was actually a good thing for him, allowing him to survive one vicious fight after another. At this moment, facing the famous Baek Ieyasu, he didn't retreat, because without pain, he was fearless. He launched the attack first. Even Zion on the side praised, this speed is fast enough to compare with a weasel. Baek Ieyasu dodged the attack, trying to create distance. But Kaito Ishizuka's attack came again. He landed a high kick aimed at Baek Ieyaisu's face. Baek Ieyasu blocked the attack with both arms. In the gap, he found the opponent's weakness and turned to grab his shoulder joint, forcefully bending it downward. But Kaito Ishizuka showed no expression, instead pushing Baek Ieyasu away with his legs. Even though this guy had just dislocated his joint, he acted like nothing happened. Kaito Ishizuka struck the dislocated area hard with his left hand, and actually forced it back into place. Baek-isu rubbed his wrist. What an interesting guy. If you feel no pain, then what are you going to do next? Baek-isu struck Kaito Ishizuka's arm with his elbow. Kaito Ishizuka countered with a punch to Baek-isu's face. But before he could celebrate, he noticed his own arm was bent at a grotesque angle. You just don't feel pain, but you're not invincible. For the first time, Kaito Ishizuka showed anger. He kicked toward Baek-isu again. Baek-isu caught his foot and punched hard at his knee joint. Losing his balance, Kaito Ishizuka fell to the ground. Baek-isu raised his foot and stomped on his injured leg again. If you're the ghost of street fighting, then I'm the demon from hell. Facing such a Baek-isu, Kaito Ishizuka showed fear for the first time. Meanwhile, Baek-dog-young was heading back to Taisen clan. Jin-eung-ha said it wouldn't look good to return empty-handed should they bring some gifts. Baek-dog-young teased him, since when does Taisen clan's demon make jokes? And my foolish brother, too. Actually went back early saying he'd clean up the trash for me? Just how strong is this guy really? 10 minutes later, they arrived at Taisen clan. Jin-eung-ha wanted to help Baek-dog-young, but Baek-dog-young waved him off. Haven't been back in a while. Can't lose face in front of the kids. At the same time, a group of Uyama's men and the butcher were heading to the hall. They heard someone was causing trouble there, but heard sounds around the corner, witnessing the lookout being throat-slashed. Just as Uyama's men were about to say something, a figure flashed by. It's really too noisy. Feels good playing the host in someone else's house? At this moment, the butcher's lips curved into a smile, attacking from behind one of Uyama's men who was about to make a move. Stinking fox, is your boss back? Zion pointed upward with his finger. At this moment, Lee Sungmin in the office also heard the commotion outside, thinking it was Baek-isu returning, but turned around to see corpses of Uyama gang members everywhere. On the other side, Kaito Ishizuka dragged his broken leg, moving forward step by step. Baek-isu followed leisurely behind him. Still able to stand up, what tenacious vitality. Suddenly, someone entering through the door caught both their attention. This shocked Nobuhiro Onigazuka beyond belief. He recognized this person as the real Baek-dog-young. You actually want to target Taisen clan? If you want to see Taisen clan's height, then lie on the ground like this and crane your neck to look up. The next day, everyone gathered in the meeting room. The butcher complained, so the real Baek-dog-young was lying in a hospital bed all along, actually putting on a show of the brother impersonating his older brother. So, can we still trust you guys? Baek-dog-young, who was also acquainted with her, explained, so far all the decisions my brother made were in Taisen clan's best interest. His words represent my intentions. Ilhak and Shanung will maintain their current cooperative relationship, so be respectful when speaking to my brother from now on. After saying this, he prepared to light a cigarette, but Baek-isu snatched it away. Cha-Yua then tried to smooth things over, then changed the subject. Although I was familiar with Baek-dog-young before, I chose to cooperate because I approved the younger brother Baek-isu, so we're not following you. This left Baek-dog-young speechless. What kind of spell did this foolish brother cast on these two? Lee Sungmin interrupted their argument, saying the most important thing right now is, what do we do next? Reports say Uyama has already acquired products that originally belonged to Jiurang clan, though it's unclear why Ryu Taeyong would agree to this. But this must be connected to Chief Jang. This means Uyama and Chief Jang have officially joined forces. Baek-dog-young said, instead of all this guessing, why don't we go see for ourselves? After saying this, he revealed the invitation in his hand. 3 days later, at Uyama's celebration banquet, Cha-Yua walked over with heroic bearing, but she was stopped by security and asked to show her invitation. Cha-Yua announced herself, I am the president of Chaenung Trading Company. Then she swaggered right in. The security guard was puzzled, as according to previous records, Chaenung's president should have already entered. At this moment, Shogo Uyama and Wang Hao were talking, rehearsing the speech they would give later. He and Wang Hao's Black Dragon clan behind him both belonged to external forces, exchanging experiences on how to seize the cake that was NH country. The sudden appearance of Cha-Yua interrupted their conversation. Cha-Yua said with an unfriendly tone, since Chaenung's true president has arrived, shouldn't the acting president step down? Wang Hao's eyes narrowed slightly. It seemed this woman had found a backer. Lee Sungmin's appearance eased the awkwardness in the room. Shogo Uyama enthusiastically went to greet him. Lee Sungmin sat down expressionlessly. At this moment, an uninvited guest arrived at the door. It was Baek-dog-young, who hadn't appeared for a long time. Baek-dog-young straightened his clothes. Haven't been out in a while, wore an expensive suit, better not get it dirty. Long time no see, big brother. I heard you've been looking for me everywhere lately. Seems like you really can't forget about your little brother. The man before him made Shogo Uyama momentarily dazed. His tone and demeanor were too similar to Baek-dog-young. Baek-dog-young casually walked over and sat down. You didn't even prepare a seat for me. Seems like everyone doesn't really welcome me. Wang Hao's eyes narrowed as he sized up Baek-dog-young. Then he put on a big smile. Mr. Baek, long time no see. But Baek-dog-young looked confused. Who are you? Do I know you well? Wang Hao's face twitched, just as he was about to lose his temper. Baek-dog-young seemed to remember. You're that guy who got beaten up by me once, then stole Chaenung's boss position? This comment made Wang Hao's veins bulge on his face. He slowly stood up and questioned what he meant by that. Then he pulled over a chair, asking Baek Do-young to sit beside him and explain slowly. Baek Do-young wasn't polite either, plopping down. Then asked Wang Hao for a cigarette, lit his lighter, and lit the cigarette. The moment he saw the lighter, Shogo Uyama was certain he was Baek Do-young. At this moment, Baek Do-young's words were full of sarcasm. Your appetite is really big. You actually swallowed the entire Jourang clan whole. Aren't you afraid of choking? Shogo Uyama snatched the cigarette from his lips. Not only will I swallow the Jourang clan, I'll also turn Taisen clan into a grave for you twins. Baek Do-young swatted away the cigarette butt. This suit is expensive. Shogo Uyama gave him a second option. Or you can submit to me and we can stand together at the pinnacle of Seoul. When he said this, he completely ignored the other bosses. But Baek Do-young refused him without hesitation, instead asking why he insisted on extending his hand to Seoul. I already gave up everything in our country. But these words only made Shogo Uyama more crazed. I don't want your charity. Everything should have been mine originally. It's just your appearance that took everything away. Even Dad designated you as the successor. I will take back what's mine with my own hands. Listen well, all of you. I will definitely destroy Taisen clan. Anyone who stands in my way will be destroyed. Compared to the furious Shogo Uyama, Baek Do-young seemed unusually calm, even clapping his hands. I'm guessing you practiced those words for a long time, but the level is just so-so. Just like a child throwing a tantrum. Want to forcefully snatch it? Then go ahead and try. After speaking, Baek Do-young stood up and warned him again. If you can't do it, then this time you're dead for sure. Lee Sungmin and Cha Yua also stood up to leave. When Cha Yua passed by Wang Hao, their eyes couldn't hide their mutual hostility. Seeing the group leave, Wang Hao took out his phone from his pocket. The call had been connected the whole time. Chief Jiang had heard all the previous conversation. This person seems normal except for his injured leg. Chief Jiang also fell into thought. Could it be an injury left from the previous ghost assassination attempt? But if I could kill you once, then I can kill you a second time. So he dialed the special operations team's number. The three of them came to the first floor lobby. When Baek Do-young suddenly told them to go ahead, he had something to handle. Cha Yua told him, we're on enemy territory now, it's too dangerous for you alone. Baek Do-young pointed toward the bathroom direction. Want all three of us to pee together? Then he told them to go first. I'm not a child. When Baek Do-young finished his business and was washing his hands, he heard footsteps behind him. Baek Do-young didn't turn around. Didn't I tell you to go first? But the person didn't respond to him. Several masked men in black had surrounded him. You guys really are persistent. Do you really think I'm an easy target? A cargo ship docked at the port under cover of night. A group of mysterious people opened one of the containers, and the goods inside scattered on the ground. Before, they had to hide inside tuna bellies to smuggle them in secretly. But since Shogo Uyama's forceful appearance in H country, now they could transport them openly and brazenly. The small leader excitedly shared with his subordinates. These idiots' brains are really sick. That Baek Do-young actually showed up at the hotel. Isn't that like a sheep walking into a tiger's den? He's probably been chopped into pieces by now. Just as the small leader finished speaking, there was movement behind him. He turned around to see a shocking scene. His subordinate was painfully clawing at his own neck, and standing on the railing behind him was Zion. The Iron Weasel had also subdued another person at the same time. Who did you say would be chopped into pieces? As soon as he finished speaking, Baek Isu appeared from behind. On the other side, Baek Do-young was being surrounded and attacked by the men in black. Although the opponents were more numerous and had undergone strict training, Baek Do-young was also a boss who had survived countless life and death battles. For a moment, the scene was deadlocked. At this time, someone spoke up to remind them. Baek Do-young's left leg is injured. Concentrate all your strength on attacking his left leg. This person slowly removed his hat. It was Park Chang-hoon, the captain of the special operations team. As long as they could hold down Baek Do-young and wait for him to exhaust his stamina, he would be prey waiting to die. Following his command, the men in black continuously launched attacks on Baek Do-young. Just as Baek Do-young punched one person back, he was grabbed by the arm. Then the whole body hugged Baek Do-young, while another person stabbed at him with a dagger. Baek Do-young grabbed his neck with his backhand, then stuck out his foot to trip him, throwing the opponent out. At this moment, Park Chang-hoon drew his dagger and joined the battle, stabbing at Baek Do-young from behind. As Baek Do-young dodged, the opponent's knee was already at his abdomen. Baek Do-young could only use his arm to block. Seeing that the sneak attack failed, Park Chang-hoon hid behind his subordinates again. This guy was like a hunting venomous snake. Once I showed a weakness, that's when he would bare his fangs. The men surrounded Baek Do-young in the middle, with only the wall behind him and nowhere to hide. Baek Do-young slowly reached his hand toward his lower back. On the other side at the port, Baek Isu approached the small leader step by step. The small leader was very panicked, because he knew the opponent's strength was extremely formidable, but he still forced himself to calm down, and said Baek Isu shouldn't be here. Without his protection, Baek Do-young would be a lamb for slaughter. Hearing this, Baek Isu laughed. This damn building wall is so hard to climb. Now my leg hurts badly. Zion immediately supported Baek Isu. The small leader heard this and looked like he'd seen a ghost. because the information he got was that Baek Dogyung's leg was injured. Could it be that the person in front of him was Baek Dogyung? He guessed right, the person at the hotel was actually Baek Isu. Others treated them as prey, but weren't they also hunters? Baek Isu forcefully kicked off the ground. His body shot out like a cheetah, instantly killing the 3 men in front of him. Park Chung-hoon also noticed that Baek Isu had just used his supposedly injured leg to exert force. He realized he'd been deceived. At this moment, all of the men in black's moves were anticipated by Baek Isu. He then made preemptive counter moves, seriously injuring the 2 men in front of him again. One person still wanted to sneak attack from behind. Baek Isu directly caught his arm, then slammed this person hard on the ground. Then with a slash of his dagger, he severed the person's hand tendons. Park Chung-hoon wanted to confirm Baek Isu's identity, but got only a meaningful smile. Park Chung-hoon hurriedly spoke into his radio about executing Plan B. Then he had all team members retreat first, and he would deal with Baek Isu together with Ghost. "You're like a legendary existence to us. A superfan really wants to meet you." Before he finished speaking, a big slap hit his face. "Chattering nonsense, so annoying, get lost." Ghost's tone was both unwilling and a bit excited. "I clearly killed you before." Baek Isu instantly understood. His big brother had almost died at this person's hands. "Then you won't be leaving today." There was such a special operations team that didn't exist in public. They specialized in carrying out assassination missions for the H country government. Members had no past, no relatives, no names, only cold numerical codes. Once after completing a mission in E country, G2 removed his mask and breathed in the fresh air deeply. The captain loudly scolded him, telling him not to expose his identity. G2 told him not to be so tense, all mission targets had been eliminated. He also complained, "Been running around outside for a month, really want to go back to H country for a big meal right away." Other members were also infected by him, and the atmosphere in the car suddenly became much more relaxed. Suddenly, a car came speeding toward them, ramming their team's car from the side. The huge impact caused the vehicle to roll several times before stopping. The members all fell into unconsciousness. Only Captain G1 remained conscious. At this time, several fully armed opponents got out of their car and directly fired at the overturned vehicle, emptying 3 magazines before they finally stopped. This person reported through his earpiece, "Target eliminated, preparing to evacuate." Suddenly, there was movement behind him. He turned around to see an astonishing scene. A blood-covered figure appeared not far away. A throwing knife shot rapidly toward one person. Unable to dodge in time, that person was killed on the spot. It turned out there were 2 survivors from the earlier shooting. This person immediately raised his gun to continue firing, but he had already lost sight of the 2 figures. The heavy snow made it impossible for him to judge where the danger was. Suddenly, he felt an ice-cold sensation on his neck. The next second, he went to hell. G2 asked about the captain's condition, but the captain told him to destroy the evidence first. The roaring flames consumed the vehicle with the 2 teammates. G2 couldn't help but sigh. After being teammates for so long, they didn't even know each other's names. No one in the world knew they had ever existed. The captain responded with a bitter smile, then said goodbye to him. G2 was about to ask what was wrong when he discovered the captain was covered in blood. He wanted to take the captain away quickly for treatment, but the captain broke free and said it was too late. "You know our rules, we can't leave any traces behind." After saying this, he walked toward the burning vehicle under G2's gaze, and also became a ball of flames, leaving only G2 standing alone in the wind and snow. When he returned to H country, Chief Jang was there to receive him. He begged Chief Jang to request E country to return his teammates' remains, but was directly refused. If they made such a request, it would mean H country was confessing. "No one can know this was H country's doing. That's your team's mission." Then he told G2, "From now on, your codename is Ghost, reporting directly to me." After hearing Chief Jang's cold words, Ghost's face contorted violently. He secretly reached for claw weapons from behind. Suddenly, someone came to report that Baek Isu was being detained and interrogated by the investigation department on spy charges. Chief Jang immediately stood up and said he would personally go to receive him. This made Ghost question who exactly Baek Isu was. Not only did he have a name, but he could also get Chief Jang's special treatment. Chief Jang smiled and said Baek Isu was different from him. This made Ghost very jealous of Baek Isu. He vowed to kill Baek Isu to prove his own worth. Ghost thought he had succeeded last time, but he had killed the wrong person. Baek Isu didn't care about his psychological activities. He only knew his brother had almost died at this person's hands. So he directly launched an attack, kicking Ghost in the chest. Ghost staggered to steady himself, then told Park Chung-hoon to go downstairs and turn off the power. Although Park Chung-hoon didn't understand what he wanted to do, he still followed his instructions. Ghosts should exist in darkness, staring at their prey, then delivering a fatal strike. A throwing knife shot rapidly toward Baek Isu. Although Baek Isu's vision was impaired, the blade's reflection allowed him to make an accurate judgment. But then he noticed something wrong. A steel wire was wrapped around the weapon's handle. The life and death battle between the two began. The twin brothers had both become targets that Chief Jang must eliminate. If he had to choose one as the target, undoubtedly Baek Dogyung, who was still recovering from serious illness, was more suitable. Baek Isu keenly perceived everything, So the brothers switched identities to carry out the mission. Zion said Ghost had been beaten half to death by him before, but they still had to be careful of that guy. They undergo strict training and are Ghosts specialized in assassination missions. Baek Iasu interrupted Zion's rambling. Don't nag like an old mother. Ghost was indeed, as Zion said, an excellent hunter hiding in darkness. But don't forget, Zion had learned his fighting skills from Baek Iasu. Ghost attacks were all blocked, and Baek Iasu seized the gap in his attacks, using a reverse grappling move to slam Ghost into the ground. Just as Ghost was about to die under Baek Isu's blade, Park Chang-hoon intervened to help. Facing the two-man attack, Baek Iasu still handled it with ease. This terrifying strength made Ghost even more excited. But he didn't dare to rush forward recklessly. To win, he could only wait for an opportunity. He had almost killed Baek Isu's brother. Baek Isu must be especially angry now. When people are angry, they might show weaknesses. But all this didn't seem to apply to Baek Isu. His attacks became increasingly fierce, but it didn't seem to be caused by emotions. Rather, he was inherently this kind of ruthless killer. Baek Isu landed another heavy punch on Ghost's chin, sending his body flying into the air. The heavy blow made his eyes roll back. The Baek Isu before him was like an insurmountable mountain. At this moment, a sharp blade slashed toward Baek Isu's neck. Baek Isu dodged the attack while also releasing Ghost. The terrifying strength had made Park Chang-hoon consider retreating. If this continued, both he and Ghost would die here. Ghost showed no expression. This reminded him of his captain. Even when retreating, all traces must be eliminated. This was the principle their team maintained with their lives. So under Park Chang-hoon's surprised gaze, Ghost rushed forward rapidly, his body pouncing on Baek Isu like an eagle. Baek Isu raised his blade to block this strike. Both thrust their blades desperately toward their opponent. In the end, Baek Isu was superior, forcing Ghost back. But the retreating Ghost pulled hard on his claw weapon. The thin cord had wrapped around Baek Isu's ankle. Losing his balance, he fell backward. Ghost had been waiting for this moment. He leaped forward, determined to end the battle with this strike. But Baek Isu, who had already lost his balance, forcibly twisted his body, dodging the attack while counterattacking. Park Chang-hoon watched in disbelief. Ghost, who had taken a heavy blow to the face, fell to the ground again, coughing up blood, but his expression became increasingly crazed. Baek Isu cut the cord around his ankle with his blade, looking at him coldly. Ghost supported himself on the ground again, preparing to attack Baek Isu's lower body, but his gaze was attracted by something on the ground. Baek Isu didn't understand why he suddenly stopped, but saw Ghost staring at a lighter on the ground. It had fallen from Baek Isu during the fight. Ghost picked up the lighter, his thoughts returning to that mission many years ago. Ghost lit the lighter. Burn it all. Nothing can be left behind. On the other side, Baek Dogyoung, with Zion and the Iron Weasel's help, dealt with a group of enemies, then set everything on fire. Zion teased Baek Dogyoung, asking if he felt sorry about it. Baek Dogyoung didn't answer this question. He said to himself, foster father never allowed Uyama's people to touch this stuff. It can only be Shogo Uyama secretly manipulating it. That guy will do any dirty thing as long as he can make money. At this time, the Iron Weasel handed him a chocolate pie. Baek Dogyoung remembered he was from Sea Country. Curious why someone so young lived a life of blood and violence. The Iron Weasel's expression was melancholy. He had been orphaned since childhood, came from a hopeless place. It was Captain Baek Isu who gave his life meaning. Baek Dogyoung hadn't expected his younger brother to have this side. But what mattered now was the present. They had to get hold of the drugs circulating in the market and destroy them all. That damned Shogo Uyama absolutely cannot be spared. Meanwhile, Ghost had completely lost it. From the moment he got Baek Isu's lighter, he kept shouting, burn it all! Baek Isu told him to return it, but he turned a deaf ear. Park Chang-hoon didn't know what this guy was going crazy about. Ghost looked back at Baek Isu, then ran toward the elevator like a madman. Baek Isu cursed, damn it, that's my brother's important possession. He picked up a dagger from the ground and quickly chased after him. Park Chang-hoon hurriedly reported the current situation through his earpiece. Ghost ran while laughing maniacally, nothing can be left behind. That time in E-Country to destroy evidence. Without other fuel available, his comrades had collected a lot of vodka that E-Country people liked to drink to help with burning. He already knew where he should go. When Baek Isu chased after him, he found Ghost had already gotten on the elevator. Before getting on, Ghost even provocatively beckoned to him with his finger. Baek Isu watched helplessly as the elevator closed, then stopped at the 5th floor. In the elevator, Ghost felt dizzy. This Baek Isu was simply like a monster. Only then did he remember Chief Jiang's evaluation. He and Baek Isu were not on the same level of existence at all. Ghost was very unwilling. Same people receiving the same training. Why should Baek Isu be superior? He didn't believe he couldn't match Baek Isu. He staggered into Taisen Clan's reception room. He was sure there was what he was looking for here. Finally, he found vodka in the refrigerator. Let's end this battle with this today. So he took the vodka and poured it on the ground. Could Baek Isu break through this predicament? Doing all this seemed to drain all his strength. He lay on the sofa and thought of his captain again. Burn it all together! When the elevator opened, Baek Isu found flames had already engulfed the reception room. This madman's actions exceeded his imagination. At this time, a voice called out to him. Ghost appeared on his left, still clutching his brother's lighter. "You're looking for this, right? After all, your brother almost died at my hands." Ghost kept provoking Baek Isu with words. Hearing this, Baek Isu indeed rushed over, but Ghost suddenly pulled the thin cord in his hand. A chair tied to the cord flew from the side, heading straight for Baek Isu's running direction. Baek Isu quickly ducked to avoid it, but his ankle was wrapped in the cord again, pinning him in place. At this moment, a vodka bottle came flying at him. Baek Isu smashed it with one punch. When he looked back, Ghost had already disappeared. He looked around warily. "Stop hiding! Come out! I'll send you on your final journey!" At this time, the sound of a lighter flicking came from behind him. Ghost appeared behind Baek Isu. "Goodbye, Baek Isu!" When he turned around, the lit lighter was already flying toward him. Baek Isu had no way to avoid it. Instantly, his entire right arm was engulfed in flames. Before he could extinguish it, Ghost pounced on Baek Isu like an eagle. At this moment, Baek Dog-young was on his way back. He suddenly felt a pang of anxiety, as if something bad was about to happen. He couldn't get through to his brother's phone either. From Lee Sungmin's call, he learned that a major fire had broken out on the hotel's upper floors. The massive flames were out of control. At this moment, Baek Dog-young's eyes were dark as water. On the other side, facing Ghost's sneak attack, Baek Isu raised his burning right arm to block, but his weapon was directly knocked away. He tried to grab Ghost with his left hand, but Ghost nimbly dodged. Ghost cackled wickedly. "The pain of burning flames has made your movements slow." Seeing Baek Isu continuously retreating, Ghost became more and more pleased. But Baek Isu showed a sinister smile. Then he grabbed Ghost's arm, raised his burning right arm, and slammed it hard into Ghost's back. Finally, he delivered a heavy knee strike to his chest. Compared to having comrades murdered by trusted superiors, compared to his brother almost dying in his arms, what did the pain in his arm matter? Baek Isu had been living in pain since that day. He had sworn to find and eliminate everyone who betrayed him, one by one. Ghost was sent flying like a broken kite. Baek Isu tore off his sleeve, revealing his burned and peeling hand underneath. The murderous aura he emanated made Ghost's blood run cold. Ghost picked up a nearby chair and began frantically smashing the window glass. Baek Isu didn't understand what he was trying to do. This was dozens of floors high. Even if he smashed the glass, he couldn't escape from here. At this time, Ghost smiled, asking Baek Isu if he felt his breathing becoming difficult since earlier. That was because the fire had caused oxygen depletion. If a large amount of oxygen suddenly enters a sealed space at this moment, do you know what interesting thing will happen? Ghost's expression became increasingly crazed. At this moment, the glass, after multiple impacts, showed cracks and then shattered directly. Instantly, oxygen entered the building, followed by a violent explosion. This scene was witnessed by Baek Dog-young in the distance. He told Zion to speed up, while repeatedly dialing Baek Isu's number, muttering continuously, "Damn it, pick up the phone!" The violent explosion turned the room into ruins. Baek Isu's hand suddenly moved. Then he struggled to get up, and happened to receive Baek Dog-young's call. When his big brother heard his voice, he also let out a heavy sigh of relief. Without time to ask about the situation, he told Baek Isu to quickly evacuate through the back door. But Baek Isu refused his brother's suggestion. "Today, I'm going to kill that ghost here. Even if I die here too, I don't care." Hearing his brother say this, Baek Dog-young really panicked this time. He screamed at Baek Isu to leave immediately, or he would end his own life right now. His brother's threat of death finally made Baek Isu compromise. After a long silence, he followed the directions toward the back door. At this time, a hand emerged from the ruins. Ghost crawled out from the debris, but there was no sign of Baek Isu around. "Weren't we supposed to burn together? Why did you leave me alone?" At this time, someone appeared in front of him. It was Park Chang-hun, who had come looking. Ghost complained, "I thought you had already escaped. Baek Isu is seriously injured. Let's quickly catch up and kill him." Before he finished speaking, he felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. Park Chang-hun's dagger had penetrated deep into his abdomen. A cold voice sounded in his ear. "Don't blame me, I'm just following orders." On the other side, Baek Isu opened the rolling door. A beam of strong light hit his face. Standing outside was Shogo Uyama's group. Chief Jang also walked out from the crowd. "Long time no see, Baek Isu." Baek Isu reminded him of what he had said at the funeral before, that their conflict couldn't be resolved by just one or two deaths. When they met again, it would be time to give an answer. It seemed today one of them must fall. Chief Jang calmly removed his glasses and tucked them into his shirt pocket. At the same time, Baek Isu's attack arrived. Chief Jang also drew his claw weapon to meet him. He crouched to avoid the slash. Baek Isu's leg attack followed immediately. But Chief Jang was very familiar with his attack patterns and had already prepared to block. However, contrary to his expectations, his face still took a heavy blow, worthy of being Chief Jang's best student, able to forcibly change attack patterns after attacking. Before he could catch his breath, Baek Isu's dagger came at him again. The two locked weapons. While both were struggling, Chief Jang rotated his wrist and attacked toward Baek Isu's chin. The sudden change caught him off guard. Chief Jang had already seen that emotions were affecting Baek Isu's movements. making his attacks slow and stiff. This meant he had the upper hand in this battle. After saying this, the two grappled together again. In the blink of an eye, they had already exchanged more than 10 attacks. Watching from the side, Shogo Uyama and others were shocked. Nobuhiro Onigazuka, who had lost to Baek Aisu before, wasn't very convinced. This time, seeing the evenly matched battle between the two, he finally realized he and Baek Aisu weren't even in the same league. Shogo Uyama noticed his hand was trembling, and consoled him not to worry too much about winning and losing. Then he found Kaito Ishizuka and asked about his injuries. Ishizuka said his right arm and right leg had compound fractures. Shogo Uyama's voice turned cold. What about the left hand? Ishizuka didn't know what was happening. Shogo Uyama grabbed his left hand and shoved a gun into it. At this moment, the hotel's front entrance had been blocked by police and firefighters. Baek Dogyoung's car couldn't get through at all. He anxiously called Lee Sungmin and learned that Lee Sungmin and Cha Yua were waiting at the front entrance, but hadn't seen Baek Aisu at all. Then he could only have gone through the warehouse back door. Lee Sungmin reminded him that if the front entrance was sealed, the back door was most likely sealed too. But Baek Dogyoung couldn't care about that now. If necessary, he planned to force his way through. Cha Yua took the phone, disagreeing with Baek Dogyoung's reckless behavior. What Baek Dogyoung needed most now was to stay calm. Otherwise, before they could charge through, they'd be turned into Swiss cheese by the police. Cha Yua told Baek Dogyoung to guard the warehouse back door and rendezvous with the approaching butcher to ensure they had backup for the retreat. The situation inside the hotel was left to them. This time Lee Sungmin had brought all 9 knives. This was also 9 knives' chance to prove themselves. Baek Dogyoung followed Cha Yua's arrangement. Zion jerked the steering wheel hard, making the car do a 180-degree turn. Meanwhile, police reported over the radio, suspicious vehicle spotted. At the same time, someone else received the message. This person calmly took out a cigarette. Little punks, get ready for battle. This person was Wang Hao and his men, who had been lying in ambush. The battle between Baek Aisu and Chief Jang continued intensely. Both had sustained varying degrees of injuries. Baek Aisu asked the question that had been weighing on his heart. Why did you do this to me? His words were interrupted by a gunshot. The shooter was Kaito Ishizuka. Shogo Uyama apologized repeatedly. Sorry, it was just too boring standing here. We should have ended this earlier. Only then did Baek Aisu notice blood gushing from his abdomen. Chief Jang also looked incredulous. At this moment, Wang Hao was smoking at the back door. Once the balance of the underground order is broken, a new player is needed to maintain it. This is the same thing they've been doing for over a decade. In the end, nothing has changed. Just then, a car came speeding from the distance. The person he'd been waiting for had finally arrived. But he didn't know whether it would be Taesin clan leader Baek Dogyoung or his younger brother Baek Aisu, the special task force captain. Baek Dogyoung ran his fingers through his hair. I don't have time for your nonsense today. Either get out of the way or die. Wang Hao's face turned fierce. You'll have to ask my brothers behind me if they agree to let you pass. With his younger brother's life hanging in the balance, Baek Dogyoung was already on the edge of losing it. Suddenly, gunshots in the distance caught both men's attention. Zion and the Iron Weasel both became alert. Baek Dogyoung was stunned for a few seconds. Then, with a roar, his figure lunged at Wang Hao like a leopard. A speeding car interrupted him. It was the arriving Taesin clan members, led by someone who was once Wang Hao's subordinate, but now stood on the opposite side, the butcher. The butcher said she would be the vanguard. Let Baek Dogyoung do what he should do. On the other side, Kaito Ishizuka was also startled by the gunshots. Shogo Uyama explained nonchalantly. Being a spectator is really boring. Then he put his arm around the trembling Kaito Ishizuka, telling him to relax. This shot was aimed at Baek Aisu's head. The gunshot rang out again. Baek Aisu suddenly rolled to the side, taking cover behind a bulldozer. Chief Jang approached the two men with a stern expression, kicking the gun out of Kaito Ishizuka's hand. Shogo Uyama didn't understand what he meant. The two of them were in a cooperative relationship now. Chief Jang grabbed him by the collar. Who gave you permission to shoot here? This isn't our country. Before Shogo Uyama could speak, an axe was placed against Chief Jang's neck. Move again and I'll take your head off. It was Nobuhiro Onigazuka who had acted. But Shogo Uyama wasn't grateful, angrily telling him to get lost. Only then did Nobuhiro Onigazuka lower his axe. Shogo Uyama slowly pushed away Chief Jang's hand. Are you angry because I fired the gun, or because you feel guilty about Baek Aisu? This seemed to hit Chief Jang's sore spot. He directly pulled out his pistol from his jacket and aimed it at Shogo Uyama. Baek Aisu can only be dealt with by me, understand? Shogo Uyama smiled mockingly and said he understood. After all, Baek Aisu wasn't his target anyway. Suddenly, a group of people appeared on the scene. I told my godfather long ago that mad dogs should be beaten to calm them down. Baek Aisu also heard his older brother's voice. Shogo Uyama seemed very happy. The person he was waiting for had finally arrived. My brother, tell me who's been bullying you. Who do I need to kill first? Shogo Uyama was also excited to see him, as his target was Baek Dogyoung. However, he was also curious about how Baek Dogyoung managed to break through Wang Hao's defenses. Baek Dogyoung told him not to worry about it. and suggested he worry more about whether he'd live to see tomorrow's sunrise. At this moment, Wang Hao was facing off against a menacing butcher, with intense headlights making it impossible for Wang Hao and his men to open their eyes. Gu Changjun didn't understand why they let Baek Do-young in. While Wang Hao nonchalantly lit a cigarette, Shogo Uyama was never really one of them. So wouldn't it be perfect to let Baek Do-young and them fight each other like dogs? Besides, if Baek Do-young didn't die by his hand, they wouldn't become targets of the Taesun clan's revenge. All they needed to do was hold off the butcher in front of them and wait for the outcome. However, the weapon he had trained was now turned against him, which made him extremely displeased. Wang Hao quickly dodged the butcher's slash. "Let me teach you what respect for your teacher means." But the headlight behind the butcher shone directly at him, making his eyes unable to open from the glare. The butcher seized the opportunity to strike again, cutting his sleeve. Wang Hao thought to himself, "That was close." The butcher gave him no chance to catch his breath, unleashing countless strikes, forcing Wang Hao to retreat repeatedly until he hit an obstacle. The butcher found the perfect opportunity and immediately pressed forward, while Wang Hao barely managed to dodge this attack. "You've improved quite a bit from before, but your biggest problem is being too impatient." After saying this, Wang Hao braced himself against the obstacle, then launched his body into the air and kicked away the butcher's weapon. While the butcher was stunned, he delivered another kick directly to her face, causing the butcher to stumble backward. Wang Hao then launched an even more ferocious attack. "Although you've grown a lot, it's still far from enough. If this is all you've got, then your life ends here today." On the other side, Baek Do-young also drew his blade to face Shogo Uyama's group. Nobuhiro Onigazuka pushed through the crowd and walked forward, then popped a whole bottle of pills into his mouth. He wanted to wash away his previous humiliation. Zion told him to come play with him instead, then told Baek Do-young to go find team leader Baek Iasu. Kaito Ishizuka on the side was preparing to grab a gun, but Iron Weasel blocked his path. "How can you be so shameless? Taking potshots while others are fighting? Believe me when I say I can have you lying down obediently within a minute?" Chief Jang saw the menacing Baek Do-young and felt the situation was getting increasingly complex. His primary mission was to find Baek Isu, but there was no trace of him behind the bulldozer. Suddenly, Baek Isu leaped down from on top of the bulldozer, striking down from above. Baek Do-young walked step by step toward the crowd, shouting, "Get out of the way if you don't want to die!" Hearing his arrogance, everyone charged at him. Baek Do-young severely injured one person with a single horizontal slash, then rushed into the crowd with his blade flashing, filling the area with screams of agony. Although Baek Do-young hadn't received professional training like his younger brother, long-term street fighting had honed his ruthless edge. While his movements weren't flashy, every attack targeted his opponent's vital points. Before long, everyone was left with broken arms and legs, wailing in pain. Yet these people didn't retreat and continued charging at him with loud shouts, only to be met by a group of people in white suits who suddenly appeared. Baek Do-young momentarily didn't recognize who they were, until Lee Sung-min appeared on the scene. These were the 9 blades he had brought. He told Baek Do-young that he would hold off this group, urging Baek Do-young to hurry and find Baek Iasu. At this moment, Baek Iasu and Chief Jang were already locked in combat, having exchanged 4 moves in the blink of an eye. However, Baek Isu's speed was obviously slower than before, and Chief Jang had noticed this early on. He grabbed the hand that was stabbing toward him, then drove his knee hard into Baek Isu's abdomen. Baek Isu's stomach immediately churned, and he couldn't dodge Chief Jang's incoming claw strike. Suddenly, a dagger slashed toward Chief Jang's face. It was Baek Do-young arriving just in time to break the deadlock. "It's time we settled our grudge." These were the new 9 blades that Lee Sung-min had forged. He was confident that with the new 9 blades, he could restore Il-hak's former glory. The 3 men calmly watched the enemies surrounding them. Suddenly, a figure flashed in front of one person, then delivered a heavy punch that sent him flying with an afterimage. When someone tried to ambush Lee Sung-min, this person turned around and pulled out a dagger, then landed another heavy punch to the opponent's abdomen. This was one of the new 9 blades, Hercules, a former professional boxer who had been the club's promising genius. But during one match, an accident occurred when his opponent illegally extended his fingers, driving them deep into his eye socket and blinding his left eye on the spot. The opponent even taunted him as a loser, and this person was the former Jerang clan leader Ryu Taeyong. He agreed to join the 9 blades for revenge. Hercules was incredibly brave on the battlefield, but someone was preparing to attack him from behind. As he was about to turn and block, his comrade Longmao severed the attacker's hamstring with a blade. Hercules complained, "You got my stylish clothes dirty." Longmao told him to shut up, or he'd dye all his clothes blood red. This was the son of the original 9 blades old 8, Gujun. The two wreaked havoc in the crowd. Zion watched this scene with considerable interest in the new 9 blades. But he forgot he also had an opponent to face. Zion hurriedly dodged backward, only to see that Nobuhiro Onigazuka's condition seemed off, acting like a madman with saliva flowing. "I bet what you just took wasn't cold medicine." Unexpectedly, he was grabbed from behind and couldn't move. Nobuhiro Onigazuka told him to hold on tight, then swung his axe at Zion with a maniacal laugh. Seeing this, Zion tripped the person behind him with his foot, then fell backward to dodge the strike. When Nobuhiro Onigazuka's axe came down again, Zion rolled hard to the side, and the person beneath him became collateral damage. Zion was stunned by this bloody scene. This was Nobuhiro Onigazuka's own subordinate. But Nobuhiro Onigazuka didn't care at all, saying he had plenty more subordinates like that. On the other side, Baek Dog-young's dagger slashed at Chief Jang, leaving a deep wound on his face. "It's time we settled our accounts." Chief Jang seemed unable to believe he could be injured by Baek Dog-young. Baek Dog-young asked how Baek Isu was doing and was told he was fine. Chief Jang gentlemanly lit a cigarette, telling Baek Dog-young to go take care of his younger brother first. He could wait for them. Seeing that his younger brother was in so much pain he couldn't stand straight, Baek Dog-young told him to sit and watch. He would deal with Chief Jang quickly. The battle between the two was about to begin. However, what Chief Jang didn't expect was that Baek Dog-young made no probing attacks at all, charging straight at him. Chief Jang thought he had found an opening and tried to finish Baek Dog-young with a horizontal slash, but saw Baek Dog-young retreat in a strange posture. Then he kicked Chief Jang in the lower abdomen. Chief Jang had never seen such fighting techniques, and his consecutive attacks were all read by Baek Dog-young. He now had to reassess the man before him. Baek Dog-young was more troublesome than expected, truly worthy of being someone who could dominate the underworld. Suddenly, the sound of a blade scraping against the ground rang out behind him. Baek Dog-young turned to see a terrifying sight. Someone was raising their weapon high above their head. Baek Dog-young urgently shouted a warning, but Baek Isu seemed to have no strength left to dodge. It was too late for Baek Dog-young to rush over and stop it. Shogo Uyama intended to turn this place into the brothers' graveyard. Baek Dog-young screamed in despair, an unprecedented sense of powerlessness welling up in his heart. Suddenly, someone leaped through the air and split Shogo Uyama's weapon in half. It was Iron Weasel, who had been holding back. Shogo Uyama didn't expect the Taisen clan to have such a skilled fighter. The two quickly engaged in several exchanges. An evil smile spread across his lips, as his katana flashed like lightning toward Iron Weasel's neck. Iron Weasel barely managed to dodge by leaning back hard. The opponent's sudden change in speed left him shaken. He quickly pulled back to reassess the man before him. Baek Dog-young urgently warned Iron Weasel not to be careless. While Shogo Uyama looked casual on the surface, he was actually a skilled swordsman. Chief Jang saw him distracted and exposed, so he attacked, wounding Baek Dog-young again. Baek Dog-young was in agony. Not only was his opponent troublesome, but he also had to constantly watch his younger brother behind him. The situation looked grim. On the other side, the butcher had been defeated. Wang Hao told her, "When I gave you this 100 flowers weapon, I hoped you would bloom brilliantly like a flower. But I never expected you to end up opposing me. Since you're so ungrateful, I'll send you on your final journey." Suddenly, dozens more cars arrived on the scene. Wang Hao sneered, "I didn't expect we'd have more guests." The arrivals were Nine Blades member Choi Chen-ho and Yaksha Jinung-ha. The subordinates were also stunned to see these legendary figures. "Wang Hao, we still have a score to settle." Then Choi Chen-ho told Jinung-ha to do what he needed to do. He'd handle things here. Wang Hao also sent his subordinates to other battlefields, knowing what score Choi Chen-ho was referring to. The original Nine Blades captain had died by his hand. When underworld enemies came seeking revenge, he would face them head-on. Choi Chen-ho launched the first attack, throwing a heavy punch at Wang Hao's abdomen. But Wang Hao steadily blocked it. Wang Hao countered with a whip kick that hit Choi Chen-ho, but it was also blocked. However, Choi Chen-ho's next punch landed solidly, sending Wang Hao staggering back 5 or 6 steps. The butcher was amazed by Choi Chen-ho's terrifying strength. A subordinate told her that legend had it Choi Chen-ho was once a man who stood at the peak of the underworld. At this moment, Wang Hao loosened his joints and mocked Choi Chen-ho for being old, his strength no longer what it used to be, while he himself had always been in the thick of the underworld maelstrom, never daring to slack off in training. He then swung his weapon horizontally at Choi Chen-ho. Choi Chen-ho tried to block, not realizing Wang Hao's attack was a feint. Wang Hao's back kick landed solidly on Choi Chen-ho's chest, followed by a blade strike that wounded him. Choi Chen-ho was forced back against a car. With nowhere left to dodge Wang Hao's attacks, he could only punch forward to meet them head-on, landing a solid hit on Wang Hao, and sending him flying backward. Wang Hao couldn't believe it. He had clearly been winning. Yet his opponent had found an opening and struck back. Choi Chen-ho told him they were both old-timers from a bygone era, with no place among the new generation. This time, he wasn't here for revenge. Someone from the new generation of Nine Blades would naturally come to claim his life. Zion's battle had also reached a stalemate. Every time he dealt with one person, another group would charge at him. And there was also that madman Kaito Ishizuka launching sneak attacks. This guy seemed tireless. He wanted to break free quickly and find Baek Isu. Then Jinung-ha appeared beside him, telling him to hurry and find Baek Isu. He'd handle the remaining riffraff. Kaito Ishizuka recognized him, having heard of the Taisen clan's Yaksha's reputation back in Country R. He'd long wanted to test his skills. Kaito Ishizuka swung his twin axes at Jinung-ha. Jinung-ha's movements were bold and sweeping, delivering a charged heavy punch. That sent Kaito Ishizuka flying with an afterimage. He nearly met his ancestors underground. Jinung-ha grabbed him by the collar. I really can't stand weaklings who talk big. In the end, Jinungha's superior skills prevailed, knocking Kaito Ishizuka unconscious with one punch. The subordinates were shocked to see their boss defeated. Jinungha flexed his shins and ordered his men to finish everyone off. On the other side, Choi Cheon-ho warned Wang Hao that someone would naturally come to claim his old life. Wang Hao had long lost patience with his rambling. Though both he and Choi Cheon-ho were old-timers from the previous era, he still had great ambitions. He then told Choi Cheon-ho to bring it on. Facing the charging Choi Cheon-ho, he sneered inwardly. Though he possessed speed that didn't match his large frame, his attack patterns were too predictable. He seized the opening and punched toward his opponent's abdomen. But Choi Cheon-ho didn't budge an inch, and instead smiled, then concentrated all his body's power into his rear hand. Wang Hao realized something was wrong, and felt like he'd been hit by a train. At this moment, Choi Cheon-ho showed no joy at landing the hit, because Wang Hao had seized his arm, then stepped on his shoulder, and delivered several kicks to Choi Cheon-ho's face. The two separated. "You're not going down that easily, are you?" Wang Hao's voice reached Choi Cheon-ho's ears. "If you don't give it your all today, you'll lose your life here." Hearing this, Choi Cheon-ho charged again, but Wang Hao kicked his knee, then chopped down on Choi Cheon-ho's neck with a knife hand strike. While his opponent was dazed, he landed another whip kick on Choi Cheon-ho. The giant of the 9 blades finally fell to the ground. The butcher was stunned by this scene. Suddenly, several coughs echoed across the battlefield. Choi Cheon-ho actually pushed himself up from the ground. "Finally got my blood pumping. Let's continue." Wang Hao laughed. "Since you're seeking death, I'll grant your wish." A gunshot interrupted the two men. Police Chief Cho Won-ho warned everyone to stop. Such a large-scale brawl had already enraged him. If he couldn't handle this properly, his position as chief would be over. He wanted to find Chief Jang, the ringleader, to hold him accountable. On the other side, Iron Weasel and Shogo Uyama were also locked in fierce combat. His specialty was assassination, but his opponent's weapon made it difficult to get close. Moreover, his opponent's varying attack speeds gave him headaches. This guy was more troublesome than expected. It seemed defeating him would require close combat. Iron Weasel quickly ducked to avoid Shogo Uyama's horizontal slash. Then when his opponent switched to an upward strike, he used his weapon to block the attack. This was Iron Weasel's strategy. But Shogo Uyama's expression suggested he'd anticipated this. At this moment, Iron Weasel's dagger snapped in two. A hand from behind grabbed his hood, saving him from being beheaded. Zion pointed out that Shogo Uyama's blade could cut through iron like mud. Absolutely couldn't clash weapons with him directly. Zion's appearance made Shogo Uyama realize that Nobuhiro Onigazuka had been defeated. Looking back, he saw his side was losing. Nobuhiro Onigazuka could barely stand even with his subordinate's support. This filled him with rage. However, at least Baek Dogyeong was at a disadvantage, with multiple wounds on his body. Chief Jang's attacks were becoming increasingly fierce, kicking Baek Dogyeong off balance. Zion and Iron Weasel watched anxiously. Iron Weasel charged forward again. He was determined to tear off this bastard's head. He still dodged the first attack, and when his opponent reloaded, he used his butterfly knife handle to catch the opponent's weapon. But before he could get close, Shogo Uyama kicked him away. However, he seemed to have figured out his opponent's attack pattern. This guy was clearly left-handed but used his right hand to hold the sword. His right-hand attacks were simple and slow, but when he switched to a two-handed grip, Shogo Uyama would instantly increase his attack speed, catching opponents off guard. The one who also saw through this was the injured Baek Aisu on the side. The battle indeed unfolded as Iron Weasel had predicted. Shogo Uyama lightly swung his right-handed strike, then immediately switched to a two-handed grip. His quick upward slash was successfully blocked by Iron Weasel. Shogo Uyama suddenly grabbed his hair, pulling his head back. Iron Weasel couldn't match him in strength. At the critical moment, Baek Isu stepped forward. Shogo Uyama pushed Iron Weasel away and switched his target to Baek Isu. Baek Isu grabbed his wrist, then brought his left-hand dagger down hard. A small finger flew out. "You're dead today, bastard!" Shogo Uyama endured the pain and switched his weapon to his right hand, then drove Baek Isu back with a horizontal slash. His bone-chilling laughter echoed across the battlefield. Everyone wondered why he was laughing, and his laughter grew more maniacal. "This wound is a humiliation to me. Next, I'm going to cut you into pieces and feed you to the dogs." Baek Isu pushed away Iron Weasel, who was blocking him. "This finger is just advance payment on the interest. I told you I'd kill you." Baek Dogyeong, who was fighting Chief Jang, also noticed the situation. This was his first time seeing his younger brother fight, and he was amazed that even Shogo Uyama had suffered. While he was pleased that his younger brother was so capable, Chief Jang's size 44 foot came flying at him. "Getting distracted while fighting me? That's pure suicide." He then rushed forward to deliver a finishing blow. A throwing knife from the shadows flew toward him. Though he dodged it, his face was still scratched. The attacker was Zion, hiding in the shadows. Chief Jang tracked the trajectory and found him, then pulled out a handgun from his jacket. "Just like last time, I'll kill them all and then clean up." Zion hid behind a shelf, preparing for a killing blow. Suddenly, someone appeared between the two without warning. Chief Jang didn't recognize him or know what he intended. This was Uyama Headquarters' strategic mind, Gunji Hanazawa. He had been the first to see through Baek Dog-young's fake death plan, but he hadn't acted against Baek Dog-young because they were close friends of many years. When Baek Dog-young wanted him to help manage the Taesun clan, he refused. Gonji Hanazawa told him he was only loyal to the Uyama organization, not to any individual. Back when Baek Dog-young was with the Uyama group in Country R, Gunji Hanazawa had chosen to support him because their philosophies were similar. But after Baek Dog-young left the organization, Shogo Uyama gradually took control of Uyama. Though this guy used bloody methods against hostile forces, the end result was that Uyama's influence in Country R became more stable. Baek Dog-young tightened his grip on the lighter, still believing the current Taesun clan was his best choice. Here, Gunji Hanazawa introduced himself to Chief Jang, then pulled out his phone and handed it to him, saying the Uyama group chairman wanted to talk to him. Hearing this, Shogo Uyama also stopped his actions. He didn't understand why his father wanted to interfere. Tetsuji Uyama's voice was ice cold as he asked, "My two sons are fighting, and what role are you playing in this?" Chief Jang knew well the Uyama group's immense power in Country R, and that Tetsuji Uyama was not to be trifled with, so he spoke in a moderate tone about the current situation. After hearing this, Tetsuji Uyama said this was just a family matter, and hoped Chief Jang would withdraw from the brothers' conflict. Right now, both Shogo Uyama and Baek Dog-young belong to independent organizations. And before either side won, the Uyama group wouldn't support anyone. As a show of sincerity, he could transfer the hotel's operating rights to Chief Jang. Otherwise, he would personally come to have a chat with Chief Jang next time. Such a blatant threat left Chief Jang silent. At this moment, Shogo Uyama became emotional, questioning what his father really wanted. Tetsuji Uyama didn't answer his question, but asked him in return if he weren't his son, and was just an ordinary Uyama member, would he still be loyal to Tetsuji Uyama? This conflict also ended due to Tetsuji Uyama's intervention. Cho Wonho was extremely furious at this moment. Such a large-scale fight would drag him into a huge media storm. He sternly warned Chief Jang that he wouldn't pretend this never happened. Wait for punishment from above. Baek Isu, supported by his older brother, walked out of the hotel. The fight between Wang Hao and Choi Cheonho also ended. Only Shogo Uyama was deeply frustrated. He had set up an elaborate trap. If his father hadn't interfered, the Baek Dog-young brothers would have died here today. The hatred that couldn't be vented in the burning flames would surely ignite new conflicts. Someone was drinking red wine while overlooking everything happening below. The fires of a new era would burn with the wind. 2 months after the hotel arson case, Cho Won-ho held a press conference about the incident. He first apologized to all citizens, then explained that the arson case was unrelated to the violent conflicts between organizations, and that the suspect had been arrested in Country R. But the reporters didn't believe this nonsense at all. With Country H's violent crime escalating, reporters questioned what measures Cho Won-ho had. Cho Won-ho righteously declared that to clean up Seoul's violent organizations, the police would join forces with the military to establish a new enforcement department, One Sink. These people were all professionally trained and could easily overwhelm ordinary gangs. But the truth was that these people used extremely bloody and violent methods. After eliminating small gang leaders, one person would randomly point at a bald subordinate and tell him he was now the boss. The bald man didn't understand what was happening and hesitated about whether to agree. The person's cold voice entered his ears again. "If you don't agree, I'll kill you first, then let someone else be the boss." The bald man fearfully agreed repeatedly. Next, this person threw a travel bag at the bald man's feet. The bald man tremblingly opened the bag and found it full of white powder. This person told the bald man that from now on, he would receive this stuff every month and was responsible for turning it into money. He wouldn't ask about the methods. Within the Taesun clan, they were also analyzing the current situation. In these 2 months, One Sink had already swallowed many small forces. The Taesun clan needed countermeasures, or they would be in danger. Left Eye didn't really understand these brain-intensive matters. Lee Song-guk continued explaining to him. Previously in Seoul, there were 5 coexisting powers: Jarang Clan, Cheonung Trading Company, Ilhak, HHS Entertainment, and Taesun Clan. The various forces checked each other, maintaining balance. But now we're facing a major reshuffling. One Sink has absorbed the Jarang Clan and some small forces. Currently, it has formed a 3-way standoff with Taesun Clan and HHS Entertainment. Moreover, One Sink has government backing, so they can act without any scruples or bottom lines. This way, some fence-sitters still watching will gradually approach them. And HHS Entertainment currently shows no movement. Han Haesung and Ryu Tae-young are close friends, but he didn't appear in the last conflict. So now HHS Entertainment is a very big, unstable factor. Once they betray us, it's just a matter of time before Taesun Clan gets swallowed. Lee Sung-min suggested they should avoid friction with HHS Entertainment now, and could negotiate an alliance under Ilhak's name, since many organizations once belonged to Ilhak. He then asked for Baek Dog-young's opinion. Baek Dog-young agreed with this approach while also reminding him to be mentally prepared. Not many organizations still felt loyalty to Ilhak anymore. Such blunt words made Left Eye and others quite displeased. Baek Dog-young announced that this time Taesun Clan and Ilhak would act separately, one playing the good cop, the other the bad cop. Lee Sungmin didn't understand his plan. Baek Dog-young said this wasn't a plan, it had already begun. At the same time, in the Gangnam district on HHS Entertainment's territory, a bald man was pushing through crowds and running frantically down the street, then hid behind an alley to observe the situation. He didn't understand where those bastards had come from. Just as he was about to call for backup, a figure appeared before him and slammed the bald man against the wall. The bald man was knocked unconscious. This person was Baek Isu, who should have been recovering from his injuries. Hearing Baek Dog-young say that Baek Isu had already made his move, Lee Sungmin thought he was too impulsive. Chayua also thought it was inappropriate since Baek Isu had been seriously injured before. But Baek Dog-young told them domineeringly that if HHS Entertainment didn't bare their fangs, everything would be fine. But once they did, they'd eliminate them first. Most importantly, Baek Isu was currently very angry inside and needed an outlet. At this moment, Baek Isu threw a phone in front of the bald man. The bald man trembled, not knowing what he wanted. Baek Isu stepped on his chest, telling him to make calls for backup. Call anyone. Get everyone you can call here. Tell them Baek Isu from Taesin Clan is here. Lee Sung-guk was not only well-versed in the structure of various forces, but also graded people based on actual combat situations. Seeing the expectant looks of the new Nine Blades members, Lee Sung-guk became even more carried away, starting to lecture them like a senior. This immediately angered Gujun, and Left Eye quickly tried to calm him down, since this data was indeed helpful to them as newcomers. They then asked Lee Sung-guk about their own grades. Lee Sung-guk explained that they had only appeared in the hotel battle and hadn't fought any formidable opponents alone, so they were tentatively rated as B class. Left Eye was quite satisfied with this rating, but Gujun disdainfully turned his head away. The commotion here attracted Choi Chon-ho's attention. Everyone was curious about his strength and quickly looked it up. Choi Chon-ho was once a man who stood at Seoul's peak, but he had passed his prime long ago and was currently rated as a plus. Choi Chon-ho was confused about what they were doing, and happened to chat with Baek Dog-young when he came over. The Taesin clan's focus should now be on the Gangnam district. Baek Dog-young was non-committal about this, then noticed Lee Sung-guk acting strangely and discovered he was doing character rankings. He was curious about his own positioning. On the other side, Shogo Uyama walked into the room with a serious expression. Sitting below were all the forces he had previously gathered. Wang Hao and Gu Changjun from Cheonung Trading Company were also there. Gunji Hanazawa, who had previously maintained neutrality, had changed his stance, and expressed his full support for Shogo Uyama. This was actually Tetsuji Uyama's intention, because he couldn't ignore his two sons. Gunji Hanazawa would act as his proxy, watching throughout to see who would win in their conflict. What Gunji Hanazawa was most concerned about now was Wang Hao at the table. If Shogo Uyama wanted to establish a foothold in Country H, this person's role was crucial, and he was also the most unpredictable. Within Taesin clan headquarters, seeking cooperation with other organizations had become consensus. At this moment, Baek Isu walked in from outside, with undisguised ferocity in his eyes, just as Choi Chon-ho was about to approach and ask about the Gangnam operation. The bloodstained documents Baek Isu brought were particularly striking. He explained these were business transfer documents for some small forces in the Gangnam district. Without saying it explicitly, everyone knew Baek Isu had used violent methods. Choi Chon-ho smiled awkwardly because Baek Isu's actions actually pushed Taesin clan to oppose everyone, and these methods were identical to One Sink's. Baek Isu sneered and asked why they couldn't be like One Sink. Since the ultimate goal was to swallow these small forces anyway, why care about the process? The pleasure of revenge was truly addictive. If you want to stop me, you might as well just watch from the side. These words left Choi Chon-ho speechless. At this moment, a sharp blade was pressed against Baek Isu's neck. Gujun warned him not to act on his own. Revenge wasn't just his personal matter. Baek Isu didn't respond, just looked unusually cold. At this point, Zion tried to mediate, telling Gujun to calm down, since Baek Isu was nominally Taesin clan's boss, and warned him that his behavior had crossed the line. Choi Chon-ho saw this scene and quickly intervened. Zion played with the claw blade in his hand. If I hadn't stepped forward just now, you might already be a dead man. I know the boss's character all too well. At this moment, Baek Dog-young followed Sua into the living room. Sensing the tense atmosphere, he jokingly asked if everyone was having an argument, saying that during critical times everyone needed to stay united. He even told his younger brother to relax and not keep himself wound so tight. Suddenly, his attention was drawn to the documents on the floor. Looking at the streaks of bright red on the papers, then seeing the wounds on his brother's hands, Baek Dog-young seemed to guess what had happened. He scratched his head in distress, though he didn't care what his brother did. Baek Isu's actions right now were indeed going too far. Baek Isu ignored his complaints, telling him this was a continuation of the hotel battle from last time. If they had killed all those guys at once last time, there wouldn't be this mess now. And his older brother had the ability to do so back then, but chose to hold back at the last moment. Before he could finish speaking, Baek Dog-young threw a punch at his face, hitting Baek Isu so hard that he lost his balance and fell heavily to the ground. He felt that Baek Isu's current mindset was too terrifying, and he urgently needed to calm down. But Baek Isu's eyes were like those of a wild beast. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, the ferocity in his eyes still undiminished. Baek Dog-young cursed his brother for being disrespectful, and Choi Cheon-ho quickly held him back. Before he could finish, Baek Asu's counterattack came simultaneously. Baek Dog-young sneered coldly. It seems I haven't beaten you in a while, so you're getting cocky. Want me to help you remember the times when you used to cry? But Baek Isu showed no weakness. At this moment, Sua appeared to stop both of them. When your older brother came back from the dead, you cried more than anyone else. Do you want to send him to the hospital again? Baek Dog-young chimed in from the side. Exactly. This kid has no manners at all. But he was scolded by Sua. You're no better. You don't act like an older brother at all. Choi Cheon-ho quickly pulled Left Eye and the others away from the center of the conflict. At this time, an uninvited guest arrived at Tetsuji Uyama's residence in Country R. The guard seemed very afraid of this person, stuttering as they asked about his purpose for coming. This person explained that he came to find the boss to confirm something. The guard informed him that the boss didn't want to see anyone today, but this person didn't want to dwell on this issue. A pair of large hands rested on his shoulders, and the calluses on his knuckles indicated he was a martial arts expert. Are you two trying to stop me? At this moment, Tetsuji Uyama was studying a chess game when a rough voice came from outside. Big brother has been cooped up in his room so long he's become an old man. Tetsuji Uyama wasn't angry at his rudeness, asking him why he had rushed back to Tokyo from Osaka. This person told him not to worry about Osaka. He had already crushed Osaka in the name of Uyama. Then he observed the chess game with interest, saying he wanted to play a game with Tetsuji Uyama. If he won, he would leave the Uyama organization. Tetsuji Uyama didn't understand what he meant. Taigamuto said it was all because of Shogo Uyama. Shogo Uyama was grabbing territory on Country H's soil, and as his teacher, he should have stood by his side. Hearing him say this, Tetsuji Uyama tightened his grip on the chess piece in his hand. If Taigamuto intervened, it would break the balance. He didn't want anyone to get involved in the succession struggle. Taigamuto said this was why he was leaving Uyama. From now on, he would stand by Shogo Uyama's side in a personal capacity, and no one could use this as leverage. Moreover, it had always been Tetsuji Uyama who broke the balance. From the moment Shogo Uyama left Country R, Uyama had cut off his support. What was the difference between this and abandoning him? Tetsuji Uyama had favored Baek Dog-young from the very beginning. These words enraged Tetsuji Uyama, and he swept away the chess pieces in his hand. But Taigamuto ignored his fury, pointing out that he had no chess pieces left in his hand, so he had already lost. Then he left without looking back. Inside a small loan company in the Gangnam district of Country H, Left Eye came to negotiate in the name of Taesin Clan, hoping the other party would join Taesin Clan, for which Taesin Clan could provide them with security protection. Baek Isu stood outside the corridor listening to their conversation. The small boss looked at Left Eye with amusement, saying there were 3 issues that needed explanation. The first was that this kind of cooperation required at least the Taesin Clan boss to show up in person. Left Eye explained that the boss was busy with other matters, and he was fully responsible for the cooperation. The other party seemed unconvinced by this explanation. The second issue was that they were all waiting for HHS's orders before one sync would move. If they wanted them to switch sides, they needed to show advantages over one sync. Hearing this, Baek Isu stepped on the coffee table. The fact that you can sit here and negotiate with us is already our greatest sincerity. The boss stopped his subordinates who were about to make a move, then said he knew Baek Isu, knowing he was the shadow boss of Taesin Clan and the most prominent figure on Seoul's streets recently. But the more prominent you are, the more people envy you. He turned around to see the corridor filled with people watching like tigers eyeing their prey. These nobodies all wanted to step on Baek Isu to climb up. Left Eye looked panicked. There are way too many people. Baek Isu smiled wickedly. My older brother told me not to go crazy, to stay restrained, but I was just worrying about finding an excuse to fight. Then he said he'd leave the remaining 3 people to Left Eye, while he took off his shirt. People in the corridor were frantically smashing doors and windows. A fist wrapped in clothes broke through the window, slamming one person hard into the ground. Left Eye frantically dealt with the 2 people rushing at him, knocking one out with an uppercut, then grabbing the other's head and slamming it hard on the table. On this side, Baek Isu took out one lackey with a single punch. This invincible momentum intimidated everyone. At this moment, a figure appeared behind the crowd. It was Baek Dog-young carrying a box of milk. Are you causing trouble again? I even brought gifts. Baek Isu took out another lackey with one punch, then explained. This time they threw the first punch. Hearing this, Baek Dog-young threw away the milk. Since we can't reason properly, I happen to know a skill or 2 about fighting. Afterward, the 2 brothers leaned against the wall corner smoking. Baek Isu handed him an ordinary lighter. Seeing his older brother's slight frown, he explained guiltily. During the big fire last time, I lost the lighter you gave me. Baek Dog-young cursed him for being a wastrel. That lighter was a symbol of Tetsuji Uyama, but then he became resigned. Anyway, he now had irreconcilable conflicts with Uyama Group, so it was time to cut ties with them. However, Baek Isu had gone too far this time. Although he was now the boss of Taesin Clan, he had also become the target of everyone's attention. His every word and action wasn't just personal behavior, but represented the attitude of the entire Taesin Clan. What was needed most now was personal ability to unite people. not violent means to suppress them. That way, the organization would be very unstable. His older brother's words made Baek Isu fall into deep thought.